Welcome back to Hali Recaps with part 2 of Zhang Chen's epic journey. In the previous part, thanks to the monsterization system, Zhang Chen tore through numerous forbidden zones, drove back the ancient river god at Kashan village, and secured a trio of top-tier 3-star cards, fully primed to break through to B rank. If you haven't watched from the beginning, be sure to check out the playlist link in the description to catch up on the massive 11+ hour part 1 on our channel. With the intense battle behind him, part 2 kicks off the very next morning as Zhang Chen checks out the location for his new milk tea shop. However, a mysterious stalker suddenly appears, pulling him into a deadly spiral of conflicts with dark, sinister factions and terrifying new threats looming over Zhongbei City. What horrific perils will Zhang Chen have to confront next? Without keeping you waiting any longer, let's get right into it. Zhang Chen muttered to himself, "I'm finally about to earn back the money I spent on that hammer." The next day, Zhang Chen walked down the hallway with his hands in his pockets, looking quite handsome. He ran into Li Jia, who asked with a smile, "Son, going to eat?" Zhang Chen walked past without turning back, replying, "Nah, I'm going to check the progress of the milk tea shop's renovation." Li Jia followed behind and marveled, "Oh, not bad, starting your own business already?" Zhang Chen replied proudly, "It's not finished yet, it's right behind the school gate. Remember to come and support me in the future." As he walked across the playground, he keenly felt a gaze watching him from above. Sensing he was being followed, Zhang Chen quickly turned into a small alley in an attempt to shake his tail. The follower hurriedly followed in, only to find the alley completely empty. Just as he was wondering, Zhang Chen suddenly leaped down from behind, delivering a flying kick to the back of his head as he shouted sternly, "Following me the whole way, what do you want?" Before he could get an answer, the person was kicked unconscious onto the ground. Looking at the person lying flat, Zhang Chen was a bit puzzled. Is he dead this week? When he saw the follower's face clearly, he was completely stunned. He let out a cry of surprise. Wasn't this that little ghost who was on the collective mission with them before? Looking at the blonde kid with a face full of blood, Zhang Chen shook his head. He then hoisted the person into his milk tea shop, supporting them as he encouraged, "Hang in there." At this time, the shop door had a sign hanging on it, "Owner is away." Zhang Chen set the kid down and muttered to himself, "Let's check the wound first. That kick just now wasn't light. I hope I didn't actually kick him to death." With that, he unbuttoned the blonde kid's clothes to check the injury, only to find that instead of a flat chest, there were 2 large fruits tightly bound by a chest wrap, with all the advantages completely hidden. This scene left Zhang Chen completely petrified. Just then, the little ghost woke up. It turned out her name was Tang Yi. She shrank back in a panic, crying out in alarm, "Master Zhang, what are you trying to do?" Seeing her acting like a victim, Zhang Chen snapped back, "I was going to ask you the same thing. Why were you following me?" Tang Yi replied submissively, "My name is Tang Yi. I've come to ask for your protection." Hearing such an absurd request, Zhang Chen asked in surprise, "Aren't you a member of the Tang family? Why are you looking to me for protection?" At the mention of the past, Tang Yi's eyes instantly reddened. Filled with terror, she recounted, "Actually, I'm an orphan adopted by the Tang family. I've undergone cruel training since I was a child. I fought for 10 years just to become an adoptive daughter of the Tang family. But my real mission was to protect the second young master, Tang Hu." Hearing this, Zhang Chen understood instantly, and followed up, "But your master, Tang Hu, has already turned into a heart-piercing lotus and is dead as a doornail now." Tang Yi was weeping like rain, adding, "Exactly. With the master dead, if I return to the Tang family, I can only atone with my own death." After finishing her story, Tang Yi was sobbing uncontrollably. Her large watery eyes were like those of a puppy evoking pity. She choked out, "But I don't want to die." Zhang Chen said with some difficulty, "I'm just one person, how can I go against the entire Tang family?" Tang Yi took the water cup Zhang Chen handed her and replied, "Master Zhang, you were able to fight the river god to a standstill that day. The Tang family certainly doesn't have your level of strength." Zhang Chen didn't say much more, casually asking, "Then do you have a place to stay right now?" Tang Yi gripped the cup and shook her head bashfully. Zhang Chen proposed, "Then you can stay at the shop for now." With that, he handed Tang Yi a set of very cute clothes. He said gently, "Here, change into this." When Tang Yi emerged after changing her clothes, a curvaceous, bashful-faced Mo girl appeared before Zhang Chen, making her difficult to resist. She mumbled in a low voice, "Master Zhang, this outfit feels a bit strange." Zhang Chen replied enthusiastically, "You don't understand, this is called a disguise. You don't want to be discovered by the Tang family, do you? Just rest and recover here for now. Usually when customers come, you just help make a cup of milk tea." After giving the instructions, Zhang Chen bid Tang Yi farewell and left. "I have things to do, I'm off." Tang Yi watched his retreating back from behind the door. In her heart, Tang Yi praised Zhang Chen to the skies. Not only did he take me in, but he even helped me hide my identity. She felt Zhang Chen was a truly considerate person, not realizing she had already been tricked by Zhang Chen into becoming free labor. Zhang Chen walked down the street feeling delighted in his heart at having gained a free employee for nothing. He thought to himself that regardless of what this girl's purpose was, at least he didn't need to hire staff for the milk tea shop. Suddenly, a hulking figure blocked his path, and Zhang Chen almost ran into him. Two Tang family disciplinarians stood before him, and Tang Shong threatened Zhang Chen in an unfriendly tone to hand over Tang Yi. Facing this setup, Zhang Chen calculated in his heart. One in front, one behind, it seemed they had come prepared. He decided to play dumb. Tang who, Tang Tu, don't know him. Seeing Zhang Chen's attitude, Tang Shong said coldly, "You should have some skill." The Tang Yi beside him added, "But as for the Tang family's internal affairs, outsiders had best not interfere." Inside the milk tea shop, Tang Yi saw the two family disciplinarians appear and broke into a cold sweat of terror, crying out, "Oh no, the instructors have found me." The one with long blonde hair was Tang Shong, a C-rank assassination expert. The one with short green hair was Tang Yi, also a C-rank expert. The opponents were also skilled in torture and interrogation. Zhang Chen kept his hands behind his back and replied with a playful look, "I didn't interfere. Didn't you see my hands have been behind my back the whole time?" While he was talking nonsense, Zhang Chen had already secretly summoned those two venomous snakes. Then the snakes lunged. Tang Yi was bitten on the forehead and Tang Shong was bitten on the neck. Zhang Chen maintained his posture with his hands behind his back, saying calmly, "Hurry up and find a grandmaster for the antidote, or in half an hour you'll both be flat broke." The two instructors were scared out of their wits, scrambling and crawling away to seek a cure. Not only did they not run, they even looked back to drop a parting threat, "Kid, you just wait." Watching the comical sight of the two disciplinarians fleeing, Zhang Chen didn't get angry. Instead he waved at them in high spirits, mocking, "I'm waiting, call me if you need anything." Having settled that, he turned and instructed Tang Yi, who was hiding in the milk tea shop, "Stay there and don't come out for now." Tang Yi, dressed in a dazzlingly bright and skimpy outfit, poked her head out prettily and replied with a smile, "Okay, boss." After dealing with all this, Zhang Chen walked alone down the empty street, thinking to himself, offending the Tang family isn't exactly a good thing after all. As he spoke, he seemed to suddenly remember someone. He pulled out his phone, revealing a mischievous and eerie smile, and muttered to himself, "I'll just get Yang Dao to take the fall." The phone rang for a while before being picked up. On the other end, Yang Dao, his face covered in wounds, was fuming at his phone. Because he had been interrupted while busy with official business, he let out a roar, "Spit it out or get out." Knowing he had interrupted a critical moment, Zhang Chen spoke in a soft, gentle voice, "Group leader Yang really is a busy man. I have a little something I want to trouble you with." Yang Dao, performing his mission on the other end, replied, "Don't bother me with trifles, I'm busy catching a Drought Demon." Zhang Chen followed up with a confused question, "Hasn't the Drought Demon been caught yet?" Yang Dao replied, "Correct, and its strength has increased greatly." No sooner had he spoken than he hurriedly yanked a teammate aside, narrowly dodging the Drought Demon's attack as he shouted, "Watch out." A series of beeps followed as the call was disconnected. Yang Dao had hung up to focus on the battle. Zhang Chen gripped his phone and fell into thought, thinking that he had let a major problem slip away back then. The scene shifted to another part of the underworld, the hide-and-seek blood case mission in the Cram School District. Lin Yue held her phone, her skin crawling as she looked at the data on the screen, muttering to herself, "This kid's way of dying is just too horrifying." Looking at the scene before her, she somewhat regretted taking this eerie mission. Suddenly a dark shadow approached, making Lin Yue shiver with fright. She quickly assumed a combat stance and barked, "It's appeared." She then drew the peachwood sword from her back, prepared to fight the thing to the death. Heaven and earth mystery, Lin Yue executed a spell, charging at the dark shadow while thrusting her sword. "Witness my divine curse." To her surprise, Zhang Chen suddenly popped up from the side, catching Lin Yue's peachwood sword squarely in his mouth. Lin Yue was utterly aghast, blurting out, "Zhang Chen, I didn't expect my teammate to be you." At this moment Zhang Chen was painfully gagging, looking quite miserable with a mouthful of wood. But immediately after, his eyes lit up, his face flushing red as he stared fixedly at Lin Yue, muttering to himself in surprise, "Is this still the classmate Lin I know?" Hearing this, Lin Yue shifted her body somewhat shyly, lowering her head and asking softly, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Zhang Chen replied with serious-sounding nonsense, "Every detail must be confirmed before a mission. That is being responsible for our own lives and the safety of our teammates." Listening to Zhang Chen's rapid-fire fluff, Lin Yue also found it quite interesting. She spoke up, "Then tell me about the details of this mission." Zhang Chen, the type who never looks at mission files, was instantly struck dumb, his entire body freezing in place, able only to let out a few meaningless syllables. Seeing Zhang Chen's reaction, Lin Yue let out a giggle. "Hee, I knew you didn't look, let me tell you. There used to be a cram school in this building. They called it a cram school, but it was actually a daycare for parents before they got off work. Among them was a boy named Zhang Ming who was born blind. A group of kids were playing hide-and-seek together. No one knows what happened, but Zhang Ming slammed headfirst into the sharp iron bars of a fence. At the time, everyone said Zhang Ming had simply slipped and fallen. Because there were no cameras, the police had no choice but to let the matter drop. A few days later, someone found the teacher dead in the restroom, literally blasted to death by the water spraying from the shower head. Another child in the cram school also had their eyes mysteriously gouged out. Having finished, Lin Yue added with a grave expression that the underworld had immediately sent people to resolve it to prevent the situation from escalating. After hearing the whole story, Zhang Chen had a better idea of the situation. He mused that it was highly likely a vengeful spirit had returned for revenge. As they spoke, Zhang Chen suddenly sensed something and snapped his head around, barking, "Who's there?" Then, the two saw a boy sitting on the ground tinkering with something. Zhang Chen asked, "Hey kid, it's so late, why aren't you home yet?" That boy was radiating a bizarre aura. Unsurprisingly, this was highly likely a ghost. It replied, "I'm looking for something." As it turned around, it revealed an ugly, grotesque, and ancient-looking terrifying face, saying, "I lost my battle top." Lin Yue was terrified, waving her hands and screaming in a panic. "A ghost, oh my god, there's a ghost!" Zhang Chen quickly flashed in front of the beauty to shield her, softly comforting. "Don't do anything rash," Zhang Chen analyzed confidently. "Based on my extensive experience killing ghosts, if you break its rules, this ghost will become even stronger." Hearing this, Lin Yue's face was full of confusion, thinking she had never seen a ghost hunting style so unconventional. She asked, "Then what should we do?" Zhang Chen replied with a mischievous smile, "Play along with it, of course. Going along with it while making it feel annoyed. Now that would be perfect." Lin Yue let out a bewildered sigh after hearing this, thinking it sounded far too complicated. Zhang Chen, however, said with full confidence, "Whoever's afraid can go back first. Just watch me." With that, Zhang Chen walked toward the ghost student. Seeing him approach, the ghost asked, "Hey mister, have you seen my battle top?" Zhang Chen stared at its hideous face. Though his own face paled slightly, he quickly regained his composure and countered, "You have the nerve to hey me, call me something nice and I'll take you to find your top." Hearing that someone knew where the top was, the ghost student jumped up in excitement, lunging toward Zhang Chen to press. "What, you know where my top is? Take me there fast." Zhang Chen showed no fear, responding arrogantly, "Beg me, call me big brother and I'll consider it." Finding itself being teased like this, the ghost student flew into a humiliated rage, let out a hysterical roar. "Speak or I'll wring your neck." Seeing the ghost student completely lose control, Zhang Chen realized that a stalemate wasn't the way to go. He hurriedly looked around for something to save the day. "What's the rush? Isn't your battle top right in front of you?" Hearing this, the ghost student looked blank. It asked, "Ha, this is my battle top?" It turned out Zhang Chen had casually hoisted a nearby gas tank. He drew his spiritual sword and struck the gas tank violently, making it spin at high speed. Zhang Chen asked the ghost student, who was staring unblinkingly at the spinning tank, "Look closely, isn't this a battle top?" The system panel popped up. That actually makes a bit of sense. Ghost Chi 799. Then he continued to swing his sword to strike the gas tank, but this time it was aimed straight at the ghost student. "Catch, I'm hitting it over to you now." The ghost student stared blindly at the tank with an excited face. "Hee, my battle top." As the gas tank neared the ghost student, Zhang Chen took the opportunity to release a bolt of lightning that struck the tank, instantly triggering a violent explosion. Looking at the scene of soaring flames and thick smoke, Lin Yue muttered somewhat helplessly, "Isn't this playing a bit too far?" Once the dust had settled slightly, Zhang Chen asked the ghost student he had just trolled with malicious delight, "How was that battle enough for you?" The system showed, "Do you think I'm a grade schooler? Stupid." Ghost Chi 999. The ghost student was coughing violently from the thick smoke of the explosion. After catching its breath, it roared in rage, "You're dead meat." Then it lunged violently at Zhang Chen. But unfortunately, before it could even hit the ground, it was heavily struck by Lin Yue's peachwood sword, which specialized in suppressing evil. It was nearly blasted into non-existence. Lin Yue's battle intent was now at its peak. She assumed a combat stance and barked, "I'll be your opponent." As soon as the words left her mouth, she leapt into the air, dodging the ghost student's attack while shouting, "Take this, Little Red Riding Hood." Then, with a forceful swing, the peachwood sword instantly pierced through the ghost student's body. "Taste my peachwood sword." It wasn't just the sword. The ghost student was about to experience Lin Yue's next Dharma treasure. Lin Yue manifested peachwood prayer beads, which instantly shattered the ghost student's head. The ghost student was completely KO'd, dying in the corner. Looking at the ghost student she had killed, Lin Yue was somewhat excited. This was the first time she had slain a top-tier malignant ghost so easily. Zhang Chen also leaned over to check, casually adding a kick while muttering, "Still got one breath left." He stomped down hard, ensuring the ghost student was thoroughly dead. Zhang Chen's system notification, "Ghost student deceased, Ghost Chi 999. After finishing up, Zhang Chen turned to Lin Yue and explained, "It's precisely because I didn't break its rules that it couldn't utilize the power of the rules. Killing a ghost student without rule reinforcement is of course child's play. Hearing this explanation, Lin Yue replied happily, I didn't expect classmate Zhang to have such deep understanding of ghosts. The scene shifted as the two entered the campus interior. An eerie song rang out, Don't go upstairs at midnight, don't look back when you do. Take one look back and your life stays on the Yellow Spring Road. Lin Yue identified the source of the sound. She quickly made her move, shouting, Let's see where you can hide. She then cast a talisman toward the source of the sound. A piteous shriek followed, and the sound of a heavy object hitting the wall echoed through the corridor. The ghost student that had been hit had a mouth like a loudspeaker, letting out a pained wail. Lin Yue did not hesitate to swing her peachwood sword and slice it in half. Watching his ghost chi being killed, Zhang Chen thought heartbrokenly. Cut in half with one stroke, my ghost chi, he complained somewhat gloomily. She was just a little girl who loved to sing. What did she do wrong? Hearing Zhang Chen's bizarre remark, Lin Yue could hardly believe her ears. She asked back, You're saying this thing is a little girl? Zhang Chen hoisted the ghost student with both hands and replied, Why wouldn't she be a little girl? Look how cute these big eyes are, Lin Yue immediately countered. No matter how you look at it, that's a ghost. After a moment of silence for the ghost student, Zhang Chen coldly tossed it to the back of his mind and replied, Even if it's a ghost, maybe it just wanted to sing a song. Zhang Chen looked at the ghost blood all over his hands, stuck out his tongue to lick it, and said, Killing ghosts blindly will only lead to more ghosts in Kyushu. Zhang Chen suddenly transformed into a saint, saying solemnly, We must find a way to resolve their hatred. Hearing such interesting rhetoric, Lin Yue followed up curiously, So that's possible, then what should I do? Zhang Chen took the lead and walked forward, leaving behind the words, Just watch me. The scene shifted to another part of the campus where a promotional poster lay scattered on the ground. The two walked into a room together. A slip of paper suddenly caught Lin Yue's attention. She picked it up and called out, Zhang Chen, look, isn't this exactly how that teacher died? The drawing depicted the tragic scene of the teacher's death. Zhang Chen examined the paper and fell into thought. Lin Yue continued, This drawing looks quite old, as if it were drawn before the incident. Suddenly, a voice shrieked in terror, Hurry and hide, the ghost is coming to catch people. This gave both Zhang Chen and Lin Yue quite a start. Lin Yue was startled and quickly turned around to observe the rear alertly. She said nervously, It's coming again. Seeing Lin Yue looking as if she were facing a great enemy, Zhang Chen stepped forward, grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward another direction, turning back to say lightheartedly, Don't panic, let's hide first and see what's happening. The two ran into a room. Looking around the room, Zhang Chen laughed mischievously, This place is spacious, we'll hide here. Zhang Chen looked under a table and found a little girl ghost in a yellow dress curled up there. Zhang Chen let out a soft tisk. The little girl ghost realized two people were trying to steal her spot, and she looked up trembling, saying, Excuse me, this spot is already taken. No sooner had she spoken than Zhang Chen heard the shouts of the ghost student outside. Stop hiding, I'm about to catch you. With the situation urgent, Zhang Chen squeezed into the seat anyway, saying, No time, we'll just have to make do. Zhang Chen sat down and his massive buttocks landed squarely and firmly on the little girl ghost's face. He comforted her somewhat apologetically. Sorry to trouble you, little sister. The system was also completely speechless. The pop-up showed who sits on someone's head. Ghost Chi 999. Zhang Chen's buttocks were pressed tightly against the ghost face. He said, Don't be afraid, little sister. As long as we don't make a sound, we'll all be fine. After speaking, Zhang Chen turned to ask the shivering Lin Yue, Is the ghost almost here? So thrilling. Lin Yue looked ahead and asked worriedly, Classmate Zhang, can't we just kill all these ghosts directly? Hearing this question that repulsed him, Zhang Chen's face darkened. He looked at Lin Yue seriously and unpleasantly, saying coldly, Let me reiterate, exorcising demons and defending the way isn't about killing and slaughtering. It's a kind of soul redemption. As he spoke, the ghost student suddenly appeared, its mouth open wide in a scream, its face shoved right into their hiding spot. It laughed triumphantly. Hee, found you. Caught off guard, Zhang Chen and Lin Yue froze in place like two startled deer. Zhang Chen was frightened. He squeezed out an awkward smile and said, Caught so soon? Suddenly, Zhang Chen stood up, a bizarre black chi swirling around him. He said with an air of arrogance and pride, Since I've been caught, then it's my turn to be the ghost, right? His eyes were wide, gradually revealing a murderous and bloodthirsty red light, his gaze cold and ruthless. Is it here? Zhang Chen warned. Better run or you won't even be a ghost in a moment. Just as he was dropping threats to the ghost student, the little girl ghost he had been sitting on the whole time quietly slipped behind him, revealing a sinister smile as if about to seek revenge. Suddenly, the little girl ghost delivered a savage punch to Zhang Chen's buttocks, shouting triumphantly, That's for sitting on me! One would have expected Zhang Chen to roll around in pain, but instead Zhang Chen used his gluteal muscles to death grip the little girl ghost's hand. Finding she couldn't pull her hand out, the little girl ghost shrieked in terror. I can't pull it out. Zhang Chen slowly turned his head as if entering killer mode. He looked at the little girl ghost and said, Don't say I didn't give you a chance to run. With that, he spun around violently, grabbed the little girl ghost's head and with a crack easily twisted it off. He called it karma. Witnessing the little girl ghost being killed, a ghost student was terrified by Zhang Chen's brutal strength. It needed help and fled in a panic. Zhang Chen pursued, waving his spiritual sword and laughing like an evil maniac. The ghost student began to wail at the sight. Tears and snot flowing, it screamed while running as if it had encountered something horrific. It crashed into and damaged the surrounding facilities, but still could not escape Zhang Chen's demonic claws. Zhang Chen timed it right, waving his spiritual sword and swinging it down violently toward the ghost student. Looking at the blade before it, the ghost student was scared out of its wits, its eyes wide as it screamed, "Ah!" Zhang Chen was pursuing with extreme excitement. His face flushed as he laughed. "Hee hee, you're about to be caught by me." Suddenly a talisman was stuck to Zhang Chen's back. He stopped unexpectedly, looking back coldly to see who on earth dared to lay a hand on him. Zhang Chen turned around to find Lin Yue desperately trying to slap a talisman onto him. She looked at him with a face full of worry and cried out, "Zhang Chen, wake up." Zhang Chen found it hilarious. He swung his sword to sever Lin Yue's spiritual energy and asked with a dark face, "What are you doing? Haven't I been perfectly sane this whole time?" Lin Yue asked urgently. "Then tell me, who am I?" She thought Zhang Chen had turned into some dangerous figure or a pervert from a doujinshi, but instead his style suddenly shifted, instantly turning him into a veteran of the streets. He lowered his head, staring lecherously at Lin Yue's full, upright chest and remarked playfully, 34 DHA, a waist-to-hip ratio of 0.71. "If you aren't Lin Yue, who else could you be? How could I possibly mistake you?" Lin Yue quickly covered her chest, looking at Zhang Chen with a hint of disgust. "Seeing that frantic look on your face just now, I thought you were possessed." Returning to the main mission, Zhang Chen looked back and said, "I was just playing a joke on you, and now that little ghost is gone." It turned out that while Lin Yue was confirming Zhang Chen's sanity, the ghost student had taken advantage of the chaos to slip away, escaping without a trace while no one was looking. Zhang Chen had no choice but to go find it. As he walked, he hummed a little tune like a madman, leaving Lin Yue quite speechless. In the dead of night, the ghost catches people, hide and seek. The ghost hides behind the door. The door opens and life is no more. After a while, Zhang Chen walked into a room. He bent down to search everywhere, muttering, "Where is it?" The search process seemed exceptionally difficult. Zhang Chen gradually grew irritable. He kicked a nearby chair aside and roared, "Get out here!" Just after he kicked it, Zhang Chen seemed to see something utterly horrific. Looking at a puddle of disgusting yellow liquid on the floor and a refrigerator, Zhang Chen felt a bit nauseated. This guy hid in here and even urinated everywhere. He suppressed his disgust and opened the refrigerator door, hoping to find that mischievous ghost student. While enduring the visual impact of the disgusting liquid on the floor, he pulled open the refrigerator door and shouted, "Get out!" When the door opened, what appeared before his eyes was a mountain of piled-up internal organs, livers, and intestines. It looked bloody and revolting. Zhang Chen said with some exhaustion, "It's full of organs, they've probably all gone bad." He reached in to lift a section of intestines, when a voice suddenly rang out, "Big brother, don't pull. Those are my guts." He looked at the refrigerator and found an eye suddenly snapping open in the freezer compartment, staring fixedly at him. Zhang Chen found it utterly repulsive. Nauseated and alarmed, he asked, "What kind of ghost thing are you now?" It replied, "Just now a ghost said he wanted to play hide and seek and scared me half to death. I hid in the fridge and after staying for a bit I ended up like this." Zhang Chen felt a wave of speechlessness. He reached out and poked it, asking, "Then how are you going to eat in the future?" The fridge ghost's eyes suddenly widened, filled with excitement and madness. It lunged toward a high spot and shrieked, "I eat like this, of course." The fridge ghost lunged at Zhang Chen and actually succeeded in stuffing him into its belly. The scene was exceptionally bizarre and horrific. Lin Yue was terrified by the sudden change. She recoiled violently, saying tremulously, just as Zhang Chen was struggling and squirming in this sudden predicament. Although Zhang Chen was a bit flustered, he wasn't scared off. Lin Yue quickly pulled out a fire dragon talisman. She hurled the talisman and shouted, "Heavenly Gate of Qian, Fire Palace of Kun, Wind of Shuan, Fire of Li." Lin Yue's talisman stuck to the refrigerator, and it instantly erupted into raging flames. The fridge ghost was burned in extreme agony, letting out piteous shrieks. "Ah, it's burning me to death." The fridge ghost launched a swift counterattack. It threw both doors wide open, spraying out freezing ice. Lin Yue was hit by the ice blocks and cried out in pain, "It's so cold." She quickly cast a spell to detonate the fire dragon talisman. At Lin Yue's command, the talisman exploded with a thunderous boom, instantly blowing the ghost into fragments. After escaping, Zhang Chen looked at the subdued fridge ghost and let out a long sigh of relief. He had almost gone to see the Yama King just now. Before thoroughly sending this ghost on its way, Zhang Chen didn't forget to interrogate it about where the big head ghost had run off to. The fridge ghost lay there paralyzed, stammering, He seems to have run into the bathroom." Having obtained the clue, Zhang Chen and Lin Yue turned to leave, leaving the ghost there to fend for itself. Before leaving, Zhang Chen coldly dropped a line, "Thanks a lot." Without pausing for a second, Zhang Chen charged straight into the bathroom. They arrived at the bathroom. He pushed the door open and poked his head in to look, asking in confusion, "Is this where the teacher was suffocated to death?" As he looked inside, his vision was obscured by a mass of green ghost energy. His sharp eyes caught a glimpse of a ghost shadow flickering past, but he couldn't be sure if it was the big head ghost. Zhang Chen hit upon a plan and asked Lin Yue, "Classmate Lin, can you set up a ghost trapping array?" "I thought it was something major. This is a small case, easy." Lin Yue said, "We can just use my Shangqing sect's dragon subduing array." A wicked smile curled at the corner of Zhang Chen's mouth as he satisfiedly pulled out the flesh Ganoderma. "Then let's just wait for the prey to come to us." He tossed the flesh Ganoderma into the bathroom to deal with the big head ghost. "Flesh Ganoderma, go in there and stomp him hard." As soon as the flesh Ganoderma entered, a violent sound of fighting erupted from within. Zhang Chen shouted excitedly, "Whoa, it's a fierce fight." The flesh Ganoderma stared at the big head ghost with fierce eyes. The big head ghost was clearly at a disadvantage. The flesh Ganoderma lunged forward, death-gripping the big head ghost's neck, choking it until its eyes rolled back and its tongue hung out, nearly breathless. With a sudden surge of strength from the flesh Ganoderma, the big head ghost's head was wrenched clean off, blood splashing everywhere. Just then another ghost appeared, glowing green and sporting a horrific skull for a head. The skull ghost was scared witless by the big head ghost's piteous state and bolted. It charged straight for the toilet, intending to jump in and escape. "I'm out of here." Unfortunately, plans cannot keep up with changes. Just as its hand touched the toilet lid, it suddenly froze with a look of pure confusion. To its surprise, Lin Yue had already set up a magic array on the toilet in advance. The array activated, bouncing the skull ghost right back. Zhang Chen and Lin Yue stepped into the bathroom together. Zhang Chen laughed triumphantly. "Haha, your array worked," feeling played. The skull ghost flew into a humiliated rage, waving its hands as it prepared to counterattack. It roared, "You ungrateful little brats, you even dare to bully a teacher." The scene shifted elsewhere. In an office, a female teacher was sitting at her desk with her legs crossed, reading a manhwa on her phone. Just then, 3 children excitedly gathered around her and said, "Teacher, play hide-and-seek with us." Busy scrolling through her phone, she didn't even look up, waving her foot to drive them away. "Go, go, go, play by yourselves." Meanwhile, in the real world, Zhang Chen was interrogating the skull ghost. "If I'm not mistaken, you're actually a local thug. You aren't fit to be a teacher at all." Hearing this, the ghost argued loudly in a fit of rage, "Stop spouting nonsense." It was driven mad with rage. The skull ghost threw a punch straight at Zhang Chen, roaring, "I am a teacher, but I don't have to take on a teacher's responsibilities." Zhang Chen leapt nimbly to dodge the blow. Taking advantage of the moment it missed, Zhang Chen grabbed its head. Zhang Chen showed no mercy, grabbing its skull mask and wrenching it off with a violent pull, scolding, "Where are you going to put this old face of yours now?" As soon as Zhang Chen removed the mask, the skull ghost body instantly transformed into a puddle of green viscous liquid. Zhang Chen trampled that mask into fragments with a look of utter disdain. He hated these animalistic teachers the most. Witnessing Zhang Chen's performance, Lin Yue couldn't help but ask, "Zhang Chen, are you a C-rank powerhouse too?" Zhang Chen replied casually, "Ah, I guess so. The mission is almost finished." He then turned to Lin Yue and said, "Only one kid left." Lin Yue nodded and proposed, "Then let's split up to find them." After a search, the two met in the corridor. Zhang Chen looked around carefully and said, "I've searched everywhere, haven't found anyone." Lin Yue replied, "I haven't found anyone either." Lin Yue had an ominous premonition and asked in confusion, "Could it be that this ghost doesn't even exist?" Zhang Chen also began to have doubts. He pulled out his phone to reconfirm the mission, speculating, "The Underworld app probably has a bug." Having no other choice, the two decided to withdraw. "No way around it, let's pull out first." Little did they know, a faint translucent little ghost was currently clinging to Zhang Chen's back, yet he was completely unaware. It seemed this little ghost had invisibility powers. No wonder the two couldn't find it. Subsequently, the two got into the car with the little ghost still hitched to Zhang Chen and sped away from the scene. Sitting in the passenger seat, Zhang Chen smiled nonchalantly and asked Lin Yue, "Do all you ability users like driving sports cars?" Lin Yue, for some reason, actually thought Zhang Chen liked sports cars. She said with a somewhat helpless tone, "I thought you liked sitting in sports cars, so I bought this one." Zhang Chen rested his hands behind his head and replied leisurely, "Ability users like us who wander on the edge of life and death every day only care about honing our strength. We don't really care about these external things." Lin Yue suddenly proposed, "Zhang Chen, how about I take you back to the Shangqing sect? Having a backer will make the road much easier in the future." Although she knew he would refuse, Zhang Chen still pretended to be curious and asked, "Does your Shangqing sect have ghost-raising techniques? Does the sect have any ferocious old ghosts suppressed?" This question made Lin Yue burst out laughing. The things you're talking about can only be found in the Anming Dark Abyss. A cunning smile appeared at the corner of Zhang Chen's mouth as he thought. And Ming, that's right, and Ming definitely has them. That was a sect specialized in raising ghosts and practicing dark arts. As they talked, the car entered a tunnel, but they didn't notice the road construction sign hanging above. It was deathly quiet inside. Once the car drove deeper, two workers pushed a road barrier and a stop sign into the middle of the road, muttering as they worked, "Hurry and seal the road. Notify the higher-ups to come inspect. It's too terrifying. Could there really be ghosts in this tunnel?" An hour later, Zhang Chen and Lin Yue's car was still hurtling through the tunnel. Zhang Chen sensed something was wrong. "Strange, we've been driving for almost an hour and haven't left the tunnel yet. Is this tunnel really this long?" Lin Yue was also sweating profusely with fright, asking nervously, "Could it be a ghost wall, infinite loop?" Zhang Chen immediately activated his pupil technique to observe the situation. The tunnel looked straight, but it actually had a slight curve. No, this was a damn circle. That's why they had been driving in loops this whole time. After being toyed with by this ghost for so long, Zhang Chen let out a cold laugh and hit upon a plan. "I have to provoke it a bit." He leaned out of the car window to see which bastard was messing with him. Lin Yue warned with concern, "Zhang Chen, be careful." Seeing no movement, Zhang Chen taunted loudly, "My friend in the tunnel, do you have the guts to come out and trade blows with me? If you don't come out, I'm tearing this tunnel down." As soon as the words left his mouth, a dark shadow flashed past. Zhang Chen cried out so fast, a clown ghost riding a tricycle appeared beside the car, pedaling alongside them as it bared its teeth and laughed mockingly. "Want a race?" The clown ghost even set terms. "The loser must leave their life behind." Without a second word, Zhang Chen told Lin Yue to accelerate, thereby accepting the clown ghost's challenge. The dashboard showed the speed had surged to 270 km/h. That tricycle ghost continued to pedal frantically, letting out a hee-hee-hee laugh. Sitting in the car, Zhang Chen wondered, "Don't you want to run? How come those three little broken wheels haven't been overtaken after all this time?" Driving the car, Lin Yue was sweating profusely, shouting in a panic, "The accelerator is floored, we're out of gas." Seeing this, Zhang Chen frowned and summoned the system, saying, "Seems I have to use some tricks. System, enhance this car." As soon as Zhang Chen spoke, the system notification rang out. Ding, 3 points of ghost chi deducted. At that moment, purple and cyan light suddenly erupted from the car's body. A moment later, a massive circular jet port, like a thruster, actually grew from the rear of the car. Sure enough, the jet port erupted with a powerful surge of cyan smoke, and the car instantly rocketed forward. The tricycle ghost was dumbfounded, cold sweat pouring from its forehead. Subsequently, the car roared past at a staggering speed, leaving the tricycle ghost far behind. Zhang Chen leaned out and gave it a mocking smile. "Is that all you've got? Show me everything you've got." A bright light suddenly appeared ahead, and both cried out, "Ah, an exit!" But immediately after, the tunnel space began to warp. The tricycle ghost's eyes turned ruthless, and a bizarre ghost energy overflowed from its nose and mouth. It shrieked, "I'm going to explode, ah!" It then began a powerful sprint, its speed incredibly fast. In the blink of an eye, it overtook Zhang Chen's car once again. After overtaking, it turned back with a boastful smile and shouted, "Ha, you lose." Zhang Chen didn't waste any words, extending his hand and shouting, "Sound Spirit Hammer." A familiar aura radiated from his palm. A massive heavy hammer burst through the car window, making the ghost turn pale again. The hammer handle stretched between the two. Zhang Chen turned and shouted, "Lin Yue, pull the handbrake and turn left." Lin Yue obeyed immediately. The tires growled violently against the road, kicking up clouds of dust. The car swung in a perfect arc across the road, and the heavy hammer swept out with the momentum. The ghost could only watch helplessly as the giant hammer smashed toward it. With a face full of terror and eyes wide, it watched the massive object closing in while cold sweat poured down. The hammer was incredibly powerful, even smashing the roadside guardrail into 2 pieces. System notification, tricycle ghost eliminated, ghost chi 999. After settling it, Zhang Chen got out of the car, his hands on his hips as he shouted toward the cliff below. "Remember, don't park on a slope in your next life." Lin Yue looked at the tunnel entrance behind them, which was being swallowed by thick purple smoke, and cried out, "The entrance is gone." She then speculated that this place seemed to be a living creature. Zhang Chen was somewhat surprised and asked in confusion, "Living? What do you mean?" Lin Yue pointed toward the high ground and said, "Look more closely." The two looked up. There was actually a giant rock at the peak that looked exactly like a ghost's head. Zhang Chen was just beginning to be surprised, muttering to himself, "A mountain giant ghost?" Suddenly, the entire mountain shook violently, and rocks began to tumble down. Both of their faces changed with fright. Lin Yue asked seriously, "What exactly is a mountain giant ghost?" A massive boulder hung above the two, with an extremely sinister human face growing in its center. Zhang Chen replied, "It's just a mountain that has developed consciousness, mostly just fools who act on instinct." With that, he waved his hand to execute wood manipulation. and countless vines began to grow frantically around the boulder. The vines quickly covered the entire boulder. Zhang Chen continued, "Don't let its size fool you. Poke it twice and it'll behave." Before long, the vines had entangled the entire boulder, leaving only that human face struggling. Immediately after, countless sharp thorns grew from the vines. That face opened its mouth wide in a terrified scream. Meanwhile, Zhang Chen below elegantly raised his hand, activating the wood manipulation technique. In an instant, the boulder was squeezed out of shape by the vines. That bizarre human face in the center was squeezed clean out and began to plummet downward. The stone fragments that acted as limbs were shattered into pieces by the thorned vines. Lin Yue watched the scene dumbfounded, not even daring to blink. Zhang Chen lowered his head, adopting the air of a cynical wanderer as he lamented, "A real man never looks back at an explosion." Once the dust settled, Lin Yue still hadn't recovered from the shock, letting out an instinctive cry. "Ah," Zhang Chen flashed a dashing smile and said confidently, "I'm giving myself a perfect score for that cool move." Suddenly, a massive rock erupted beneath their feet, sending them stumbling. Then a gargantuan stone man cobbled together from various boulders emerged, and bizarrely, its cheeks were flushed with a faint red hue. The two were now standing right on top of the monster's head. Zhang Chen and Lin Yue exclaimed in unison, "How is there another one? Compared to the last guy, this one is practically a giant infant," she asked worriedly. "Zhang Chen, what do we do?" Zhang Chen comforted her. "First, let's pretend it doesn't exist." Suddenly, the four eyes on the stone man's head lit up with an intense glare as it roared, "Son, where are you?" The scene shifted to the Underworld headquarters, a forest of towering office buildings. Inside an office, a brown-haired man stared forward in an anxious dither. The officer opposite him slammed the desk, barking in a rage. "Talk, exactly how many people died in the Jutai Mountain Tunnel?" This thunderous shout nearly scared the man out of his wits. Drenched in sweat, he tried to lie his way out. I really don't know anything, please stop pushing me." An Underworld specialist said darkly, "If you won't talk, don't blame me for getting rough." No sooner had he spoken than a nightmare ghost manifested amidst a thick dark aura. He pressed on, "There was no cave-in, so how did those people die?" The nightmare ghost lunged at the man, who shrieked in terror, "Ah, I'll sue you for interrogation through torture." Despite being scared to death, his mouth remained stubborn. The nightmare ghost's massive maw closed in on his face, and in the blink of an eye it clamped down on the man's head. The scene shifted again to a pile of rubble where two men stood observing. One of them asked, "Master, why does this tunnel keep collapsing?" Another man, a Taoist priest in robes who looked rather unreliable, replied, "Jutai Mountain was originally meant to block Yin malice. Once the tunnel opened, the malice began to flow through the mountain. So of course there are constant accidents. Unless," he trailed off, causing the red-haired man beside him to press impatiently. "Unless what?" The old Taoist held up two fingers and smiled sinisterly. "If you bury two living stakes, human sacrifices, at the entrance and exit, I guarantee it will never collapse again." Meanwhile, at the elevator bank in the lobby of a building, that blond man with the signature red cheeks appeared. He hunched his shoulders and scratched his head awkwardly, asking, "Boss, you were looking for me?" The red-haired man gave a sinister smile and asked, "I heard you gambled away your entire family fortune and were even planning to sell your wife and child. Are you even human?" The blond man pointed at his own face and replied frantically, "I wanted to sell myself, but no one wanted me." The red-haired man said coldly, "I do, I'll buy you." A transfer of 5 million immediately flashed on his phone screen. The red-haired man asked, "Did the money arrive?" The blond man replied, "Yes." At that moment, the two were standing by a deep pit. The blond man stared at the massive sum on his phone, unable to suppress a look of pure ecstasy. Simultaneously, the red-haired man stood behind him, whispering with the face of a vengeful demon, "Then you can go on your way with a peaceful mind." However, when the blond man looked into the deep pit, terror gripped his heart once more. He gnashed his teeth, letting out a series of roars to bolster his courage. "Ah!" Then he leaped into the pit. Just then, a woman carrying a child rushed out, the child crying, "Daddy!" This sudden turn of events made the red-haired man snap his head around and left the falling blond man in a state of terror. Before hitting the bottom, he used every ounce of strength to warn his wife and child, "Go home, don't come over here." The woman rushed to the red-haired man, shoving him and roaring in fury, "You murderer, give me back my husband." The child also wept loudly, pounding the man's chest with small fists. "Give me back my daddy." The man suddenly raised a shovel and said viciously, "Since you miss him so much, I'll be a nice guy and send you down to accompany him. It beats starving up here." With that, he ruthlessly swung the shovel, pushing the mother and child into the deep pit as well. Afterward, he leaned on his shovel, gasping for breath. At that moment, a cement mixer slowly pulled up behind him. He signaled with a wave. Instantly, a torrent of cement poured from the mixer into the deep pit. After finishing the man's memory, the Underworld agent said coldly, "What a piece of trash. Merely stripping your memories is far too good for you." Back to Zhang Chen, he was carefully treading across the stone man's body, searching. Lin Yue asked worriedly, "Hiding isn't a permanent solution, what should we do?" Zhang Chen replied with some effort. Since we're already on its head, we'll strike from right here. Against an ordinary ghost, a heavy blow to the head is a guaranteed instant kill. Below, the stone man's 4 eyes still flickered with a vengeful light. Zhang Chen continued, let's coordinate. Use your fire dragon talisman to blast a hole in the top of its head. Lin Yue obeyed immediately, manifesting a glowing red talisman and sticking it to the stone. Immediately after, a world-shaking explosion erupted from the top of the stone man's head. The stone man's 4 eyes looked up in terror. Zhang Chen took the opportunity to manipulate vines, saying, next I'll use wood manipulation to force its head open through the cracks. Countless vines began to grow frantically along the fissures. After the massive stone head completely split apart, Zhang Chen let out a long sigh and said, there, wasn't that simple? Lin Yue was still dazed at the side. Zhang Chen stared at the system panel, his face suddenly turning pale. Wait, the system didn't add any ghost chi. The two stared at each other in terror. Before them appeared a headless torso made of rubble. Its entire body radiated a flame-like red light. From the severed neck, which resembled a churning pool of magma, came a piteous roar, give me back my son. Zhang Chen and Lin Yue looked up in horror as a massive pillar of smoke rose from the boiling magma, obscuring everything around them. Immediately after, scalding magma poured down, accompanied by a declaration of death. Facing the erupting magma, the two quickly dodged to either side. Seeing the magma about to engulf the red sports car below, Zhang Chen cried out heartbrokenly, no, my Lamborghini. Lin Yue screamed in a panic. Who cares about the car at a time like this? Run, this mission is beyond us. The two were now suspended above a massive volume of magma. At the critical moment, Zhang Chen calmly produced a crystalline drop of water and shouted, rain summoning technique. He transformed the drop into a massive wave, blocking the surging magma. The red supercar was spared. Zhang Chen said in pleasant surprise, this move works. Lin Yue looked at the source of the magma and warned, watch out, it's about to erupt again. Zhang Chen seemed to hit upon a plan and cheered, then this will be easy. He reached out one hand, executing the rain summoning technique with his right and holding the flesh Ganoderma in his left, even bringing his pet along. Then he fused the energies in his hands, let out a great shout. Fusion. After fusing, they transformed into a bizarre, highly oppressive-looking weapon. The weapon looked like an underworld fire hydrant fitted with dinosaur teeth. Magma erupted from the stone man's severed neck once more. Zhang Chen quickly manipulated the weapon in his hand, shouting, douse it. 4 yellow buttons on the hydrant lit up and water surged out. However, compared to the massive flow of magma, this water jet seemed insignificant. Zhang Chen roared again, get bigger. Then another ring of light ignited. The hydrant sprayed with full power. Finally, the water transformed into a roaring deep blue divine beast. It stood proudly in the void, the underworld fire-suppressing flood dragon cannon. Zhang Chen immediately ordered, blast it right down its throat. A moment later, seeing the magma completely extinguished, Zhang Chen looked excited while the monster fell into a state of terror. Zhang Chen walked over the ruins looking down. Still feeling unsatisfied, he held up the flesh Ganoderma and shouted, flesh Ganoderma, keep transforming. The bizarre creature then turned into a freakish weapon covered in tentacles. As he manipulated the weapon, he mocked, have you tasted this before? This is my pain banana, shred it to pieces. Never to be reincarnated. With that, he swung the weapon and shattered the stones before him. Zhang Chen stowed the weapon and let out a long sigh. Good work, flesh Ganoderma. The stone man was completely pulverized. Lin Yue walked up and asked, is it finally over? Zhang Chen waved away the dust and suddenly discovered a red essence stone on the ground, calling out in surprise. He picked up the massive essence stone to examine it closely, marveling, I didn't expect any stone to be able to block my attack. Lin Yue pointed at the stone and said, this looks like a shield. Zhang Chen happily summoned the system and asked, this stone is quite hard but it's a bit awkward to hold. System, can you modify it? The system replied, requires 1000 ghost chi. He answered without hesitation, do it. The system began the forging process. A prompt appeared on the essence stone. Boulder Shield 1 mid-grade ghost tool. An indestructible golden shield manifested. Zhang Chen tried fitting the shield onto his arm, then said to the system, system, put it in the inventory. Suddenly, Lin Yue discovered to her horror a grinning face in Zhang Chen's shadow on the ground. She shrieked, ah! Zhang Chen asked in confusion. What's wrong? Drenched in sweat, she pointed at the dark shadow on the ground and said, your shadow. Lin Yue pointed to the head area of the shadow and added, it looked like it moved on its own just now. Zhang Chen moved instantly, blasting a surge of spiritual power at his own shadow. The shadow on the ground returned to normal. Only then did he say, I told you, what could be wrong with a shadow? Suddenly, a splash of grayish-black unknown liquid erupted in front of them. The two looked over with curiosity. Zhang Chen scratched his head and exclaimed, a pale head was slowly emerging from that puddle of liquid. A moment later, the thing fully revealed its true form. It had actually used that muck to create a duplicate of Zhang Chen. Once the body fully materialized, its eyes flashed with a cunning light and it sneered, "So you found me after all." It stood opposite Zhang Chen, announcing triumphantly, "Look, I've become human too." Zhang Chen froze for a moment, then touched his own face and commented, "Looks pretty handsome, though the eyes look a bit dull." The system panel popped up with the ghost's confusion. "Why isn't this guy asking me how I became his shadow?" Ghost Chi 189, Zhang Chen replied. "What's there to ask? Aren't you just that little boy who fell to his death?" The ghost gnashed its teeth in rage. "They bullied me because I was blind, always making me be the ghost who has to catch everyone." "I hate it," Zhang Chen interrupted with a look of disdain. "Who asked you about that?" The ghost grew even angrier, screaming hysterically, "I hate it, I hate it, I hate it." A child's head manifested in its mouth. It recalled playing with 3 companions when it was alive. The little boy had asked, "Why am I the ghost again?" A bald boy gave an evil smile, pointing at him and mocking, "Because you can't see, you don't need eyes to be the ghost." The bald boy leaped onto a high spot and shouted, "Come and catch us." The other children ran away too. The little boy groped around the ground. Suddenly he touched the bald boy, who had been cornered at the edge of the rooftop. The bald boy panicked. "Crap." After the little boy touched him, he shouted excitedly, "Caught you." The bald boy let out a cold, disgusted snort, then wore a devious smile as he circled behind the little boy and said, "Turn around and walk forward, someone is hiding there." The naive little boy believed him and began groping forward. The bald boy wore a triumphant look behind him. The little boy excitedly reached the edge of the rooftop and shouted, "Where? I'm coming to catch you." Immediately after, tragedy struck. He stepped into thin air, screaming as he plummeted from the high-rise. "Ah!" After hearing this, Zhang Chen cursed angrily. "Those kids really were scum." The shadow ghost's eyes lit up as it replied, "That's why I'm going to make everyone who plays hide-and-seek with me go find me." Zhang Chen stepped forward and patted its shoulder, comforting it with a smile. "But haven't I found you now?" It violently threw off Zhang Chen's hand and sneered, "If I just play dirty and kill you, then I win, don't I?" Zhang Chen replied contemptuously, "Fool, you think changing your appearance is enough to kill me?" He had already summoned the flesh Ganoderma. Then Zhang Chen swung his blade at the shadow ghost. He launched a series of fierce attacks, shouting, 800-mile demon punch." The shadow ghost actually mimicked him with an evil smile. 800-mile demon punch. It perfectly replicated every one of Zhang Chen's moves. Zhang Chen changed tactics and used lightning, and the shadow ghost followed suit immediately. 2 surges of lightning collided violently in the air. Zhang Chen used the underworld halberd, and it mimicked him simultaneously. Suddenly, a talisman appeared behind the shadow ghost, and an aura swirled around its body. Outside the circle, Lin Yue pressed her palms together and let out a great shout, "Evil spirit, reveal your true form." Then she leapt into the air. The shadow ghost sneered. "That's it." It snapped its head around and roared, "Crouching tiger roar." The intense light shooting from its eyes blasted Lin Yue away. Seeing this, Zhang Chen's brow furrowed slightly. He thought to himself, "It's learning quite well." He then calculated, "I can't use conventional moves anymore. If it learns the sound spirit hammer or the kui bull drum, it'll be a real problem." Suddenly he lunged at the shadow ghost, using a move called Monkey Steals the Peach aimed straight for the opponent's crotch. The shadow ghost was caught off guard, its mouth hanging open in silent agony. Immediately after, the shadow ghost endured the pain and returned the favor, similarly stealing the peach from Zhang Chen. Tears nearly fell from Zhang Chen's eyes. It felt as if his very life's gate had been squeezed. Just then, a beam of light shot from a spherical building. A master from the underworld had arrived. "The ghost in the tunnel must be eliminated, or it will become a major disaster," Zhang Chen shouted while locked in close combat. "The ones in the tunnel aren't worth mentioning. This is the real trouble. It's nearly B rank. Don't come over here and throw your lives away." The underworld master was aghast. "B rank? It's actually B rank." With that, he violently ripped off his coat and sent his hat flying. A burly man appeared, a hint of ferocity in his expression as he said, "Chu Hong, Underworld Recon Captain. Please advise me." With that, he swung his blade in excitement, thinking, "I've long heard of Zhang Chen's incredible methods. Today I'll use this shadow to test my skills." Chu Hong delivered a heavy swing and was momentarily startled to find he had successfully sent the ghost flying. It skidded back a distance, its expression turning extremely grave upon regaining its footing. Then, one of its arms transformed into a giant vine and lashed out at Chu Hong. Faced with this wood manipulation, Chu Hong quickly swung his blade to parry. Chu Hong's gaze sharpened. The vine arm manifested by the ghost had already reached him. He gripped his long blade tightly and ruthlessly hacked the giant vine into several segments. Unexpectedly, the ghost had already circled behind for a sneak attack. Chu Hong hurriedly raised his blade to block and both combatants exerted their full strength. Having buried this strike, Chu Hong was drenched in sweat. The ghost revealed a triumphant smile, but Chu Hong suddenly threw a punch, laughing, "In the end, it still comes down to a brawl." The ghost roared and returned a punch of its own. "Come on!" The collision of their fists triggered a massive explosion, sending dust billowing into the air. Once the haze cleared, a massive crater appeared before Chu Hong. He marveled with some effort. Heavens, that's impressive. He then wiped his face and gave a boisterous laugh. Among fellow B ranks, you're the first who's ever been able to suppress me, Zhang Chen replied with a smile. After all, that is my shadow. Chu Hong clenched his fists again and lunged toward the ghost shadow to launch another attack. Go! The ghost shadow spoke with a look of disdain. Troublesome. Immediately, a strange object manifested before it. The item launched a surprise attack, catching Chu Hong completely off guard. He looked down in horror and cried out, "Oh no!" A moment later, he was sent hurtling into the sky by the impact. Zhang Chen shaded his eyes to watch and couldn't help but marvel. Wow, he really flew far. He then turned to the ghost shadow with a sinister smile. Shadow, you're mine. The ghost shadow remained arrogantly on standby. Hee, talk after you win. A red light appeared in Zhang Chen's hand as he said confidently, "You surely don't think I've let you learn all of my moves, do you?" A monsterization card appeared within the red light. His smile grew increasingly wicked. Monsterization. Ghost shark. Countless bizarre creatures instantly manifested around Zhang Chen. Upon entering the monsterization state, a powerful aura erupted from his body, actually shattering his clothes. Massive eerie markings appeared across his back and shoulders, extending down to his chest as Zhang Chen's expression darkened. The system panel popped up a notification. Congratulations to the host on obtaining a random divine ability. Soul-snatching golden pupils. Zhang Chen's eyes turned pitch black as he glared at the ghost shadow and asked, "Can you do this move?" The ghost shadow was aghast. "Ah, what on earth is this thing? I've been clinging to your back this whole time, and have thoroughly checked your background. How could you have an ability like this?" Zhang Chen stroked his powerful chest and replied confidently, "There's a lot you don't know. My trump cards are beyond counting." The ghost shadow continued to sneer with disdain. "It's likely just a flashy illusion, hollow and superficial." Zhang Chen moved instantly, grabbing it by the throat. The ghost shadow shrieked in pain, its tongue lolling out, while Zhang Chen shoved 2 fingers down its throat and said, "How about you taste how superficial I am?" He then exerted brute force, his 4 fingers ruthlessly tearing at its cheek. Zhang Chen gripped the ghost shadow by half of its face and spun it frantically through the air before violently throwing it. The ghost shadow was sent spinning, slamming heavily into a massive rock behind it before falling. Zhang Chen mocked, "For a mere shadow, you actually have saliva." Zhang Chen approached, looking down at the ghost shadow, and said coldly, "Let me open your eyes a bit more." He then pointed to a crack within the black markings on his chest. A golden pupil suddenly snapped open within that crack. As Zhang Chen let out a great shout of soul-snatching golden pupils, a beam of golden light shot out. The ghost shadow took the power head-on and collapsed to the ground, wailing in agony. "Ah!" It then struggled and shouted, "I am your shadow. If I die, you die too." Zhang Chen laughed excitedly. "I'd quite like to see what happens once you're gone." With that, he approached the ghost shadow and increased the intensity once more. Suddenly, the ghost shadow vanished from the surface, making Zhang Chen marvel. "Ho, you can even dive into the ground?" Zhang Chen then opened all the eyes within the black markings on his chest and shouted, "Precise control, golden pupil search." Countless beams of golden light scanned the ground relentlessly. Seeing the ghost still scurrying about, Zhang Chen couldn't help but admire. "Oh, being able to dodge this move is somewhat interesting." At that moment, the golden pupils all over Zhang Chen's body stopped emitting light as he focused his energy to condense even more firepower. Seeing this, the ghost shadow hurriedly emerged, waving its hands in surrender. "Stop hitting, let's talk this out." System notification. Blind ghost yields ghost chi 9999. Zhang Chen asked sternly. "Let's hear it then. What do you have to say?" It replied hurriedly. "I can continue to be your shadow and follow your every command." Zhang Chen pressed further. "What if you betray me one day? It's still safer to just kill you." The blind ghost frantically proposed. "I can establish a blood pact with you." Zhang Chen pressed its head down and asked, "What on earth is a blood pact?" Suddenly, Chu Hong leapt back, shouting excitedly, "Hey, I'm back!" Both the man and the ghost turned to look at him simultaneously. Chu Hong asked in surprise, "How, you guys are done talking?" Zhang Chen gave a confident smile. "Mostly, it wants to establish a blood pact with me." Hearing this, Chu Hong was overjoyed and quickly urged, "Brother, hurry up and agree, this is a great opportunity." Zhang Chen asked in confusion, "What's so good about it?" He explained, "You should know that we in the underworld use the soul seal cultivation method. A blood pact is actually something similar, however. Forcing a fierce ghost into a pact carries the risk of backlash." Zhang Chen replied with some disdain, "It doesn't even count as a ghost, it's just a shadow that causes trouble everywhere." Chu Hong raised his voice in excitement. "Brother, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This is very likely the legendary dual cultivation of demon and consciousness." Zhang Chen frowned and repeated, "Dual cultivation of demon and consciousness?" He then recalled. "Isn't this the same path Su Ling and Su Chao take?" He then asked, "Can you guarantee the blood pact won't have problems?" "Underworld ghosts lose control often," he explained. "This is different. In a blood pact signed voluntarily by a ghost, if the host dies, the ghost is extinguished along with them." Zhang Chen's hand remained pressed on the blind ghost's head. He lowered his head to look it straight in the eye and said, "Then let's give it a try." The blind ghost nodded repeatedly. "Yes, yes, yes." It then stood up and struck an incredibly bizarre pose saying, "Here, do the same movements as me." Although Zhang Chen followed suit, he didn't forget to warn, "What's with this ridiculous pose? If you dare play me, I'll kill you." Standing to the side, Chu Hong watched the man and ghost striking poses, helplessly rubbing his forehead. "So this is how a blood pact is signed. I'm seeing this for the first time too," the blind ghost said while hopping. "Next is a very important incantation. I'll recite the first half and you follow with the second. Don't be too nervous. Meeting is fate," Zhang Chen replied fluently. "Recite it, I'll follow." Their fingertips touched and two half-circle arrays joined together, after which a red magic array featuring mysterious symbols manifested beneath their feet. A blood-red aura surged around them. Once the fusion was successful, the aura gradually dissipated. Zhang Chen looked at his hands and found that aside from being back in his clothes, there seemed to be no change. Suddenly, a sweating, smiling face appeared on his shadow on the ground, saying, "Big brother, I'll follow your every command from now on." Seeing this, Chu Hong marveled with satisfaction. "It's truly rare to see a ghost that knows when to yield. You have a limitless future ahead," Zhang Chen replied somewhat helplessly. "Actually, it's not like I absolutely had to have this thing." Hearing this, the shadow cried out in terror. "Big brother, the pact is already signed. You can't go back on your word now." Chu Hong picked up his clothes and marveled. "Haha, as expected of Zhang Chen. Even Yang Chuan pales in comparison to you." He scratched his head and smiled modestly. "You're mistaken. It's all thanks to group leader Yang's excellent guidance." By now, Chu Hong had put on his uniform and reminded him, "Excessive modesty is hypocrisy. Among B-rank experts, your strength is absolutely top tier." Zhang Chen replied cheerfully, "Since you think so highly of me, I happen to have something I'd like to ask your help with." He then whispered into Chu Hong's ear. After hearing it, Chu Hong patted his chest and guaranteed, "Don't worry, leave it to me." With that, Chu Hong took off saying farewell. "Then I'm heading out." Zhang Chen waved in acknowledgement, then turned to ask his teammate beside him, "Lin Yue, are you okay?" She replied, "Yeah, just some superficial wounds." Lin Yue then pressed, "Did you kill that shadow?" Zhang Chen gave a proud smile. "I've subdued it and even signed a blood pact." She was greatly shocked, thinking being able to subdue such a powerful force means he truly put in a lot of effort. "I must work hard to catch up with him. I can't let him carry everything alone." Then Lin Yue pressed her palms together and looked at Zhang Chen with pleading eyes, saying, "Can you take me with you on the next mission? I want to improve alongside you." Zhang Chen, however, interrupted directly. "No, I'm not used to teaming up." These words instantly drained Lin Yue's enthusiasm. She asked fiercely, "Why won't you?" Zhang Chen quickly waved his hands to smooth things over. "It's not like that, not at all." Seeing this, her anger turned to joy. "Then let's team up next time." Zhang Chen coughed twice helplessly and replied, "Ahem, let's talk about that later." The two chatted as they left the forest. The scene shifted to the front of a shop called Lucky Milk Tea. Zhang Chen walked into the shop and saw a group of people gathered there, clamoring. He scratched his head and marveled, "Business is quite good." A group of boys were staring like lecherous idiots, exclaiming, "So cute, the milk tea girl is so top tier." Zhang Chen walked over with a look of displeasure, pushing two of them aside with one hand as he barked coldly, "If you're buying, hurry up, if not, get lost." The blonde cat-ear girl cried out in pleasant surprise as soon as she saw Zhang Chen. "Boss?" She looked at Zhang Chen with a face full of happiness and a hint of shyness, leaving the passers-by behind her stunned. "What? This guy is the boss. Did he save the world in his previous life?" He gestured toward the rear. "Let's talk in the back, there are too many people and big ears here." The girl turned to the customers and apologized, "Sorry, we're closing early today." The two went to the back room and she asked, "What did the boss want with me?" Under the girl's confused gaze, Zhang Chen pulled out an object. She examined it for a moment and cried out, This is the Tang family's life-extinguishing arrow." Zhang Chen suddenly glanced behind him, thinking, "I felt something was off before I even came in." Sure enough, several guys were hiding in the shadows. At that moment, two silhouettes were cast onto the floor behind him. He pondered secretly, "Once the matter of the life-extinguishing arrow is exposed, a Tang clan will certainly hunt us to the end." The girl said worriedly, "In any case, no one made it out alive that night." Zhang Chen casually tossed the thing behind him and said calmly, "Hee, the way I see it, they won't make it through tonight." Night fell, and the moon hung in the trees. Zhang Chen was looking at street-style life quotes on his phone, laughing, "Be careful of rebar growing out of your back." Suddenly, a cloud of eerie smoke drifted into the room. Zhang Chen took a breath without any precaution and a moment later, slumped back onto the sofa fast asleep. He was even snoring. Two silhouettes appeared, looking down at him. One with a mohawk asked disdainfully, "This guy is really a master," the masked man replied. "A fake, right? He's out already." Unexpectedly, Zhang Chen suddenly appeared behind the two, chiming in darkly, "Yeah, definitely a fake. Haven't you noticed this person doesn't even have a shadow?" The two assassins cried out, "Oh no!" and quickly drew their weapons to slash backward. However, Zhang Chen's figure had already vanished into thin air. The shadow ghost, now in Zhang Chen's form, sat on the sofa and asked, "Have you two forgotten about me?" The two turned back in horror. The shadow instantly launched an attack, forcing them to hurriedly leap back in evasion. The shadow ghost's arms transformed into blades as it flew in pursuit. Zhang Chen appeared eerily behind them once again, eyes wide as he asked, "Have you two forgotten about me as well?" Golden lightning condensed in his hands as he analyzed. "I'll arrange a series circuit to send these two on their way." Subsequently, the real and fake Zhang Chen's released lightning simultaneously, electrocuting the two assassins until they were charred on the outside and tender on the inside, their clothes in tatters. The two, smoke rising from their bodies, collapsed unconscious in a heap. Once settled, Zhang Chen cheerfully dialed a number. "Captain Chu, the job here is done." Chu Hong replied, "Send the address. I'll bring people over." Zhang Chen acknowledged, then dragged them one in each hand toward a magnificent building. He looked up at the roof and said excitedly, "Today I'm going to cause a major scene and let them know who Zhang Chen is." Inside the hall, a magnificent crystal chandelier shone brightly. A cold-faced man with a face as long as a donkey and a short traceless nose appeared. Beside him was a short chubby kid wearing round glasses. The little fat kid was kneeling before the long-faced man, respectfully serving tea. A bearded man to the side instructed him to show respect to his master. Afterward he bowed to the long-faced elder and said flatteringly, "Master Hu Zhao, please give our Tang Long plenty of guidance from now on." The long-faced elder turned and reminded, "Old Tang, don't forget the Tang clan poison manual you promised me." He replied with a forced smile and cold sweat, "Haha, how could I?" In reality he was feeling extremely guilty. Meanwhile, Zhang Chen had arrived outside the door carrying the two guys. Two guards stepped forward to block him. "This is a restricted area of the Tang clan, entry is forbidden." Zhang Chen directly tossed the two naked guys in front of the guards and said, "Deliveries here." The guards took a closer look and cried out in alarm, "Good heavens, how did the Tang clan's left and right protectors end up in such a wretched state?" The two were long unconscious, slumped on the ground. Zhang Chen flashed a wicked smirk once more and asked, "Not going to let me in?" Then, pointing at the person beside him, he added, "Well, surely he can enter, right?" At that moment, a bald man appeared behind the two guards, offering a polite smile as he said, "Group Leader Chu, what an honor to have you visit. Please forgive us for the lack of a proper welcome." Chu Hong immediately pulled out a search warrant and read it aloud. "The Tang family has violated the iron laws by operating an illegal underground casino involving a sum exceeding 1 million underworld points. By law, the person in charge shall be executed, and the Tang clan shall bear joint liability." Finishing, he snapped the warrant shut and demanded sternly, "Can we go in now?" The bald man trembled, his heart racing with panic as he thought in terror, "This is bad. Who on earth provoked this young man with the backing of the underworld?" Chu Hong then said, "Zhang Chen, let's go." Zhang Chen was grinning wickedly as the two of them walked in as if they owned the place, ignoring the bald man who shouted anxiously from behind, "There must be some mistake. Old Master Tang will explain everything to the underworld." Inside the house, Master Hu Zhao was exchanging greetings with Old Master Tang. The bearded man spoke up, "Master Hu Zhao, I tip my glass to you." Suddenly, a guard rushed in, looking frantic. He whispered a few words into Old Master Tang's ear. Upon hearing them, the old master crushed the teacup in his hand in a rage and roared, "What?" He then turned to question the guard. "How did we provoke those death-seekers from the underworld?" The man replied timidly, "It seems the second daughter-in-law wanted to avenge young Master Tang Hu." The old master barked again. "Then on what grounds do they think they can barge in? They have no proof." Before he could finish, a hidden weapon came flying at him, cutting his words short. Master Hu Zhao looked in shock at the object in his hand. It was a dart. Staring at the dart, he gnashed his teeth in fury. That miserable woman actually used a dart to kill. Chu Hong appeared and declared, "We now suspect you are secretly training death squads, violating human rights and the iron laws. We will search the entire Tang group." The old master angrily crushed the broken dart and countered, "You dare insult my Tang family based on a single broken dart? Do you have a death wish?" Chu Hong's face darkened as he replied, "The underworld doesn't need evidence to act." Old Master Tang then turned to the others beside him and asked, "The underworld bullies my Tang family because they think we lack allies. Fellow heads, are you just going to sit there and watch?" The first man, wearing square-framed glasses, was the head of the Chen family. The second man, with a small mustache, was also a head of the Chen family. The third man, bald and wearing round glasses, was yet another head of the Chen family. All of them wore thoughtful expressions. Old Master Tang looked at them with extreme panic, his eyes pleading for help. "Everyone, you must help me seek justice." He then turned toward Master Hu Zhao, thinking worriedly, "This old fellow has saved me many times. Why is there no movement this time? Does he think I'm not worth it?" At that moment, Master Hu Zhao covered his wrinkled mouth and coughed a few times, saying, "Ahem, it seems I'll have to make an appearance here today." He then put on an arrogant air as if lecturing a junior. "Everyone, let me say a few words," Zhang Chen immediately interrupted him, pointing and demanding, "What the hell do you have to say? Do you have any right to speak here? Is your name Tang? Did you use a dart to kill? Do you dare stand up for them?" The old man screamed in a rage. "Junior, you go too far." Immediately, power erupted around him, with a crane manifesting on one side and a fierce tiger on the other. Master Hu Zhao then pointed at Zhang Chen and shouted, "Crane form." The crane dove down, its sharp beak snapping as it attacked Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen nimbly sidestepped to dodge. He then mocked with pure disdain. "A mere bird's head dares to be so arrogant? Do you think I'm just a pushover?" Immediately after, Zhang Chen's arms erupted with phantom images, transforming into countless crane heads that struck back. Master Hu Zhao hurriedly mobilized his spiritual energy to condense a shield. He spread his arms and roared, "Tiger form." This surge of energy was incredibly powerful, instantly neutralizing Zhang Chen's attack. He then leapt into the air and shouted, "Die!" Behind him, the massive phantom of a tiger with blood-red eyes manifested. Zhang Chen, refusing to be outdone, erupted with an even stronger aura. A defiant pale wolf howl rang out like thunder. Where the sound waves passed, the giant tiger behind Master Hu Zhao instantly disintegrated. He too fell to the ground. At this moment, the elder and the youth locked fists in combat. Zhang Chen suddenly shouted while pointing at Master Hu Zhao, right where Master Hu Zhao stood. A red shadow revealed a sinister smile and death gripped both his feet. Zhang Chen pointed at the ground and roared, "Kneel." Master Hu Zhao's legs were instantly yanked down by those two black hands, forcing him into a heavy kneel. Master Hu Zhao cried out in both confusion and terror. "Sovereign command. This is the power of a high immortal." In this moment, Zhang Chen appeared before him like a descending deity. Under the confused and terrified gazes of the crowd, Master Hu Zhao actually knelt before Zhang Chen. "I didn't expect you to have a high immortal protecting you. I yield. I will no longer interfere in the Tang family's affairs." With that, Master Hu Zhao vanished into thin air. Old Master Tang shouted anxiously from behind, "Master, Master, don't go." At that moment, a powerful presence appeared before him, scaring him out of his wits. One of Chu Hong's subordinates appeared and reported with a bow that the search was complete. The death squads were indeed being trained secretly on the 8th floor of TND. Only then did Old Master Tang realize the truth, saying in horror, "So you were just stalling for time so others could search my Tang sect building?" Zhang Chen asked coldly, "Do you have any last words?" Chu Hong waved his hand and ordered, "Take them all away. Kill anyone who resists." These words sent the people in the room into a chaotic panic. The lights on the wall flickered, and immediately after, the door collapsed with a thunderous boom, catching Zhang Chen's attention. The door behind Chu Hong also shattered. Old Master Tang watched this scene with a face full of confusion. He stood opposite the two, his face written with terror. Chu Hong questioned, "Old Man Tang, what other tricks are you trying to play?" He replied hurriedly, I really don't know." Suddenly, a long-haired woman appeared behind Old Master Tang, letting out a piteous laugh. He, the grand century-old Tang family has actually been reduced to such a state." The woman spoke mockingly, then let out a hysterical roar. "Tang Yi failed to protect my son. Shouldn't I take her life as compensation?" Old Master Tang pointed at her and barked, "So it was you madwoman, who let you out." The woman replied with a tearful wail, "The Tang family doesn't dare seek revenge, but I do. I can't let Xiao Hu die in vain." Zhang Chen, annoyed by what he was hearing, interjected, "Your son was stupid and threw his life away for nothing. What does that have to do with Tang Yi? Who would believe your nonsense?" The woman instantly lost control and lunged at Zhang Chen with a scream. "Hand over that bitch Tang Yi. I want to drain her memories dry." Chu Hong leaned in and whispered to Zhang Chen, "Brother Zhang, once memories are read, that person will become an idiot." Hearing this, Zhang Chen shook his head and refused decisively. "That won't do. I can't hand her over to you." The woman spoke with a face full of malice. "HMPH, then none of you leave here alive today." In her hand, she clutched a writhing parasite. She continued to threaten, "I already laced the wine with puppet parasites. All of you will become my marionettes." Hearing this, the crowd screamed in a panic. "What?" They then all bent over and began to vomit violently. Old Master Tang questioned in terror, "Mind control insects. How do you know the methods of the Dark Abyss Vile Insect Sect?" By now, the woman had pressed the parasite into her forehead, her eyes turning as pitch black as ink, looking like a vengeful demon. The parasite writhed on her forehead, emitting bursts of black mist. She replied with a bizarre glint in her eyes, "Since you wouldn't help me seek revenge, someone else naturally would." Subsequently, the controlled people in the room began to sway toward Zhang Chen like zombies. The woman behind the ghost shadow spoke to the two triumphantly, "These are all pillars of the elite families in Zhangbei. Do you dare touch them?" The zombies closed in step by step. Chu Hong turned to Zhang Chen and asked, "What now?" Sweat broke out on Zhang Chen's forehead as he replied, "I don't know either. We either take out the leader first or just knock them all out." Hearing this, Chu Hong began to strip off his uniform, shouting, "Then I'll go knock them out. You handle the woman." He then swung his fists and charged into the crowd, adding excitedly, "When else do I get a chance like this to legally beat up these dignitaries of Zhangcheng?" Chu Hong moved nimbly through the crowd, every punch hitting home. The group was sent stumbling in all directions, some flying into the air, others collapsing to the ground in a wretched state. Just then a subordinate stepped in front of someone dressed as a chef, shouting in a panic, "Group leader, don't hit him, it's me." Chu Hong, in the heat of the moment, swung his fist and roared as he charged, "What are you doing blocking the way? Move!" With that, a heavy punch sent the chef flying. He laughed excitedly, "Haha, how refreshing." Meanwhile, the subordinate who was accidentally struck could only hold his face in helplessness. Zhang Chen looked at the female ghost and smiled, saying, "Let's begin, big sister. Let's talk." At this moment, the woman's face was covered in bizarre blood veins, looking extremely grotesque. She replied darkly, "Talk." With that, she suddenly lunged at Zhang Chen to attack, screaming, "There's nothing to talk about." Zhang Chen reached out and blocked her assault, the ground beneath his feet instantly cracking. The female ghost let out a roar. "Get away!" Zhang Chen was knocked back a distance by the force, but immediately after, a ghost and a human began a fierce close combat struggle. Zhang Chen swung a punch and the female ghost met it with her sharp claws. Zhang Chen's brow furrowed as he gnashed his teeth and pulled out the flesh Ganoderma, which had transformed into a sharp sword, saying, "You're forcing my hand." The female ghost swung her claws to scratch him, and Zhang Chen followed through with a sword strike. She quickly ducked to dodge. Taking advantage of her slow reaction, Zhang Chen followed the momentum to deliver a downward slash, shouting, "Die!" The female ghost hurriedly raised both hands to block, crying out, "Damn it!" Zhang Chen then stowed his sword and mocked, "So you're a coward after all." Immediately after, his eyes turned blood red as he slammed a heavy punch into the female ghost's face, scolding, "Weren't you quite arrogant just now?" This punch sent the female ghost flying several meters, slamming heavily into the wall. Zhang Chen's massive dark shadow loomed over her. She clutched her chest, trembling violently, and the grotesque blood veins on her face vanished. Zhang Chen looked at her with pity and said, "I suddenly find you quite pitiful. I'm a bit reluctant to strike." The shadow on the ground sensed the opportunity to show off and chimed in, baring its fangs and flashing its eyes. "Then let me do it." With that, the shadow slammed the ground, hoisting the female ghost up. The moment she was lifted, the now massive parasite on her forehead crawled out again. Much longer than before, on the other side, all the controlled people had been knocked to the ground, lying in heaps. Chu Hong watched this scene and lamented with regret. "Why are they all down? I haven't even had my fill of fighting." Suddenly, the female ghost revealed a cunning smile and said, "Hee. You think you've won? I've planted bombs throughout the building, enough to level this place. You're all coming to the grave with me." With that, she produced a remote detonator. Zhang Chen, however, simply turned and walked away without reaction, leaving the female ghost in a state of utter shock. Zhang Chen pointed behind him and said to Chu Hong, "I'll leave the rest to you." A sinister reaper-like smile appeared at the corner of Chu Hong's mouth. He then streaked past Zhang Chen like a bolt of lightning, while Zhang Chen continued to calmly scratch his head and mutter, "I don't have time to play these games with you." Chu Hong rushed over and instantly severed the female ghost's arm holding the detonator, saying coldly, "Handled." The female ghost stared at her severed arm, her face pale, and then let out a piteous shriek. "Ah, my hand!" Zhang Chen, annoyed by the noise, covered his ears and cursed, "Shut up." He then summoned the flesh Ganoderma again and instructed, "Flesh Ganoderma, turn into a seesaw." Although the flesh Ganoderma was 100% reluctant, it still obeyed. One end supported Zhang Chen, while the other was wedged into the gap beneath the door. Zhang Chen sat down with force, and with his great shout, the other end of the flesh Ganoderma violently pried the door open. Zhang Chen walked out leisurely with his hands in his pockets, only to discover a pair of shoes hanging upside down from the ceiling. A person dressed in black was hanging upside down in an incredibly bizarre posture, saying, "I didn't expect that woman to succeed, but you were too fast." Zhang Chen snapped his head up, his pupils instantly turning cyan. The system panel popped up. Zhou Chen was frightened. Ghost Chi 12,999. It turned out this upside-down fellow was Zhou Chen. Seeing he had been found out, Zhou Chen gnashed his teeth and thought, "I've been discovered." At that moment, countless pitch-black bats flew out from a building above in a swarming mass. Zhang Chen put his hands on his hips and found it quite interesting, marveling, 10,000 Ghost Chi just for showing your face. This guy has some skill." He then lunged forward with the excitement of a demon, shouting, "Then I definitely can't let you get away." The swarms of bats lunged at a building, countless red eyes staring fixedly at Zhang Chen. Zhou Chen gnashed his teeth in shock. He actually caught up. Zhang Chen leaped up to pursue, closing in on the scattering bat swarm in the blink of an eye. Zhou Chen flicked a bat toward him and shouted at Zhang Chen, "If I didn't have urgent business, I would definitely have a duel with you." Zhang Chen immediately summoned his shadow and instructed, "Shadow, follow that bat." The shadow gave a brilliant smile and replied, "No problem." Zhang Chen then swung his sword and slaughtered the remaining bat swarm, roaring, "Get over here." Zhang Chen split the bat swarm with a sword strike but found no sign of the person. Asking in surprise, he dodged. Looking at the bat circling above, he marveled at how fast he ran. He then looked at his pet and commanded, "Flesh Ganoderma, transform into an RPG rocket launcher." The flesh Ganoderma changed rapidly. Watching the bat swarm about to escape, Zhang Chen hoisted the flesh Ganoderma and shouted, "Aim, fire!" A missile in the shape of the flesh Ganoderma shot out. The missile hit the bat swarm in midair, triggering a blinding explosion. The surviving bats scattered in a panic to save their lives. Searching for an escape route, Zhou Chen appeared again in an upside-down posture, crying out. That was close. Zhang Chen, however, appeared eerily behind him and said coldly, "There's something even more dangerous." This scared him into a frantic sidelong glance. Zhang Chen then swung his sword and split Zhou Chen in two, shouting, "Die!" However, after a glance at the system panel, he was utterly shocked. Why is there no ghost chi? At that moment, Zhou Chen's head revealed a sinister smile, mocking, only noticing now, too late. Zhang Chen leapt back to the ground. This reaction instead left Zhou Chen bewildered. Why does this guy look so relaxed? Zhang Chen revealed a satisfied smile, thinking to himself that it was a good thing he sent his shadow to follow. At this moment, a full moon hung high. Before a deserted house deep in the forest, the lights flickered and a series of barks rang out. Woof woof woof, a bizarre figure with flushed cheeks and a round hat appeared, its body as stiff as a puppet. It suddenly swung a blade, splitting the wild dog that had been barking into two pieces. The dog's head fell into a pool of blood, trembling violently as it let out a piteous whimper. Whimper, that paper effigy expressionlessly swung this blade. It didn't even blink, still staring fixedly ahead. After finishing the deed, the paper ghost turned and walked away as if nothing had happened. Leaving the dog's corpse in a pool of blood behind, it staggered along until several human corpses, also split in two, suddenly appeared by the roadside next to the dog. The scene was exceptionally horrific. A still twitching severed hand tried to reach forward, only to be instantly crushed by a wooden claw. The paper ghost stomped down hard to leap into the air, and with that force the arm was completely torn off. From its vantage point, the paper ghost looked down at a heap of severed limbs and torsos soaking in blood, radiating a dense and oppressive ghost chi. A voice rasped from the paper ghost's mouth. "Welcome, Great One. Only this level of sincerity is enough." From the distance came a series of crisp sounds accompanied by a flash of light. In another pocket of space, two paper ghosts were striking instruments around a massive skull. At the end of the procession, two female paper ghosts followed while blowing suonas, seemingly performing some sort of ritual. The passageway was lined with piles of corpses. The square-faced paper ghost continued to strike its instrument expressionlessly. Just then, the round-hatted paper ghost stood before them, pressing its palms together and bowing deeply. "Respectful greetings to Lord Wuliang." Suddenly, a trembling hand caught its attention. A little boy, though shaking all over, still shouted in fury, "Demons, you will all die horrible deaths." It leaned down to stare at the boy. "Tisk, there's actually one left with a breath in him. What's this?" Its hand, which had transformed into a sharp blade, lunged violently toward the boy. Suddenly, a massive amount of paper erupted from behind the round-hatted ghost, swirling together and accompanied by an eerie red ghost chi. A head with disheveled hair emerged from the center, revealing a single blood-red eye. As the paper layers fell away, a long-haired, red-eyed female ghost appeared in a rage, barking, "You can't even handle a small matter like this. What use is there in keeping you?" The round-hatted paper ghost trembled in terror, replying hurriedly, "Lord have mercy, I'll do it right." Before it could finish, its head was instantly crushed, and paper scraps filled the air like snow. Those scraps fell before the terrified boy. The female ghost crouched down and said to him, "You've got a tough life, little brother. Why don't you leave it right here?" With that, she extended her pinky finger, her eyes glowing as her fingertip touched the boy's forehead. The boy shook violently with fear but refused to utter a single word. Suddenly, countless sheets of paper spread from his head, wrapping around him as he fell into a state of pure horror. Immediately after, his entire body was gradually covered by these papers. One of his eyes underwent a bizarre mutation, and red circles appeared on both his cheeks. He looked at his own hands and screamed in panic, "Ah, this is..." A moment later, he had completely transformed into a dull-eyed, motionless paper person. Suddenly, a cold laugh came from behind the female ghost. "Hey, as expected of a hallmaster, impressive methods." A fierce-looking man carrying a wooden board walked out. The female ghost gave a sidelong glance and replied, "Carpenter Lu, you move quite fast." The old man asked, "Haven't Granny Wu and Zhou Chen arrived yet?" Suddenly, a giant centipede crawled up his leg. The surroundings were instantly filled with dense, crawling, cold, and dangerous venomous insects. A boisterous voice rang out, "Ha ha, speak of the devil and he shall appear." A swarm of white insects writhed and stacked together, actually manifesting into a human form. The one who appeared was a ghost hag with blood-red eyes and shriveled lips. She spoke, "Carpenter Lu, do you really want to see me that badly?" The old man revealed a lecherous smile and said, "Hey, I haven't seen you in so many years, I missed you." Granny Wu replied coldly with a heart-stabbing remark, "You're still just as ugly as ever." A grotesque insect with rolling eyes crawled out from her shoulder. At that moment Zhou Chen, having transformed into a bat, also flew into the forest where the ghosts were gathered. Seeing the bat land, the ghosts spoke up one after another. Hallmaster Zhou has arrived as well. Subsequently, Zhou Chen emerged from a swirl of black smoke. He landed steadily, yet remained in his upside-down posture as he looked down at the ghosts. Carpenter Lu asked, "What's the matter summoning us in the dead of night?" He revealed a sinister smile and spat out 4 words, "Attack Zhongbei." The other ghost turned pale with shock. "What?" Carpenter Lu wiped away cold sweat and said, "If you want us dead, just say so. Isn't suicide simpler than attacking Zhongbei?" Zhou Chen cursed and explained, "A bunch of idiots. This is the Dark Abyss grand plan. At that time, over 8,000 Hallmasters will strike from 20 directions simultaneously." Granny Wu asked, "Oh, is the Dark Abyss finally going to start its counterattack?" He answered, 5 days from now a great opportunity will descend upon the Zhongbei Underworld Bureau." The long-haired female ghost's eyes lit up as she marveled. "A great opportunity?" Carpenter Lu now revealed a greedy smile. "Opportunity, who wouldn't want that?" Granny Wu echoed excitedly. "I can't wait," Zhou Chen ordered. "Disperse and prepare yourselves." Night fell pitch black as a dark shadow swept across the ground. Where did the bat fly? A figure appeared. It was that little boy still shouting unyieldingly, "Demons, you will all die horrible deaths." Zhang Chen was surprised. "Ha, he's almost turned into a vengeful spirit." He gripped his white spiritual sword tightly. "Pull up the roots to eliminate the problem, leave no future trouble." Zhang Chen was about to charge when he suddenly let out an "ow," and his weakened body was sent flying. "Ouch, ouch, ouch." The shadow looked at its new master and revealed a smile. Zhang Chen asked the boy, "Kid, where is your body?" The boy replied through tears, "It was turned into a paper person." Suddenly his gaze turned fierce and vengeful. "I'm almost a ghost too." "Kill them," Zhang Chen patted the boy's head. "Don't be angry, stay calm." The boy's eyes were blood red as he looked at Zhang Chen, gradually calming down. Zhang Chen smiled at him, thinking, as expected, demonic chi can block the mutation. "These paper ghosts that appeared, who are you?" The boy looked terrified again. "They're coming." The paper ghost looked confused. "Where did he come from? Talk or lose your life." Zhang Chen grabbed his own arm and with a face full of disdain showed the 2 paper ghosts his arm marked with a blood sigil. "Haven't you recognized this Dark Abyss blood sigil yet?" The male paper ghost froze. "Dark Abyss blood sigil? That belongs to a great one." The female paper ghost struck the male on the head and cursed. "Are you blind or stupid? He's been hit by a weakness sigil." The 2 paper ghosts roared and charged at Zhang Chen. However, the shadow had already flashed out to face the 2. Zhang Chen crossed his arms and smiled. "Now that I have a shadow, I don't need to do it myself." Unexpectedly, the female paper ghost suddenly flashed in front of Zhang Chen. Looking at the ghost before him, Zhang Chen calmly prepared to counter. 2 green. The cyan-haired ghost seemed to sense something. "Where did this kid come from, daring to destroy my paper ghosts? I have to go back and kill him." The cyan-haired ghost turned and flew back. Zhang Chen and the boy were standing in place, waiting. The paper ghost appeared, manifesting a paper skull and throwing it at Zhang Chen. "Go, paper white bone." The skull hissed through the air only to be firmly blocked by the shadow. The cyan-haired ghost was shocked. "I didn't expect this shadow to have some skill." Immediately after, it let out a great shout of "Explode!" and the paper skull instantly shattered, triggering a blinding flash and a violent explosion. Zhang Chen appeared like a specter behind the cyan-haired ghost, teasing, "Were you a mailman in your past life?" The cyan-haired ghost stumbled in terror, retreating several steps. When did you stand behind me?" Zhang Chen smiled. "I'll give you one more chance. Let's see what other tricks you have." Clutching 2 sheets of paper, the ghost trembled with rage. "You said it, don't regret it." Its hands moved in a blur, quickly folding the paper into shape and joining them together. It actually turned into a giant sword. The cyan-haired ghost brandished the giant sword and charged, roaring, "Souls, heed my command, fight for me." A massive amount of evil energy surged out instantly. Zhang Chen remained perfectly calm, almost wanting to laugh. "Yo, this is a bit interesting." Zhang Chen also unleashed his killing move. "Earth Spirit Hammer, give it a strike." The Earth Spirit Hammer crashed down thunderously, hitting the cyan-haired ghost dead on. It was slammed flat onto its back. Looking at the shattered paper scraps, Zhang Chen thought with regret, "This paper is too flimsy. I thought I'd earn quite a bit of ghost chi." The bat in the sky witnessed the entire process and flapped its wings toward them. Detecting it, Zhang Chen swung the Earth Spirit Hammer and sent the bat flying. Get lost in the dark, dense forest. The bat steadied itself in midair, thinking in shock. Lord Wuliang was attacked. "Go back fast." Carpenter Lu looked up and asked, "Why should I go back?" "Where is Granny Wu?" The bat looked over. Granny Wu was already facing off against Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen's face darkened as he sensed a hint of danger. "Old lady, aren't you afraid I'll flatten you with one hammer strike?" Granny Wu smiled sinisterly. "I am, so this old woman has to disable that big hammer of yours first." With that, a green centipede crawled onto Zhang Chen's body and delivered a sharp sting to his arm, causing blood to flow. Zhang Chen cried out in pain, the heavy hammer falling from his hand as the centipede dropped to the ground. Granny Wu took the opportunity to attack. 72 roots, private palm. Zhang Chen's expression was grave as he stared fixedly at the approaching opponent. Granny Wu laughed triumphantly. "Since you've been hit by my poisonous palm, death is certain." Zhang Chen took 2 solid palm strikes to the chest. Zhang Chen let out a piteous scream, clutching his chest with both hands. His expression was one of extreme agony as his eyes rolled back and eerie purple veins appeared on his face. He suddenly lunged at Granny Wu, grabbing her face and beginning to lick it frantically. Granny Wu was stunned by this sudden move, screaming, What are you doing?" While licking, Zhang Chen replied, "Since there's no other way, I have to use you to detoxify." Granny Wu cursed in a frantic rage. "Bastard, I'm over 100 years older than you, stop it. Haven't you heard of my title, the Jiangcheng Pile Driver? I'm never a picky eater." Granny Wu used a powerful palm strike to push him away. "Get lost, stay away from me." Zhang Chen returned to normal. He clutched his chest and panted, "Phew, that detoxifying palm power really is something." Zhang Chen stuck out his tongue in provocation. "The poison isn't completely cleared yet. How about you give me 2 more palms?" Granny Wu could hardly believe her ears, roaring, "Carpenter Lu, what are you waiting for?" Carpenter Lu instantly appeared behind Zhang Chen to launch an attack. Zhang Chen froze in place and looked toward him, suddenly sensing something. Carpenter Lu held a piece of paper, smiling insidiously. "Young man, did you drop something?" With that, he bit through the paper, revealing a savage grin. Suddenly his tongue spat out something extremely bizarre. Carpenter Lu roared at Zhang Chen, and a log slammed violently into him. Although Zhang Chen furrowed his brow in pain and blood leaked from the corner of his mouth, he still laughed heartily. "Refreshing." Carpenter Lu was full of terror. "Find it hard to believe. How is this possible?" Zhang Chen threw open his outer coat, revealing the flesh Ganoderma covering his entire body. It had transformed into a suit of solid armor. Zhang Chen looked at Carpenter Lu with a triumphant face and said, "While you were playing your tricks, the flesh Ganoderma had already automatically protected my body." Immediately after, Zhang Chen casually tossed something to the other man, provoking him with a face full of disdain. "Catch." Thinking it was a hidden weapon, Carpenter Lu screamed in terror. Hidden weapon." To his surprise, what landed in his hand wasn't a hidden weapon at all, but an ID card. Holding Zhang Chen's ID, he was completely stunned. "Ha?" He couldn't believe the opponent who had forced him into a bitter struggle was just a kid born in 2002. Zhang Chen didn't miss the chance to add insult to injury. Mocking that this old ghost had been dead so long he surely wouldn't recognize such a modern document. He curled his lip and sneered, "This is my ID card. The birth date and photo are right there." The reason Zhang Chen gave him the document was because he knew Carpenter Lu wanted to use his birth details to attack him with puppet sorcery. Zhang Chen's face was dark as he provoked confidently, "Old man, you want to curse me? Go ahead and use every trick in your book." Thoroughly enraged by Zhang Chen's contempt, Carpenter Lu gnashed his teeth and roared, "Little animal, you asked for this." With that, he stuffed Zhang Chen's ID into his mouth and chewed frantically. Preparing to launch a ultimate move, he screamed, "I'll let you witness my methods today." He threw open the lid of the coffin behind him and chanted a mantra, watching the 8 characters, seeking the life gate. Yin Man steals young longevity. Subsequently, he manifested a bizarre paper person. The paper person's face was wreathed in thick resentment and demonic sounds. He stared fixedly at the paper person and continued the spell. Yin Man steals longevity, Yin Yang eyes open. Finally, he slammed 2 fingers together and touched the paper person's eyes. In an instant, 2 blood-red beams of light shot from its eyes. Carpenter Lu laughed sinisterly. "Die?" Simultaneously, Zhang Chen's eyes began to glow just like the paper person's. He felt dizzy and his vision blurred. Everything around him began to spin and warp as a piercing pain throbbed in his eyes. In agony, he reached out to rub his eyes, cursing, "Damn it, what's going on? Did I get sand in my eyes?" In an instant, Zhang Chen plunged into the hellish illusion constructed by Carpenter Lu. He looked at the unfamiliar space before him and asked in confusion, "Where is this?" As soon as the words left his lips, thick smoke in the dark sky gathered into Carpenter Lu's savage old face. He spoke chillingly, "Welcome to the world of my heart." Subsequently, he manipulated earth and stone to transform into 2 massive arms that reached for Zhang Chen, roaring, "Here, I am the master of everything. Don't even think about leaving alive." Instantly, Zhang Chen's 4 limbs were firmly clamped by giant stones. Leaving him unable to move, he screamed in a panic, "Ah, what is this?" Immediately after, countless fragments of stone began to drag him underground. Cold sweat poured down Zhang Chen's face as he thought death was certain. Shouting in despair, "So terrifying, am I going to die?" By now, half of his body had sunk into the ground. In extreme panic, he shrieked, "Ah, my whole body is being buried." At this life or death moment, a spark of inspiration hit him, and he decided to feign weakness to lure the enemy. He suddenly looked up at the sky and shrieked with a solemn expression, "Kang Hu, save me." With that shout, countless rings of sound waves spread from Zhang Chen's mouth. The sound waves of the pale wolf howl rapidly closed in on Carpenter Lu's giant face, but he hadn't yet realized the danger. Then the soundwave rings instantly shattered the giant face, and the hellish illusion disintegrated along with it. Zhang Chen took the chance to return to reality, while Carpenter Lu was currently clutching his head, his entire body shaking violently. With his ultimate move broken, Carpenter Lu's psyche completely collapsed, tears and snot flowing. He wailed in agony like someone possessed, "Kill me, ah, someone kill me." Looking at this piteous state, Zhang Chen felt no pity. Instead, he felt it was well-deserved and extremely satisfying. He curled his lip and sneered. "It seems his soul is shattered. Serves him right." Carpenter Lu then slumped to the ground, a massive amount of yogurt-like white liquid gushing from his body as he died completely. Zhang Chen turned his head, staring at the stunned Granny Wu nearby. A murderous intent flickered in his eyes. As if he were looking at a dinner that could be eaten at any moment without a second word, Zhang Chen charged forward with staggering momentum. He delivered a ringing slap directly to the old hag's face. After the strike, he opened his palm to reveal a mosquito. He teased with a wicked smile, saying he was just helping her kill a mosquito. Granny Wu's rage flared so hard her old face turned crimson. Shaking all over, she hissed, "I am a hall master of the dark abyss, how can I suffer such humiliation?" Driven mad with rage, she suddenly crouched and slammed both hands onto the ground. The earth instantly shattered, clearly a sign of some demonic technique being activated. She roared, "King of 10,000 insects, manifest and heed my command." In the blink of an eye, a mountain-sized giant ant queen burrowed out from underground. Zhang Chen was startled the moment he saw it. He cried out in shock, "Holy crap, it's huge!" At first, he thought the creature emerging from the ground was just a small bug, but it turned out to be merely the tip of a massive monster's tail. Standing atop the monster's head, the old hag burst into a triumphant laugh. Glaring at Zhang Chen, she said, "Rare sight, isn't it? This is just the tail, and yet the mere movement of it makes the ground shake and the surroundings shatter." As the monster began to reveal its true form, Zhang Chen quickly lunged into the air to dodge. A moment later, the monster's full appearance was revealed. Standing before Zhang Chen was a gargantuan mantis. The sheer size of the creature sent a chill through Zhang Chen. Sensing its terrifying power, standing atop the mantis's head, the old hag roared as she unleashed the skill. Six-clawed centipede mantis. Sensing an intense pressure from the monster, Zhang Chen's expression turned grave as he muttered, "Tisk, so we're playing the size game, are we?" One might have expected him to be afraid, but he didn't back down in the slightest. Immediately after, Zhang Chen unleashed his natural lord skill, and a massive forest giant spirit manifested. Standing atop the spirit's head, he shouted, "You think I'm afraid of you? Ultimate wood manipulation." Unexpectedly, the moment the forest giant spirit appeared, the old hag's giant mantis swung its lethal claws. A sudden thrust pierced directly through the forest giant spirit's neck, catching Zhang Chen off guard and sending him tumbling headfirst. The old hag roared, "Die!" Seeing the forest giant spirit at a disadvantage, Zhang Chen quickly changed his strategy. He summoned his Godslayer hammer, swinging it down toward the old hag's head as he shouted, "Godslayer pestle." The old hag was shocked by the move. Immediately after, Zhang Chen's heavy hammer slammed violently toward the giant mantis. He expected it to be unable to dodge, but the mantis reacted with startling speed, raising two sharp iron legs to block the heavy blow. The collision produced a deafening boom, accompanied by a shower of sparks. Locked in a stalemate of strength, the mantis followed up by utilizing its two powerful hind legs. With a sudden violent kick, it sent Zhang Chen and his giant hammer flying a great distance. He began to feel that dealing with this giant mantis was indeed going to be troublesome. He furrowed his brow, lamenting that the shell was far too hard. Subsequently, the mantis launched a counterattack, unleashing a series of frenzied violent strikes upon Zhang Chen. The old hag roared the move name, Emperor Insect Strike. The situation became extremely critical. Even while wielding the heavy hammer, Zhang Chen struggled to withstand the giant mantis's all-encompassing power. After a fierce struggle, Zhang Chen was driven into a corner, crashing into the tombstone of the boy who had died earlier. He suddenly turned his head and cried out in alarm. "Crap, the kid's soul hasn't been scattered, has it?" Suddenly, he saw the child's soul hiding on a nearby branch. The boy looked down and shouted to Zhang Chen, "Big brother, I'm okay." Fearing that the terrifying impact of the battle with the monster would cause the boy's soul to dissipate, Zhang Chen had been overcome with worry. Seeing the boy safe and sound, he finally let out a sigh of relief. He looked at the boy and replied with a smile, "I'm relieved to see you hiding there." In the moment he spent talking to the boy, Zhang Chen forgot he was still in the middle of a battle. Seizing the opportunity, the old hag ordered the mantis to swing a sharp leg, which kicked Zhang Chen squarely in the body. She roared, "You still have the heart to worry about others?" She thought Zhang Chen would be crushed, but fortunately he had activated his sovereign demon body just in time, neutralizing most of the physical damage. He leaped away with agile movements, dodging the mantis's subsequent sharp-legged attacks. Having endured for so long, he decided to pull out the electrified flesh Ganoderma, preparing to launch a counterattack with a new weapon. The flesh Ganoderma seemed displeased when it was pulled out, opening its mouth to shout, "What do you want from me this time?" Zhang Chen had a new idea and quickly consulted with the flesh Ganoderma. "To deal with a big guy like this, don't I need to coordinate some things with you?" He then leaned in and whispered into the flesh Ganoderma's ear. "Can you turn into—" The flesh Ganoderma gave him a sidelong glance and shrieked in terror. "What?" Zhang Chen's intention was to have the flesh Ganoderma burrow into the mantis's body and tunnel through its internal organs, completely shredding its insides. The flesh Ganoderma was terrified by the idea, shouting at Zhang Chen, "How can your heart be so wicked?" Zhang Chen burst into laughter at the reaction, replying, "Isn't this for the sake of eliminating the enemy from within?" To soothe and bribe the flesh Ganoderma, Zhang Chen offered an enticing deal. "Give it a try. If it works, I'll give you a 40 cut of the ghost chi." Hearing this, the flesh Ganoderma froze. It could only reluctantly agree. At that moment, the mantis was roaring with its maw full of sharp teeth wide open. The old hag also threatened Zhang Chen. "No matter what you're whispering about, you're dead meat." Taking advantage of the moment the mantis opened its mouth to swallow Zhang Chen whole, he acted decisively, throwing the flesh Ganoderma straight into its mouth and shouting, "I'm counting on you." For some reason, the old hag actually sensed Zhang Chen's intention, but she triumphantly believed that nothing could hurt her mantis, even if someone targeted its internal organs. She arrogantly boasted, "Don't even dream of being able to eliminate my centipede mantis from the inside. Its internal organs are as hard as its outer shell." No sooner had she spoken than she ordered the mantis to attack directly, attempting to swallow Zhang Chen alive as she shouted, "You'll be eaten along with it." Seeing this, Zhang Chen used both hands to death grip the mantis's two pincers, but he was clearly reaching his limit. Drenched in sweat, his mortal body's strength was being pushed to its edge as he struggled to resist. However, in the next second, Zhang Chen's expression shifted, and he revealed a triumphant smile as he teased, "Do you know what the mantis's natural enemy is?" The old hag pointed toward the sky, arrogantly declaring her mantis to be invincible under heaven. She looked at Zhang Chen with utter disdain and said, "At this size, the mantis is unconquerable." Hearing this answer, Zhang Chen let out a sinister hee-hee laugh. "How ignorant." Immediately after, Zhang Chen issued a command to the flesh Ganoderma inside the mantis. "Flesh Ganoderma, start your performance." Upon the command, the flesh Ganoderma acted instantly. A thunderous boom followed as the top of the mantis's head suddenly exploded. The old hag snapped her head around to look, her face full of confusion. This was completely different from what she had just bragged about. The flesh Ganoderma had shattered the mantis's hard armor from the inside. The flesh Ganoderma flew out easily, piercing through the body. It shouted excitedly, "Of all things to turn into, why did you have to make me a horsehair worm?" Immediately after, Zhang Chen manipulated the flesh Ganoderma like a sharp arrow, continuously piercing through various parts of the mantis's body. He roared, "Don't even think about letting me crawl out from the tail." Following the attacks, the mantis was riddled with holes, and many parasite-like objects began to emerge from its body. The mantis was driven to despair. Zhang Chen let out a great shout of the move name, "Dance of the Horsehair Worm." Subsequently, the mantis could no longer stay upright, collapsing to the ground in a heap. This also caused the old hag to fall headfirst from above. Unable to believe the flesh Ganoderma's bizarre skill, she roared in frustration, How is this possible? You should have been digested in its stomach." After riddling the mantis's body like a sieve, Zhang Chen retracted the flesh Ganoderma and said triumphantly, "That's because I added a layer of electric film to the flesh Ganoderma's surface." By now, the mantis had completely lost all resistance and collapsed heavily. The old hag hurriedly stabilized herself and landed back on the ground. With her trump card completely destroyed by Zhang Chen, the old hag fell into a state of total madness. With a grotesque expression, she lashed out with a string of curses. "Damn you!" Refusing to give up, she extended two fingers and touched the mantis's blood, preparing to unleash the next wave of dark sorcery. After applying the blood, she began to smear it haphazardly across her eyes like a witch, shouting that she would fight to the death. Seeing she had too many tricks up her sleeve, Zhang Chen charged straight forward. With a single swing of his hand, he instantly severed her head before the spell could even be activated. She didn't even have time to make her move before she kicked the bucket. Zhang Chen flicked the hand he had just used for the decapitation, deciding to end this quickly, muttering, "It's too dangerous, otherwise the trouble will just keep piling up." Just then, Zhou Chen, who had transformed into a bat, flew toward him. Taking advantage of Zhang Chen's lowered guard, Zhou Chen reverted to human form and delivered a heavy kick to Zhang Chen, sending him flying into the ground and spitting blood. Having delivered the kick, he flicked away and flew off, laughing arrogantly at the successful sneak attack. He said triumphantly, "He, I've been waiting for this chance for a long time." Zhang Chen struggled to rise through the pain. At that moment, the fellow was hanging upside down in the air again. telling Zhang Chen that the old hag couldn't be killed by ordinary means. He explained that she was merely a GU embryo, and cutting her to pieces was useless. Sure enough, the old hag spoke again. I am a GU embryo that was specifically cultivated. Immediately after, she unleashed a bizarre skill as a nauseating fleshy tumor grew from the remaining half of her head. She said chillingly, "One who cannot be killed can also slay a god." And atop that tumor, a monster with a skeletal face appeared. It looked down at Zhang Chen, provoking him. "Let's see what else you've got." Zhou Chen followed up with his own shouting, urging the monster to kill Zhang Chen to eliminate future trouble, saying, "If this kid isn't removed, the consequences will be endless." Unexpectedly, old Carpenter Liu wasn't dead yet, but was currently struggling within the illusion of his own making. He spat up blood in agony, pleading for someone to kill him. He wailed, "Wah, quickly kill me." To deal with the remaining ghosts, Zhang Chen had to utilize a monsterization card. Drenched in sweat, he pulled out the card and muttered, "In this situation, I have to use monsterization." In an instant, Zhang Chen unleashed monsterization. Jade-faced fox. Subsequently, a fox phantom appeared and merged into his body. Soon, fox ears grew from his head and a mass of white hair and whiskers covered half his face, while his hands transformed into sharp claws. In the blink of an eye, he had taken on the enchanting form of a half-human, half-fox. To enhance his combat power, he summoned the flesh Ganoderma for a boost. He let out a great shout. Monsterization enhancement. A few seconds later, under the state of monsterization, the flesh Ganoderma transformed into a phantom sword. Without a moment's hesitation, he raised the sword and charged toward the group of ghosts prepared to start a slaughter. Just as Zhang Chen was preparing for battle, old Carpenter Liu was still suffering in agony, his expression wretched as he wept bitter tears. He reached out to claw at his own throat and roared, "Just kill me." Clearly, the pain had reached its limit. He used every ounce of his strength to let out a desperate roar. Simultaneously, Zhang Chen swung the longsword, transformed from the flesh Ganoderma in a violent slash. That single strike erupted with a terrifying power, lunging toward the two ghosts with the momentum of an overwhelming tidal wave. Seeing the strike, the two ghosts hurriedly dodged, neither daring to take it head-on. The aftershock of Zhang Chen's strike was so powerful it actually sliced clean through the entire mountain behind them. Faced with the staggering destructive power of the flesh Ganoderma sword, even Zhang Chen himself was stunned. He stared at the longsword and marveled. So the flesh Ganoderma has this kind of power, but unfortunately that strike missed. The two ghosts took the opportunity to launch a joint attack on Zhang Chen. Zhou Chen shouted, "Let's go together." Did they really think he hadn't noticed they were planning a sneak attack? After their previous encounter, he knew that Zhou Chen, who could transform into a bat, would be difficult to handle. Thinking to himself that this fellow would be hard to eliminate completely, he then looked at the old hag who had evolved into a GU embryo. Still rapidly thinking of a strategy, that old hag had absorbed the mantis's shell, which even the Godslayer hammer couldn't shatter, let alone a sword slash. Zhang Chen realized that dealing with these two ghosts simultaneously would be extremely difficult. He raised the flesh Ganoderma sword and whispered, "Both of these fellows are quite troublesome." Since that was the case, Zhang Chen decided to stake everything on one final gamble, pouring all his strength into the longsword. For a life-or-death struggle, with a determined gaze he roared, "Then the first move will be at full power." A few seconds later, Zhang Chen finished charging and unleashed dreamy chaotic killing sword. Countless sword shadows slashed frantically in all directions, sealing off every possible escape route. In an instant, the evolved ghost was struck by several swords. It raised its hands in defense, groaning in pain, but because its armor was so hard it didn't sustain a fatal wound. Even Zhou Chen was swept into this sea of sword shadows. He shouted through the pain, "Are you playing for keeps right from the start?" To dodge the attack, the two ghosts desperately charged toward the sky in an attempt to get close to Zhang Chen. Even though he was wounded by the sword, Zhou Chen still hissed that as long as they could get close, Zhang Chen would be finished. Zhang Chen thought to himself, "It's not certain who's going to be finished." As the distance closed, the damage from Zhang Chen's sword moves surged. The moment Zhou Chen's hand touched the sword chi, several of his fingers were instantly sliced off. At this moment, they had completely fallen into Zhang Chen's sword chi domain. Soon, the limbs of the two were severed by the flying sword chi. Immediately after, Zhang Chen neatly ended the battle, though the way he handled it was hardly clean, as fragments of corpses were spattered all over the ground. With the boost from the flesh Ganoderma-enhanced sword, Zhang Chen achieved a swift victory. He looked at the longsword, gasping for breath. Suddenly the system popped up with a notification. Zhou Chen deceased, Ghost Chi 100,000, Old Hag deceased, Ghost Chi 100,000. Finally, having dealt with these two difficult fellows, Zhang Chen let out a sigh of relief, and his monsterization state slowly deactivated. He then reverted from his ghost form back to his human form. The ghost chi harvested from these two fellows was quite considerable. While wiping his sweat, he happily muttered to himself, "This fight was worth it. The ghost chi from these two was quite a lot." Just then, the soul of that little boy was still hiding behind a stone observing Zhang Chen. Sensing the gaze, Zhang Chen turned his head and saw him. Feeling that this child still had the potential to be cultivated into a good ghost, Zhang Chen decided to send him to the Underworld Bureau to be settled. He thought to himself with satisfaction that this little ghost hadn't lost his humanity, so sending him to the Underworld was just right. The scene shifts to the Underworld office where Zhang Chen appears with the little boy. Ahead, an Underworld official was holding a wine jug, drunk out of his mind. Seeing Zhang Chen approach, the man reached out to block him, refusing entry. The little boy hid behind Zhang Chen in terror. The drunk Underworld official opened his mouth to question, "Who gave you permission to enter?" Seeing the other man so drunk and yet daring to block the way, Zhang Chen's rage flared as he barked a reprimand. "What are you shouting for? Weren't we allowed to enter freely before? Are you looking for trouble just because you've had too much to drink?" No matter what Zhang Chen said, the man's attention remained on the child. He took a heavy swig of wine and said, "I wasn't asking you." He then extended the wine jug toward the shivering little boy behind Zhang Chen and said, "I was asking him." The man's appearance frightened the boy into gripping Zhang Chen's arm tightly. The boy answered tremulously, My name is Hali. Big brother said they would take me in here." Immediately after, the official leaned in close to the boy, revealing a look of surprise and making an offer. "Oh, then stay here and be a guard with me." Seeing this, Zhang Chen laughed and comforted the boy, saying the job was quite good. Being a security guard was a fine choice. To keep the peace. Hearing this, the boy's ghost finally lowered his guard. He waved his hands excitedly and agreed readily. "Okay, I want to keep the peace too." Soon, the official treated the boy with great kindness, even personally placing a hat on his head. Seeing this, Zhang Chen smiled with relief. After letting them get acquainted, Zhang Chen pointed ahead and said, "You two talk. I have some business to attend to inside." Within the Underworld Bureau, the director was discussing matters with a group of subordinates. Suddenly, the director erupted in a furious roar, frightening his 4 subordinates out of their wits. He cursed, "A bunch of useless trash." Having learned of the Dark Abyss Guild's upcoming plan, he knew they intended to seize Zhongbei. The director was in a thunderous rage because these subordinates had failed to grasp any critical intelligence. He roared in fury, "The Dark Abyss harbors ill intent toward Zhongbei, and many of their hallmasters may have already infiltrated the city, yet we have absolutely no news of it." Hearing the director's words, 2 subordinates defended themselves, claiming they lacked enough manpower to monitor the entire Dark Abyss Guild. They said helplessly, "We're spread too thin, we simply can't watch everyone. Besides, Chu Hong is still busy handling the Tang clan matter. Misfortunes truly never come alone." Unable to think of a solution for the moment, the director could only consult the person who knew the Dark Abyss Guild best. "Strategist, what do you think we should do?" Given the strategist's experience, he believed those so-called hallmasters wouldn't be able to provide much help. They would eventually reveal themselves and could be cleared out then. However, what made the strategist break into a cold sweat of worry was the 4 Flying Ghosts group. He said hesitatingly, "It's just that Zhou Jia of the Evil Bone sect is leading a group of extraordinary experts, and I fear they will be very difficult to deal with." Just as he heard that familiar name, Zhang Chen walked in from outside and blurted out, "Zhou Jia?" Seeing Zhang Chen visiting again while he had free time, and seemingly knowing the fellow, the director asked in confusion, "Little brother, do you know him?" Upon hearing this, Zhang Chen proudly rattled off a series of names as if they were old acquaintances. Zhou Jia of the Evil Bone sect, Wu Liang of the Paper Gate, Carpenter Liu of the Lubin Gate, and Hallmaster Wu of the 5 Poisons sect. "Are these the experts you're talking about?" Hearing that Zhang Chen knew them like the back of his hand, the strategist was startled and shouted in shock, "You have intelligence on them?" Precisely because Zhang Chen had already wiped them all out, he confidently boasted to the crowd, "Yeah, I even had an academic exchange with them, which allowed me to see many methods that ordinary experts don't possess." The strategist pressed impatiently. "Where are they now?" To prove that he wasn't exaggerating, Zhang Chen proudly pulled out his phone and showed photos of the mission scene where he had sent them to meet the Yama King, saying cheerfully, "They're all dead." Having revealed the Dark Abyss Guild's intent to occupy Zhongbei, Zhang Chen had performed a great service. So he asked the director for a reward. Looking at his phone, he said to the director, "Director, I've handled such a huge problem for you. Shouldn't there be some kind of reward?" The director was not stingy at all, his eyes crinkling with laughter as he directly granted Zhang Chen a large sum of points. He said to Zhang Chen, "How about 80 points, facing this generous gift?" Zhang Chen was overjoyed, nodding his thanks repeatedly to the director. "Director, from now on you are my second father." While celebrating, Zhang Chen looked at the subordinates and noticed that group leader Li Yang hadn't come to pick a fight. He then asked, Where's group leader Yang? Usually at a time like this, wouldn't he be jumping with jealousy?" Mentioning Li Yang, the director replied with a face full of sorrow, Group leader Yang is currently pursuing a Drought Demon, and his fate is currently unknown. Hearing this, Zhang Chen recalled the phone call he made to ask about something while Li Yang was in the heat of battle with the Drought Demon. He let out a sigh and said, "Sigh, could it be that after that call that day Although the two had their differences, hearing the news of Li Yang's disappearance made Zhang Chen ask the director with concern, "Where did group leader Yang go missing?" The director replied hurriedly, "In Building 3 of the 7th Hospital." Recalling their last conversation, Zhang Chen said, "During our last contact he was busy evading the Drought Demon's attacks." At this moment, Zhang Chen remembered the curse placed on him by a vengeful ghost while he was exorcising spirits at the hospital before. He thought with some concern, "Speaking of hospitals, the time for my curse is almost up." Having learned of group leader Li Yang's location, Zhang Chen quickly rushed over, intending to treat his curse along the way. Currently, Zhang Chen sat waiting, feeling the curse mark on his neck about to trigger. He reached out to touch the mark, realizing time was running out. When the time came, his body would directly undergo a mutation. He said with a heavy tone, "I can feel it. There are less than 10 minutes left." To ensure nothing went wrong in this hospital full of ghosts, he decided to use the system to draw monsterization cards, just in case. He said to the system, "To be safe, draw 2 more 3-star monsterization cards for me." Perhaps because they had been together for a long time, the system had actually learned to joke. Is there really a need to be in such a hurry to reincarnate? Zhang Chen was somewhat irritable and in no mood for jokes, snapping, "Cut the nonsense and just draw." After being scolded, the system obediently pulled out 2 highly distinctive monsterization cards. Coming right up, 3-star monsterization card, Hundred-Eyed Demon Lord, and this next one looks to be of even higher quality, 3-star monsterization card, Silverhorn King. After drawing these 2 cards, Zhang Chen felt the curse was about to break out and said with a grave expression, "Time's almost up." A mass of golden ghost chi rose from the numbers on Zhang Chen's neck, beginning a countdown that pulled him into a hallucination. When the time hit 0, the numbers on his neck instantly erupted in fierce flames. Then what was bound to happen finally occurred. The flames spread, scorching Zhang Chen's entire body. He let out a piteous scream. The hallucination officially brought him into another time and space. Before he could adapt, he began to scream wildly. At this moment he was sent into a ward, transformed into a patient lying on a hospital bed firmly bound by 2 ropes. In his daze, he suddenly noticed the number 7 appearing on the ceiling and thought, "Did they send me to the 7th hospital?" Just then, an incredibly hot nurse approached with a syringe to give him an injection. Hearing him talking to himself, the nurse said, "What are you babbling about again? It's time for your shot." In his confusion, he claimed to be an extraordinary ghost hunter. The nurse sneered, "Still think you're some kind of expert. 1 minute you're monsterizing, the next you're killing ghosts." Zhang Chen couldn't figure out what was happening and retorted angrily, "What are you thinking? I really am an expert." Regardless of what Zhang Chen said, she immediately drew another dose from the medicine bottle, intending to put him to sleep. She said, "Tisk, let's increase the dosage." Looking at the needle, Zhang Chen was utterly terrified, his face covered in sweat. He roared desperately, "What do you want to do? You're all devils. Let me go. Just wait until I kill you all." Even though the needle had already pierced his neck, he continued to blather about possessing extraordinary power. "Don't touch me, I'm a B-rank expert." No matter how much he shouted, the nurse pushed the entire tube of medicine into Zhang Chen's body. Zhang Chen's eyes became dull and vacant. At this point, he hadn't yet realized he was deep within a hallucination. He muttered vaguely to himself, "Could it be that I really am just a patient?" Just then, the medicine began to take effect. He widened his eyes, trying one last time to rouse his sanity. Zhang Chen murmured weakly, "Have I been dreaming this whole time?" This was the true reflection of being high on the drugs. He stared at the ceiling like an idiot. Suddenly, another patient walked in to greet him, wishing him sweet dreams. The man grabbed Zhang Chen's collar, looked at the number 18 on his neck, and asked curiously, "New guy, are you number 18? Zhang Chen struggled to look at him and gave a greeting. "Hello, number 10. The man had a large 10 pasted on his face, but he was extremely shocked when Zhang Chen spoke. He opened his mouth wide and asked in surprise, "How did you know I was number 10? Putting that aside, he was there to deliver a message. He whispered into Zhang Chen's ear, "This world has ghosts." This secret coincided with Zhang Chen's own thoughts since arriving at the hospital. Everyone said there were ghosts here, which left him somewhat confused. Because of this, he suddenly realized that this place was more like a mental asylum. He laughed and said, "Haha, is that why you were locked up too?" The man's appearance was more ghostly than a ghost's. He slowly leaned into Zhang Chen's face and asserted with spit flying, "I'm not joking, there really are ghosts in this hospital." If it were truly as he said, Zhang Chen seemed to snap awake from the drug's power. He hurriedly pressed, "Really, where?" The man seemed to be intentionally provoking him, quickly climbing off the bed and refusing to reveal the location. "Hee, not telling you." Zhang Chen shouted from the bed. "Nurse, patient in bed 10 is having an episode again, nurse." The patient with the 10 on his face turned to run in a panic, then stopped and roared at Zhang Chen. "There are only patients and doctors in this hospital. Where would a nurse come from?" Zhang Chen's eyes widened in shock upon hearing this, remembering the red-haired nurse who had just given him the injection. He thought, the person who just gave me the shot was clearly a nurse. He stared at patient 10 with lifeless eyes. He smiled and proposed, "Let's make a deal." Zhang Chen looked down at his abdomen and said, "You help me untie these ropes and I'll take you to prove there are nurses here." Patient 10 waved his hands in terror and refused. "No, no way. If they find out I untied them, they won't give me dinner tonight." Zhang Chen glanced at him coldly and said, "It's fine, I'll just give you my portion." After loosening the restraints, patient 10 watched as Zhang Chen stood up shakily, saying worriedly, "You better be careful. I haven't seen any patient who leaves their ward ever come back." Zhang Chen stumbled outward, his entire body weak and powerless. He walked while saying, "Even so, I must go." After walking for a while, he saw a girl with long hair covering her face wearing a hospital gown and standing with her back to him. Zhang Chen placed a hand on the girl's shoulder and said, "Excuse me." The system popped up a notification. Touched a bare shoulder. "Where did this pervert come from?" Ghost Chi 800. He looked at the prompt box in surprise. The system, the girl roared in fury. "What are you staring at, looking for your daddy?" Zhang Chen smiled slightly, revealing a fang. He stepped forward like a rogue and tore the girl's clothes open. He said, "We're all psychos, so what if I touch you a bit?" Zhang Chen's nose grew longer as he pulled the trembling girl into his arms, snickering wickedly. "Little sister, I'll have the hospital give you some medicine for the swelling later, okay?" The girl pushed him away angrily and roared, "Get lost." Zhang Chen stared at the girl's curvaceous figure with a slight blush, thinking that being able to see such beauty in the underworld was quite satisfying. The girl delivered a savage heavy kick to his groin, making him scream in pain. "Holy crap, that was a low blow?" The girl pulled out a short dagger and said that next time wouldn't be as simple as just a kick. The girl swung the knife to stab Zhang Chen, catching him off guard. He let out a great shout. "Flesh Ganoderma." The dagger pierced straight into his chest, blood splashing everywhere. Zhang Chen clutched his chest, trembling, and cursed, "Damn it, did they take the flesh Ganoderma?" The girl continued her attack with the knife, roaring, "I'll stab your dog eyes out first." Zhang Chen stared wide-eyed at the incoming dagger, thinking, is it because of that injection? My body can't muster any strength at all. Seeing the dagger about to pierce his eye, Zhang Chen thought, am I, a Grand B-rank expert, going to die at the hands of this nobody today? Suddenly a black rope flew out and entangled the dagger. It successfully halted the girl's movement. The girl, now tightly restrained, dropped the knife from her hand. She stared at the massive black tentacle coiled tightly around her. A frantic voice rang out, "She's too strong, run master, I can't hold on much longer." Zhang Chen revealed a joyful smile. "Oh, I almost forgot I still have my shadow." But since things had come to this, Zhang Chen casually picked up a large box nearby. There was no point in running anyway. The female ghost, who had been quite arrogant at first, had finally fallen into his hands. She cried out in terror, "Wait!" Unfortunately, it was too late. A large bump was smashed onto her forehead, and she lost consciousness on the spot. But Zhang Chen had no intention of letting her go. Instead, he moved her to the bed and used his shadow to firmly bind her limbs. As soon as she woke up, she began to clamor loudly, "You bastard! Let me go!" Zhang Chen unbuckled his belt, making the female ghost tremble all over as fear bloomed in her heart. "Hey, what are you trying to do?" Zhang Chen revealed an extremely lecherous smile. "Big sister, I see your yin energy is too heavy. I plan to transfer some yang energy to help balance you out." Seeing that unclean thing swaying before her eyes, the female ghost roared irritably. "Get lost," Zhang Chen said with a smile. "It's not impossible for me to leave, but you have to answer my questions." The female ghost was scared to death. This posture was far too dangerous, she said hurriedly. "Put your pants on first, we can talk this out." "Hurry up, don't waste time." The expression on Zhang Chen's face was currently extremely savage and despicable. He stared at the female ghost and threatened, "Answer me first. How long have you been here?" The female ghost answered honestly, "A long time. When I first arrived, my head was even shaved bald." Zhang Chen evaluated the current length of her hair and said, "Since it's been so long, you must have heard about many ways to escape this place, right?" The girl immediately admitted that there were indeed such ways. He heard that as long as you killed the person with the number right before yours, you could take their place. Once you became number 1, you could enter the observation zone and escape. The more the female ghost spoke, the more furious she became. Her face shifting from fear to madness, she said, "The doctor is the real lunatic. He forces people to go mad until their condition keeps worsening." Zhang Chen furrowed his brow. "The current situation is troublesome, letting mental patients' conditions worsen until they turn into powerful, vengeful ghosts. Could this be the true purpose of this hospital?" Zhang Chen climbed off the bed and, seeing as she was somewhat honest, put his pants back on. Before leaving, he asked, "I want to see the patient records here. Where can I find them?" The female ghost replied, "In the consulting room at the end of the corridor. It's not far from here." Zhang Chen soon found the room with the consulting room sign at the end of the hall. It was empty. Zhang Chen entered cautiously and searched around, finding the hospital's patient records without much effort. Let's see. Zhang Chen flipped through the records cheerfully, looking to see if he could find any interesting clues. After finishing, Zhang Chen still had no intention of leaving. Instead, he continued to search the room, eventually turning up a skull and a few nails. Additionally, there was a small hammer that felt remarkably well balanced in his hand. At a time like this weapon was nothing short of perfect. Inside the ward, the female ghost was being pinned firmly to the bed by the shadow when someone suddenly walked in. It wasn't hard to see that this was the nurse who had given Zhang Chen an injection earlier. She looked at the female ghost lying on the bed, pulled out another syringe, and said with a cold laugh, "Finally, a chance to catch you. By killing you, I can take the next step up." However, at that moment, something eerie suddenly crawled out from under the nurse's skirt. Zhang Chen poked his head out from beneath her without her noticing. Looking up at the nurse from below, he said with a smile, "Finally, a chance to catch you. By killing you, I'll get my chance for a promotion, number 16. As soon as Zhang Chen finished speaking, a cluster of fire ignited on the nurse's forehead, revealing the number 16. The nurse was momentarily stunned, but as soon as she realized someone had crawled under her skirt, her long legs, clad in black stockings, suddenly tightened with force, death gripping Zhang Chen's cheeks. "You bastard crawling under my skirt, see if I don't crush you to death." Zhang Chen grit his teeth and held on, struggling to raise the small hammer in his hand. "Since you're holding on so tight, you better not move." Zhang Chen raised his right arm high and swung the small hammer, slamming it hard into the nurse's knee. He then took advantage of the momentum to leap backward, creating some distance. He looked at the hammer, which had vibrated from the impact, and gave a hee-hee laugh, remarking, "I didn't expect a ghost to have a knee-jerk reflex. That's truly an eye-opener." "Damn it!" The nurse stumbled back, aimed the syringe at Zhang Chen, and gave it a sharp push. The liquid inside shot toward Zhang Chen like an arrow. Zhang Chen immediately dodged to the side, initially thinking it was just ordinary medicine. But before he could even get a few mocks out, the pool of seemingly ordinary liquid hit the ground and erupted with a thunderous bang. Zhang Chen cursed under his breath. Holy crap! He watched the fire spread rapidly and wondered if this crappy hospital even had fire safety equipment. While the two were locked in a fierce struggle, the unluckiest person was undoubtedly number 15, who was pinned to the bed by the shadow. She could do nothing but wait for death, her ears filled with the sound of roaring flames and constant explosions. Whimper, whimper, whimper. Was anyone considering her feelings right now? Obviously not. Zhang Chen was far too busy dealing with the eerie liquid the nurse was shooting. He pulled out the skull he had swiped from the consultation room. For some unknown reason, he actually pried the skull's mouth open, letting the incoming liquid fall directly into the oral cavity that he had stuffed full of nails. Once it was fed full, Zhang Chen leaned back slightly at the waist and violently hurled the skull toward number 16. "Fire in the hole." Number 16 caught the skull, her face written with disgust and disdain. PSH, this kind of trash stolen from the consultation room was obviously just an ordinary skull. But that was only if you didn't count the liquid inside. Before she could show any more contempt, the skull exploded violently at close range. Most importantly, the nails inside the skull's mouth, boosted by the blast's impact, instantly peppered number 16's entire body and face. Blood splashed everywhere. Zhang Chen had no intention of showing mercy to the fair sex. He stepped forward with his hammer, his next move self-evident. "This look isn't very aesthetic," Zhang Chen laughed maniacally. "Let me help you hammer those nails in, nice and tight." With that, the heavy hammer fell. System notification. Killed fraudulent vengeful ghost, Ghost Chi 199. Zhang Chen let out a long sigh. After killing the ghost, a wave of exhaustion hit him instantly. Fortunately, this was just an ordinary vengeful ghost. Otherwise, with this weakened body, he surely would have kicked the bucket just now. The number on Zhang Chen's neck changed to 16. He wiped his sweat with the hand holding the hammer, and just then, number 15 looked at him and let out a series of ha-ha-ha laughs. This strange laughter made Zhang Chen, who was already irritable after the fight, lose his temper. He had originally planned to spare her life, but now he wasn't so sure. He patted the hammer in his hand and stared at number 15, saying coldly, "Speak up. Give me a reason not to kill you." Number 15's face was covered in blood, with 2 trails of red running from beneath her nose. Knowing that if she didn't come clean she'd lose her life, she hurriedly replied, "I know the records of all the patients here." Zhang Chen unceremoniously swung his hammer into her face. "Do you think I'm stupid? Do I really need you for that? When I went to the consultation room to get this hammer, wouldn't I have checked the files along the way?" Number 15 was struck dizzy, her pretty face swelling up like a pig's head. But she could only swallow her pride and continue to beg submissively, "It's not like that. What I mean is, I also know a lot of insider information, gossip, secrets that aren't written in those records. I can tell you everything." These words sounded somewhat more appealing. Zhang Chen satisfiedly retracted his shadow and smiled. That's actually somewhat useful. He released the restraints. Since number 15's clothes had been torn earlier, she had to temporarily put on number 16's ill-fitting nurse uniform and then follow behind Zhang Chen. After walking for a bit, they encountered 2 more patients, specifically one patient walking toward them with a knife, and another rolling on the ground in agony. Zhang Chen was about to step forward when number 15 hurriedly pulled him back, peeking out to observe the 2. She warned him with a face full of worry, "Wait, those 2 are dangerous. Number 13 is always hallucinating that her child has crawled into someone else's stomach, so she'll slice open the belly of anyone she meets." Zhang Chen looked at the patient who was on all fours, trembling incessantly. He concluded that this fellow was more of a heavyweight character, a split personality. One was himself, the other was his wife. Seeing Zhang Chen continue to walk forward as if nothing was wrong, number 15 was almost reduced to tears, thinking, "Did this guy even listen to a word I said?" On the other side, number 13 was examining herself in a mirror. The mirror reflected a pair of eyes shimmering with a green light. Zhang Chen approached with a composed look. The female ghost reached into her mouth, trying to pry open her pitch-black oral cavity to check, muttering, "Son, are you hiding in mommy's stomach?" Zhang Chen stepped forward, raised an eyebrow, and teased with a smile, "Stop looking, your son took one look at you and went into hiding." Upon hearing this, number 13 lunged at Zhang Chen, screaming with spit flying and her foul breath hitting him square in the face. "What? You saw my son?" Zhang Chen forced himself to endure the nausea, pointed at number 15 nearby who was wearing the number 16 nurse uniform, and said, "Yeah, the doctor just told me about it." Being called over suddenly to hear this, it scared me half to death. As soon as she heard the word doctor, the female ghost instantly recoiled in terror. It seemed the doctor had left quite a massive psychological trauma on them. Zhang Chen struck while the iron was hot, smiling, "Don't be afraid. The doctor sent me to help you with a minor surgery. We'll just take the child out." The female ghost asked in confusion if they would do the C-section right there and if it would be dangerous. Zhang Chen revealed a master con artist's incredibly confident and professional smile, his expression certain. "Don't worry. The doctor's technique is top tier. The surgery has a 0 success rate, guaranteed not to hurt at all." That mother actually burst into a happy smile. Oh, then I'm relieved. Relieved my foot. No sooner had she spoken than she launched a surprise attack on Zhang Chen's group. Did she really think people were stupid? AO success rate meant certain death. Number 15 leaped back in horror, thinking, "I already told you not to provoke her, now look what happened. Couldn't you just say 100? It was obvious Zhang Chen didn't take this female ghost seriously at all. He was purely playing with her. Furthermore, he wore a despicable smile, devoid of any guilt. "I thought she'd just stay put and let me beat her to death." The thoroughly enraged female ghost entered a state of madness, launching a frantic assault of punches and kicks, even shattering a wall with her bare hands. What a waste of talent not performing in a circus with that strength. The female ghost suddenly changed her move, a horizontal sweep aimed straight for Zhang Chen's abdomen. Zhang Chen leaped into the air to dodge, then immediately launched a counterattack. Just as he was about to land a hit, the shadow blocked the blow for him. It blocked it, but that force made my hand a bit numb. Zhang Chen quickly summoned the shadow and questioned it in a low voice. "Let me ask you something." The shadow nodded. "Please speak, master." "The darker the surroundings, the stronger your power becomes, right?" The shadow replied with total confidence. "Naturally." "Good." Zhang Chen thought of a way to break the deadlock. He stared at the shadow and smiled while charging at the female ghost. "Wait for my command." Seeing Zhang Chen charge over, the female ghost opened her blood-red maw and roared, "You come into my stomach too and stay with my son." Ha! This was the exact moment Zhang Chen had been waiting for. He instantly erupted with incredible speed, retreating rapidly, allowing the shadow to dive straight into the female ghost's mouth. Because her mouth was open so wide, the shadow rushed in before she had any chance to close it, forcing her to swallow it. Soon, the female ghost had sucked the entire shadow inside, but her expression now became extremely bizarre, as if she were choking. She patted her chest, forcing down the last bit of the shadow, and let out a long sigh of relief. However, she was completely unaware that her belly was expanding at a staggering speed. Immediately after, with a world-shaking boom, the female ghost was blown to pieces, her severed limbs and shredded flesh splashing everywhere. The shadow reappeared. System notification. Killed top-tier vengeful ghost, gluttonous ghost, Ghost Chi 999. Although they won, Zhang Chen felt a wave of weakness. The shadow returned to his body. Zhang Chen let out a long sigh of relief and wiped the cold sweat from his face. Finally, one was settled. This woman's death was well deserved. One left. Zhang Chen glanced sideways at the man who was kneeling on the ground, wailing and moaning incessantly. For some reason, Zhang Chen's intuition told him this fellow was incredibly dangerous, using the bit of ghost chi he had just recovered. He observed the bizarre aura radiating from the man and thought it best not to provoke him. "Let's go." Zhang Chen gave number 15 a look. The two quickly bypassed the man crawling on the ground preparing to leave. But before they had gone many steps, the man suddenly straightened up and roared. "Stop right there, you bastards," he pointed at Zhang Chen. Though his eyes were glazed and his voice weak, his arrogant posture was exactly like that of a common thug. He stared at Zhang Chen and demanded, "Are you the other man my wife found?" In a flash his tone shifted to a high-pitched female voice. His nails grew long and even his eyelashes lengthened. "Hubby, don't be like this. I haven't done anything to wrong you." "Fine." Since they were called back, it wouldn't be Zhang Chen if he didn't return the favor. Zhang Chen stepped forward and asked with a wicked grin, "Haven't done anything to wrong your husband? Just a moment ago you were crawling on the ground wiggling your butt to seduce me." The person instantly switched back to the husband personality, waving his fists and roaring in a rage, "You slut, I knew you were seeing someone behind my back." The wife personality jumped out again to explain hurriedly, "Are you stupid? He's clearly trying to drive a wedge between us." Upon hearing this, the husband personality instantly came to his senses and roared as he lunged at Zhang Chen, "I hate people who frame others the most. See if I don't rip you apart. So much nonsense." Zhang Chen ducked low, dodging a heavy swipe from the opponent. The man stood his ground and swung a long arm again, aiming straight for Zhang Chen's head. Zhang Chen quickly leaped into the air and retreated to dodge. Immediately after, that man actually leaped into the air as well. His movements incredibly agile. But one person's energy is limited. How could he handle the coordination of two people? Because he was entirely focused on Zhang Chen, he completely failed to notice that number 15 had already sneaked up behind him. Good chance. Number 15 seized the moment, rushing out violently to slice the man's body in two. She shouted excitedly, "Ha ha, this time my rank will surely move up to number 11. Unfortunately, the dangerous figure Zhang Chen had sensed was nowhere near that simple. The number on number 15 remained unchanged, which meant the opponent wasn't completely dead in a split second. The two severed pieces of the body on the ground actually moved. They stood up facing each other, then slowly began to fuse and stick together. Both personalities manifested simultaneously. The number 5.5 appeared on the woman's forehead, and the same number appeared on the man's chest. He looked at number 15 and laughed sinisterly. "Hey, you think that could kill me? Oh, if one strike isn't enough, let's try another." Zhang Chen appeared from behind them, whispering into the woman's ear, "Darling, you finally left your husband." After speaking, he actually began to touch the female ghost without any hesitation. "This way we can be together openly. How dare you cuckold me right to my face?" System notification. Ghost Chi 990. This surprise came quickly enough. Zhang Chen stared at the system panel and thought, "Not bad, the ghost Chi is finally enough." He reached out and stroked the female ghost's chest a few more times. This action made her, who was already afraid of her husband, even more terrified and completely unable to resist. In the next second, a violent energy, woven from fire and lightning, suddenly erupted from Zhang Chen's palm. The flames instantly swallowed her body, sending her into a coma. Seeing things were going south, the husband personality immediately abandoned his wife to flee for his life. "Want to run? Not a chance." Zhang Chen glanced at his retreating back and sneered. "Forgot to tell you, there are two of us over here too, right in the shadow beneath your feet." The man happened to step right onto the shadow. Zhang Chen strode forward and pinned his head. Ignoring his screams for mercy, he ruthlessly plundered the ghost chi from his body. Soon, the man was also heavily surrounded by the raging fire. The whales were gradually swallowed by the flames. The flesh and blood dissolved, leaving only a single skull in the end. System notification. Killed half-step blood raiment split ghost chi 9999. Zhang Chen looked at the rewards credited to his account, and his mood turned from cloudy to sunny once more. Who told these guys to throw away a good life and come here to seek death? Killing one half-step blood raiment earned him this much. This place was practically his lucky land. Zhang Chen put his hands on his hips and laughed boisterously. Meanwhile, number 15, who had witnessed Zhang Chen's entire sequence of frantic slaughter, felt a massive doubt rise in her heart. This guy, is he really here for medical treatment? Seeing number 15 still frozen in place, Zhang Chen turned his head and offered a reminder. Number 15 snapped back to her senses and followed closely behind him. As the two continued through the hospital and rounded a corner, they found a crowd gathered there. Among this group of monsters and ghosts, the strongest was number 2, while the weakest was at least number 1. The moment Zhang Chen and number 15 appeared, the eyes of the crowd turned as fierce as hungry wolves. Number 7 asked, "Patients with double-digit numbers like you actually dare to come here?" Zhang Chen gave an arrogant smile. "Hee, because yours truly is pleased to be here." The ghosts lunged at Zhang Chen, intending to tear him to pieces, but that would depend on whether Zhang Chen allowed it. More accurately, it depended on whether the hammer in his hand allowed it. Time to get to work. Zhang Chen swung the heavy hammer, charging through the enemy ranks, or rather, unilaterally pummeling these low-numbered patients until they began to question the meaning of their ghostly existences. Since the scene was far too horrific, unsuitable for those under 18 or viewers with heart conditions, we shall skip it for now. Once the battle ended, a patient lay on the ground with his tongue hanging out, his brain matter scattered and blood flowing. A foot wearing a slipper stepped directly over him, stomping heavily onto the unlucky fellow's head and squeezing out the remaining brain matter and blood. Zhang Chen rubbed his foot against a scrap of cloth on the ground, looking at them with a face full of disdain. Actually, it wasn't so much disdain as it was satisfaction. This fight had been quite refreshing. Without realizing it, he had fought his way up to number 2, and it felt fantastic, earning him quite a bit of ghost chi to boot. Now he had only one goal. Zhang Chen looked around, searching. Where was number 1? Number 15 pointed toward a room with a door left ajar, a faint red light glowing from within. In there. Zhang Chen looked at number 15 and asked with a smile, "What's number 1's story?" Number 15 replied immediately. He was originally a high IQ mad killer. On his first day in the hospital, he single-handedly fought his way from number 24 all the way to number 1. Hearing this, Zhang Chen let out a tisk and leaned in close to number 15, putting on a difficult expression as he asked, "Are you implying that I'm also quite strange?" Number 15 shook her head like a rattle, offering a forced smile as she said, No, I'm helping you out of my own free will. It was because that fellow was so brutal that even the doctors didn't dare approach his room easily." The two slowly approached the room, but before number 15 could even catch her breath, she was kicked directly into the room by Zhang Chen to serve as cannon fodder. Number 1 was sitting and reading. Looking at number 15 as she flew in and slammed onto the floor, he was clearly full of doubt. Number 15 was scared out of her wits, her eyes vacant as she trembled. Number 1 cast a cold, disgusted look at her, staring as if she were an insect. "You aren't a doctor." At that moment, Zhang Chen suddenly popped up from behind number 15, his hand resting on her waist. Zhang Chen tugged at number 15's pants and said, "Can't a doctor wear a patient's gown? You seem to be looking down on people a bit." Unexpectedly, number 1 suddenly slammed his book shut and said, "There are no female doctors here." Zhang Chen stood up and draped an arm around the shoulder of the soul-shaken number 15, saying in a grandiose manner, "She just arrived today. Aren't I bringing her around to learn the layout?" Number 1 furrowed his brow. "That's still not right." Zhang Chen found it a bit strange. How was it not right? Number 1 picked up a nearby weapon and said slowly, "Because I am too dangerous, no doctor has ever dared to enter my room alone. Since the enemy has already made his stance, I must strike first." Zhang Chen let out a great shout, and a dazzling blue light erupted from his mouth, covering number 1. But this little trick was useless against number 1. Although a mist filled the room, the weapon in number 1's hand seemed to have eyes, heading straight for Zhang Chen. Through the dust, Zhang Chen saw a long red shadow and realized it was a staff, hurriedly raising his hand to block. The pale wolf howl is useless against him. Zhang Chen frowned as he caught the opponent's strike, which wasn't particularly heavy. Number 1 swung the long staff and, as if seeing through Zhang Chen's thoughts, explained with a smile, "The moment you opened your mouth just now, I cleared the surrounding air, creating a vacuum barrier. Within a vacuum, no vibrations can travel, so you cannot harm me." Zhang Chen let out an "oh" of admiration. Impressive to be able to achieve this with just a staff, but it doesn't matter. Zhang Chen smiled and asked again, "Then shall we try one more time?" With that, he roared at number 1 again. System notification careless. Nowhere to hide. Ghost Chi 1999. Zhang Chen's shadow suddenly lunged upward, and the second Zhang Chen, the shadow appeared behind him. By now, number 1 had already been hit, his entire body trembling violently. Even someone with only one good eye could see that the current situation was 3 against 1, making it extremely unfavorable for number 1. Number 1 stared fixedly at Zhang Chen, silently evaluating. This blind fool must be number 2's clone, definitely the enemy's helper. To turn the tide, I can only instigate this fake doctor. Number 1 looked at number 15, who was fastening her buttons, and asked, "Hey, what number are you?" Number 15 froze for a moment, staring at number 1. Realizing he was asking her, she hurriedly opened her outer coat to reveal the 15 on her chest. Number 1 was overjoyed, trying to drive a wedge between them. "Want to team up with me? Kill him and you'll be number 2. Sigh? Zhang Chen let out a long sigh. The fellow's strength was mediocre, but his cunning was quite heavy. That massive underworld god hammer of Zhang Chen's returned to his hand once more. The 1999 ghost chi that just arrived was perfectly timed, allowing him to successfully summon the underworld god hammer. It was simply fantastic. He asked with a smile, "Don't you quite like the number 1 position?" Outside the ward, the dark corridor was empty. Suddenly, with a thunderous boom, the wall was shattered, and number 1 came flying out. Clearly, he had taken another hit from Zhang Chen's hammer. Zhang Chen walked over to number 1, looking at the opponent who was trembling all over and unable to stop the intense pain, and let out a breath as he retracted the heavy hammer. This thing was powerful alright, but it consumed way too much ghost chi. By now, number 1 no longer dared to think about killing Zhang Chen, his mind filled only with the desire to survive. Disregarding everything, he actually began to cry out to the doctor for help, shouting, "Doctor, save me, someone is trying to kill a patient." The doctor manifested instantly. A bird-headed monster with a green mouth and a red beak, it stared at Zhang Chen and warned, "Stay away from number 1. Zhang Chen stood right in front of the doctor and with an indifferent face completely consumed number 1. "What? Can't understand you, bird doctor?" "No, it's a chicken doctor." Enraged by Zhang Chen's attitude, it opened its mouth and let out a piercing screech. "You dare ignore a doctor's words? Do you want to die?" This move was on par with the pale wolf howl. Zhang Chen was blasted back several steps, and the doctor, clucking like a fighting cock, pressed toward him. Zhang Chen silently evaluated, "He's just a half-step blood raiment, not that hard to deal with, yet he wants to kill me." Just as the chicken doctor closed in, Zhang Chen vanished completely, as if he had never existed. Surprised, Zhang Chen instantly flashed behind the chicken doctor, clenching his fist and delivering a savage pummeling to the chicken head. "A chicken like you is fit to be a doctor? As long as the director approves, I am the doctor," the chicken doctor replied. An incredibly powerful force was hidden within the sleeves of its doctor's robe. Without turning its head, it threw a heavy backhand punch that hit Zhang Chen square in the cheek. Zhang Chen retreated a few steps, wiped the slight pain from the corner of his mouth and sneered, "It seems none of you understand saving the dying and helping the injured. This truly is a garbage hospital." The chicken doctor lunged again, this time using its long neck and sharp beak, pecking while cursing. "I understand, right now I'm helping you achieve release." Zhang Chen reached out his hand and death-gripped the chicken beak that was pecking at his heart. "Today I'm going to clean house for the medical world." Zhang Chen let out a great shout. 100,000-volt electric chicken, high-voltage current erupted from his hand, covering his entire body and sending the chicken into a state of total convulsions. Under the high voltage, the chicken was charred black, its blue feathers emitting thick smoke and a delicious aroma of cooked meat. Zhang Chen actually felt a sudden wave of hunger. "Let's have a chicken leg first," he smiled as he grabbed the doctor's chicken leg and snapped it with a casual twist. He even kindly asked number 15 if she wanted to eat together. But how could number 15 possibly dare? Not if she had 10 times the courage. Number 15 was completely speechless. It was one thing to kill number 1, but he had actually killed a doctor too. She had seen doctors killed before, but this was the first time she'd seen one eaten. Although number 15 refused, Zhang Chen still held the chicken leg out to her and said, "Have a bite. It's better to go on your way with a full stomach." Hearing the words, "Go on your way," number 15 was filled with terror. Was he going to kill her to silence her? Zhang Chen chewed the chicken meat and said, "Your mission is complete. Consider this your reward, to send you off with a bit of dignity." Number 15 knew she couldn't escape, and a wave of grievance surged in her heart, her tears falling like rain. Everyone was the same. They just threw you away after using you. She still remembered her memories from before she became a ghost. She was a student then, just coming out of a mall with 3 lipsticks in her hand. She gave the lipsticks to her so-called friends, and one red-haired girl laughed. "I've put you in a difficult spot. To think you could steal these with so many cameras. Here's one for your reward." With that, she tossed number 15 a pink one. Immediately after, she shouted at the mall security, "Security, someone stole lipsticks." Number 15 was quickly pinned to the ground, and only then did she realize she had been betrayed after being used. The red-haired girl even mocked her nonchalantly. "You're useless now. Give us one last bit of fun before you're taken away." Number 15 would never forget that feeling, and now that it was happening again, it felt like a knife to the heart. Number 15 slumped on the ground and wailed loudly. Zhang Chen sighed, walked over and patted her head, saying gently, "I'll give you a chance. I'll count to 3. If you haven't been caught by me, I'll let you go." With that, he flashed a brilliant smile. But before he could even reach 1, number 15 erupted with her fastest speed and vanished without a trace. She ran fast, all right, but catching her wouldn't be hard. But he'd let her go for now. Zhang Chen felt there was no rush to take her life. Left alone, Zhang Chen continued to search the area for clues. He found a strange room in the basement, and upon entering, he discovered his clothes were inside, along with the flesh Ganoderma. Seeing Zhang Chen return, the flesh Ganoderma excitedly lunged onto his face, tears swirling in its eyes. Zhang Chen laughed and cursed. "Haha, only a few days since we last met and you miss me this much?" Just then, a man in a white coat walked over and asked, "Who are you?" Zhang Chen didn't answer. The flesh Ganoderma in his hand instantly expanded and slammed onto the doctor's head with a bang. A large bump swelled on the doctor's head. He'd likely be unconscious for a long time. Zhang Chen casually stripped off his white coat. Since he was already unconscious, it wouldn't be too much to borrow a coat to wear, would it? Besides, wearing a doctor's uniform in a hospital was safer. With the identity of a doctor, Zhang Chen's movements were more effortless. He continued his search in the corridor, whistling as he went. As he was humming a tune, Zhang Chen was drawn to a sign. He looked up at the red sign that read, Special Consultation Room, which looked quite interesting. Following his spirit as a veteran adventurer, Zhang Chen pushed the door open and entered. A thin doctor in a white coat sat in the room, facing a patient wearing a metal ring on his head. Seeing a colleague enter, the patient complained, "Doctor, every time I close my eyes a female ghost mocks me." The doctor recorded this while saying, "It seems your condition has worsened. You have to overcome it. Imagine you are driving a large truck." The doctor leaned in and whispered into the patient's ear, waving a staff before him. A bizarre aura followed the wooden staff and tunneled into the patient's body. The doctor murmured, "Crush her, smash her to pieces." The patient roared, "Crush her." Blood flowing from his 7 orifices, his appearance horrific. What little life he had left vanished instantly, his face covered in red fissures, his eye sockets sunken and his pupils vacant. His patient gown also gradually turned red. He let out a series of strange sounds, his body seeming to boil as fleshy lumps constantly bulged under his skin and black blood erupted. His current appearance was more terrifying than a vengeful ghost. Finally he slumped motionless in the chair, his lower body completely soaked in blood. The doctor said indifferently, "Dead." Only the blood raiment phenomenon appeared. He didn't transform into a special cursed spirit. Zhang Chen appeared behind him and whispered, "The blood raiment didn't even soak through." The doctor replied casually, "Yeah, I'll have to do more experiments." No sooner had the words left his mouth than he realized something was wrong. Retreating in terror and staring at Zhang Chen as he roared, "Who gave you permission to enter?" Zhang Chen tugged at the clothes on his body and laughed. "I'm a doctor too." The doctor was so angry he pointed his pen and shouted, "Didn't the director tell you? This is my exclusive consultation room." Zhang Chen scratched his head and replied awkwardly, "All right, the director did say that. I've been feeling mentally unstable lately, so I wanted to ask you to take a look at me." Hearing this, the doctor was instantly overjoyed. Thinking that experimental material had just delivered itself to his door, he immediately gestured for Zhang Chen to sit in the chair opposite him. Zhang Chen complied, plopping his backside directly into the seat that the just-deceased patient hadn't even vacated yet. The doctor nearly exploded with rage, barking, "Who gave you permission to sit like that?" Once Zhang Chen was settled, the diagnosis officially began. The doctor's opening was professional and routine. "What are your symptoms?" Zhang Chen replied somewhat awkwardly. "Well, I have delusions." The doctor narrowed his eyes, his face written with doubt and extreme suspicion. He leaned in close to Zhang Chen and said, "It's all right, I'll help you break free from your fantasies and speak the truth. Come, tell me, what is your profession?" The doctor waved the pen in his hand before Zhang Chen's eyes. Zhang Chen seemed to fall under the spell, dazedly blurring out the truth. "My specialty is killing living things." The doctor knew his technique would never fail, so what Zhang Chen said had to be the truth. His heart couldn't help but tremble as he suppressed the fear gradually spreading through his body. He continued to press. "What kind of ghosts have you killed?" Zhang Chen extended his fingers, counting them one by one. First it was the knocking ghost, then the bed-bottom ghost, and after that a total of 7 times 7, 49 other types of ghosts. Finally, Zhang Chen summarized, "Whenever I encounter a vengeful ghost, I just chop it up along the way." No sooner had Zhang Chen finished speaking than the doctor's research notebook and pen dropped straight to the floor. Zhang Chen reached out and grabbed the doctor, who shouted in terror, "What are you trying to do?" Zhang Chen asked with a face full of concern, "Doctor, can I still be saved?" The doctor violently yanked his hand back. "You don't need saving at all. It's MZ who needs saving. Why don't you go run for director? I'll give you my vote." Hearing this, Zhang Chen was incredibly excited, and the number 1 on his neck even began to burn slightly. He lunged forward, grabbing the doctor by the head and commanding, "Then quickly tell me where the director is. I'm going to compete with him." Seeing the flames ignite, the doctor finally realized that the person he had been chatting with for so long was patient number 1, not a doctor. Zhang Chen reached out to cover the number 1, tilting his head with a smile. "Oops, found out. In that case, I'll just have to eliminate the witness." Zhang Chen pulled down his mask. Once the doctor realized Zhang Chen was no longer acting as a doctor, his attitude shifted. "As for eliminating witnesses, I'm not the only one you'll have to kill." Using some unknown method, the doctor summoned a swarm of other patients from behind him. Their state was identical to the man who had just died, clearly failed experimental subjects. Behind Zhang Chen, the man whose body was halfway through blood raiment also broke free, approaching him with ah moans. Zhang Chen frowned as he looked around. "It seems this hospital cultivates 2 types of ghosts. One is like raising GU, letting patients kill each other to gradually level up. The other is this kind of experimental subject, triggering the evil thoughts in their hearts and infusing them with ghost chi to create cursed vengeful ghosts. I wonder how much ghost chi these experimental subjects can provide me." By now, Zhang Chen had retracted the flesh Ganoderma. In his eyes, this group was nothing. In an instant the heads of several experimental subjects were severed. and the monster lunging at him from the other side was sliced clean in half at the waist. Countless afterimages appeared in midair. The swarm of ghosts was struck by countless beams of sword chi, falling like wheat being harvested. While Zhang Chen was busy dealing with the other monsters, the doctor ordered the remaining experimental subjects to pile on, attempting to trap him in a human pyramid. Zhang Chen was nearly submerged in the ocean of ghost shadows, but he remained exceptionally calm, simply instructing the flesh Ganoderma to bind them all. The flesh Ganoderma obeyed, instantly piercing the neck of the experimental subject closest to Zhang Chen, then passing through the mouth of another and the nose of a third. It rampaged through the enemy ranks, darting up and down. Finally, it even pierced through a man's chest and half of a doctor's face. The flesh Ganoderma's method of binding ghosts was truly unique, actually skewering them into a long chain. A heap of corpses hung swaying in midair, while the other end of the rope was in Zhang Chen's hand. The doctor's hat fell to the floor. Only then did Zhang Chen remember he had forgotten to ask where the director was. It seemed he'd have to find him himself. What a hassle. Zhang Chen let out a tisk and walked out of the room. Blood flowed slowly from the room, spreading across the corridor. Zhang Chen continued toward another room. A red warning slogan was pasted on the door, "Authorized personnel only." This is practically a formality. It was truly redundant. Wasn't this a blatant invitation for him to enter? Inside the room, a female patient who looked fairly normal sat on the floor with her eyes closed, though it was unclear if she was awake or asleep. Beside her lay a monster with a mouth full of fangs, sleeping with its maw wide open. Seemingly hearing the sound of the door opening, the female patient woke up and looked toward the entrance. It turned out she hadn't been sleeping. She patted the inhuman thing beside her to signal it to wake up, then pointed at Zhang Chen and said, "Look, another doctor. This is too boring. Kill him to pass the time." She sneered, completely unaware of the price she would soon pay for this decision. The monster swung its arm and smashed it toward him. It wore a massive hook-shaped curved blade on its hand. Zhang Chen let out a great shout, "Tyrant demon body!" In the next second the sharp blade slammed violently against his head, but the point of impact only showed a few red marks. That girl was no pushover either. Immediately flashing behind Zhang Chen to launch a sneak attack, even uttering provocations, Zhang Chen sidestepped to dodge the attack, marveling, "Whoa, quite fast." But before he could even steady himself, the massive blade struck again from the rear. These two indeed coordinated with great mimicry, launching continuous fierce attacks at him, but Zhang Chen simply turned around. This time he caught the weapon directly with his fist. A trace of terror rose in the monster's heart. How can this doctor be stronger than me? Damn it. Taking advantage of the moment Zhang Chen's hand was still pressed against her companion's blade, the female patient leapt into the air and swung her leg toward the back of his head. "Die, you stinking docker." Following a loud boom, Zhang Chen didn't appear to be crushed. Sure enough, he raised his other hand and blocked it firmly. Zhang Chen glared at them, the number 1 on his neck wrapped in flames, burning fiercely. "Open your dog eyes and look closely. Who exactly am I?" The woman froze, staring blankly at Zhang Chen. Then she stuck out her tongue, revealing a bite mark that read 10. "Ha ha ha, so it's number 1, the strongest among the patients." Zhang Chen looked at the 10 on the female ghost tongue and thought, "So there's a number 10 too. Are you an outside patient?" After learning Zhang Chen wasn't a doctor, the two stopped fighting. The woman first introduced herself, then pointed to the monster beside her. "My name is Shasha, and this is my pet, Shawa." She then walked toward Zhang Chen, examining the attire on his body. After looking for a while, she reached out to tug at his collar. "Why are you wearing a doctor's uniform? You almost made us misunderstand." Zhang Chen knew these two were strong, and rather than hostility, he now felt more amusement and alertness. These two even dared to kill doctors. They indeed seemed to have a rebellious streak which he could use to his advantage. So Zhang Chen looked Shasha straight in the eye and said, "Because I plan to storm the director's office and overthrow the rule of this hospital." Holy crap, Shasha and Shalwa were drenched in cold sweat after hearing this, their mouths hanging open in speechless shock. This guy was even more extreme than the two of them. This was the right feeling, Shasha asked again, "But there are so many doctors here, can you kill them all?" Zhang Chen had been waiting for this question, and he immediately flashed an extremely provocative smile. "That's why I hope you'll fight alongside me. There are thousands of mental patients here. Even if you and I fall, as long as the spirit is immortal, that fire won't go out. Someone will eventually succeed." The system gave a ding notification. Zhang Chen successfully incited Shasha's emotions. Blood boiling, Ghost Chi 2000. Looking at Shasha's current expression, one could tell how much she wanted to follow Zhang Chen into battle. Shasha fumbled in her hospital gown pocket for a moment and pulled out a hair tie to put her hair up, and even Shalwa straightened his bangs, revealing a bright, confident forehead. They were clearly impatient. Zhang Chen summoned the flesh Ganoderma and led the group at the front. "Let's go." After walking for a bit, Shasha took the lead. Passing a staircase, she headed directly up. Zhang Chen asked, Why go up there? Is the director upstairs? Sha looked back at him and explained, don't be in such a rush. There are plenty of ghosts who want to kill the director. Didn't you say you wanted to gather everyone? Zhang Chen laughed inwardly, his heart blooming with joy. She actually believed him. This was fantastic. Since that was the case, he could use their momentum. Sha walked ahead, carrying a baseball bat, and said, this floor is for patients from the outside. We just need to pick a few useful ones to take with us. They came to a door and a series of noisy sounds came from inside. Sha looked sideways at Shalwa and commanded, Shalwa, go in and report that a doctor has come to block them. Shalwa was in the room for a long time and didn't come out. Out of curiosity, Zhang Chen and Sha leaned toward the crack in the door to peek inside. What was going on? 3 pitch-black ghost shadows appeared inside, wrestling and tearing at each other. It looked like 3 people were arguing. In reality, all 3 shadows originated from the man sitting facing the wall. This ghost had a peculiar appearance, even possessing 3 strange eyes as red as fire. What was originally thought to be one person was actually a trinity. Just as Zhang Chen was nervously searching for the ghost, Sha beside him was nonchalantly humming a little tune. Zhang Chen was so angry he grabbed her 2 pigtails and asked irritably, are you singing for me? Frightened by his angry attitude, she replied shrinkingly, and no. Seeing Zhang Chen's expression, she decided to tell a secret story. Supposedly, the events took place in a villa during a torrential rainstorm where 2 people discovered a corpse. They both suspected the other was the killer, initially just cautiously testing each other, but the conflict escalated until it turned into a brawl. Ultimately, one of the 2 set a fire and both died. The souls of these 2, combined with the soul of the deceased, became one, turning into an extremely special ghost. After hearing the story, Zhang Chen's head was full of question marks, and he turned to ask, who exactly killed that corpse? Based on my years of experience following gossip, she replied, she heard the man had accidentally broken his neck while going downstairs. The souls of the 3 were trapped in the same body, arguing all day long. After hearing the whole story, Zhang Chen threw off his doctor's robe and said excitedly, this is even more interesting than multiple personalities. Zhang Chen didn't hesitate, striding in to give a greeting. As soon as the door opened, he waved generously to communicate, hello everyone, I'm here to discuss patient conditions. Suddenly, a system window popped up. Who are you? Immediately after, Zhang Chen received 4 ghost chi bonuses of 600 points each. Zhang Chen sensed something was wrong. There were clearly only 3 souls here, so why were there 4 additions? He pondered to himself. Wasn't it 3 people? Why was ghost chi added 4 times? The 3-eyed ghost looked up, his face full of confusion. Who are you? To get close to the ghost, a protagonist placed a hand on his shoulder and said in an extremely gentle tone, do you want to be trapped in this body for the rest of your lives, always being led by the nose by this hospital? Hearing this, the ghost asked suspiciously, you can help me? Why should I trust you? Sha popped up from somewhere to plead his case. Because he just killed 2 doctors. Hearing this news, the 3-eyed ghost's mouth hung open in shock. One person killed 2 doctors? Those ghost shadows were also stunned. They clamored one after another. It seems doctors aren't invincible after all. I've wanted to leave this place for a long time. Let's go, let's go. Zhang Chen looked at Sha behind him with pride. Too easy, convinced one in just a few moves. Hee. With the team expanded, he leisurely led the 2 ghosts to find new allies. Were there any other powerful patients? Zhang Chen was soon drawn to a place. He was about to go in to check when Sha beside him blocked him. That place, I suggest you'd better not go in. But he turned a deaf ear to Sha advice, arrogantly pushing the door open. Is there any place I can't go? What a joke. Inside sat a dejected ghost. Seeing this, Zhang Chen offered a greeting. Hello. The ghost had a crew cut, and its tongue hung down as long as a snake's. His gaze was fierce, staring fixedly at Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen showed no fear, stepping toward the long-tongued ghost. The action made the veins on the ghost's forehead bulge with rage. At this moment, a system window popped up. You dirtied the room he just cleaned. Ghost Chi 444. Seeing things were going south, Sha hurriedly reached out to stop him. If you move anymore, that guy will beat you until you're looking for your teeth on the floor. I suggest you don't go in. That fellow had severe OCD. Ignoring Sha-Sha's various attempts to stop him, Zhang Chen walked straight to the ghost and spoke in the tone of a disciplinary head. As the saying goes, if you don't lick one floor, how can you lick the world? Do you want to stay in this room for the rest of your life? After saying this, Zhang Chen, like a doctor, cheerfully launched a psychological offensive on the ghost. Come with me outside and lick the entire hospital clean. Hearing this, the ghost became exceptionally excited, his tongue extending as he drooled incessantly. What, want to rebel? It seems I've successfully convinced this ghost. Zhang Chen crooked a finger at him as if calling a dog. Quite smart. You understand what I mean, let's go. Seeing the appearance of the OCD ghost, Sha was so scared she hid 3 meters away from him, saying with disgust, retract that tongue and stay the hell away from me. Zhang Chen had successfully recruited 3 allies in a short time. Though they were few, they looked ready for war. They marched with brimming confidence to seek revenge on the doctors. By now the doctors had assembled a massive force. One doctor stepped forward, looking at Zhang Chen's group with a sneer. "You think you few can take on all of us?" He even offered a kind warning, turning around as if to give them a way out. But before he could even finish his sentence, he became the first one sent to meet his maker. Before the doctors could even react, the man's head had been split in two. Zhang Chen let out a roar to his group, "Brothers, kill them all." The three-eyed ghost struck first, instantly releasing two ghost shadows that tore through the throats of the doctors guarding the front. Not to be outdone, the long-tongued ghost whipped his 10-foot tongue, sending three doctors flying. Shasha wasn't idle either. She swung her baseball bat in a savage arc, crushing a doctor's skull. Immediately after, she hacked their remains to pieces. Zhang Chen streaked through the fray, passing by a doctor and leaving him to die with eyes wide in disbelief. Zhang Chen then hurled a doctor straight toward Shalwa. "This one's yours." Shalwa caught him and neatly finished the job. Watching their companions fall one by one doctor fled in a panic, his heart racing. How did these patients suddenly become so insane? The scene shifted to a brightly lit operating room where a patient lay motionless on the table. The chief looked at his masterpiece and burst into a triumphant laugh. "Perfect, this will be my magnum opus," just as he was reveling in his success. The doctor who had just escaped ran in, gasping for air. "Chief, disaster has struck. The patients are revolting. They've slaughtered the entire doctor squad." Hearing this, the chief hurried to the scene, cursing as he walked. Useless trash can't even handle a simple task. Seeing only a handful of people before him, he crossed his arms and sneered, "Just you few?" Shalwa lunged at him without a word, but the chief reacted instantly, delivering a heavy punch that pulverized Shalwa's head. Seeing her beloved companion murdered by that despicable doctor, Shasha was consumed by grief and rage, roaring, "You bastard, I'll never forgive you." She charged forward, swinging her bat at the chief. "I'm going to kill you." Just then, the supposedly dead Shalwa suddenly leapt up, landing a heavy blow that knocked the chief's hat off and left him bewildered. This sudden turn of events made Shasha freeze for a few seconds. After taking a beating, the ghost doctor finally revealed his true face. Beneath the mask was a grotesque, scarred visage. He gave a sinister laugh. "He, so you've seen my true face then." The chief, humiliated and enraged, grabbed Shasha by the hair and choked her, threatening, "Then I'll just pop your head off too." At the critical moment, an Ali's sharp blade arrived, allowing Shasha to escape just in time. The long-tongued ghost used his 10-foot tongue to make a perfectly timed save. He immediately launched a fierce assault on the ghost, which only seemed to excite the opponent. He, young man, your ability is quite interesting. I think I'll carve you into a walking stick this time." Before the long-tongued ghost could react, the doctor's claws severed both his arms, leaving him in total shock. The doctor pressed the attack, trying to cripple his legs. To prevent the enemy from winning, the long-tongued ghost decisively bit off his own tongue. He would rather take his own life than suffer such humiliation. He thought, "As long as I die, your curse will be violated and you will suffer the backlash." Sure enough, his words rang true. The doctor suddenly collapsed, curling up in agony as foul blood gushed from his stench-filled mouth. He slumped on the ground, clutching his head and wailing. Zhang Chen's group took in the scene. Shalwa looked at the doctor and remarked, "Look, the OCD curse is working." Unexpectedly, the doctor suddenly regained his strength, struggling to his feet while covering his face. "Impressive moves. In the past, I might have checked out right here." He stood tall with confidence and straightened his clothes. It turned out the director had long known his weakness and had specifically added a defense mechanism. Because of this, the long-tongued ghost's OCD curse was no longer effective against him. Sensing the doctor's aura growing even more powerful, Zhang Chen's allies were gripped by fear. The situation was dire. Zhang Chen stepped forward, gesturing for them to stay back. "Get back, I'll handle this." With that, he activated his legendary transformation. Monsterization, dragon, his hands turned into sharp claws and a pair of grotesque ghost wings sprouted from his back. The moment he transformed, the doctor charged like a rabid dog, his claws leaving several gashes across Zhang Chen's body. One gash in particular scarred Zhang Chen's handsome face. Zhang Chen flew into a rage, his bloodline talent erupting instantly as he forcibly broke free from the curse's shackles. Faced with Zhang Chen's overwhelming power, the doctor stood frozen in shock. "What is this? He can suppress my curse talent?" However, he didn't retreat. Instead, he lunged at Zhang Chen again like a mad dog. The two engaged in a fierce struggle, locked in a stalemate. It was clear this ghost was indeed formidable. After a few moments of combat, Zhang Chen decided to end it quickly. He summoned a 3-star monsterization card. "A half-step blood raiment like you is easy pickings." With a roar, he sent the doctor flying with a massive blow. In just a few seconds of intense fighting, the ghost had been shattered. A gaping hole blasted through his chest, yet he didn't die. Instead, he wore a twisted grin, roaring in fury. "You think this is enough to defeat me?" Zhang Chen didn't waste time on his nonsense and swung his blade, severing the ghost's head. With one move, he sent him to the afterlife. After the decapitation, Zhang Chen remarked coldly, People who say things like that usually have a trump card. You think I'd give you the chance? Having eliminated the enemy, Zhang Chen retracted his wings and led his group away. However, the head eerily floated up, and a burst of ghost chi shot out from it, tunneling into a dark room in the distance. The man performing the experiments earlier absorbed this ghost chi, exhaling a cloud of white mist. Immediately after, he snapped his eyes open, resurrected on the spot. Meanwhile, as Zhang Chen's group was walking, Shaohua suddenly cried out, "Watch out!" No sooner had the words left his mouth than the wall before Zhang Chen crumbled. The patient who had just undergone surgery stepped out from the ruins. Zhang Chen barked, "Who are you?" The opponent gave a savage grin. "Haha, you cut off my head just now and you've already forgotten me?" Zhang Chen's expression darkened. He wasn't in the mood for talk. He swung his blade to decapitate the man again. "Then I'll just cut it off again." However, as the blade landed, Zhang Chen's expression turned to one of horror. The flesh Ganoderma actually shed tears of pain upon impact. The opponent didn't care at all, mocking him. "That strike felt like a mosquito bite. Are you trying to scratch an itch for me?" With that, the ghost lunged forward and delivered a heavy punch to Zhang Chen's face. Zhang Chen reeled from the pain, his heart pounding. This guy is much harder than a normal half-step blood raiment. He scrambled to his feet, thinking, "I have to find an opening for a follow-up strike." Soon, Zhang Chen managed to leave a gash on the ghost's neck, making him grit his teeth in pain, but the blow caused no real damage. Instead, Zhang Chen took another punch. He realized his 3-star monsterization armor couldn't withstand this level of attack. Just then, a system notification popped up, reminding him he had a divine ability he hadn't used yet. Zhang Chen couldn't help but curse. "Damn it, why didn't you say so earlier?" The system just gave him a cheeky grin. The system teased, "I'm just a lowly system. I wanted to see you take a beating." Zhang Chen didn't dare delay and immediately activated his dragonification ability. Against a tough customer like this, ordinary dragonification wasn't enough. He gambled everything, pouring all his power into the flesh Ganoderma and roaring, "Heavy sword dragonification." The system fused the power, allowing the flesh Ganoderma to erupt with an unprecedentedly powerful aura. Zhang Chen leaped into the air, unleashing a god-tier slash. Caught off guard, the ghost neck was sliced crooked. Seeing that the opponent still hadn't fallen, Zhang Chen commanded the flesh Ganoderma to take a savage bite. The flesh Ganoderma bit a bloody hole into the ghost's ear, blood flowing freely. However, the wound miraculously healed again, and the opponent sneered, "Is that all you've got?" Seeing this, cold sweat poured down Zhang Chen's face as he stared at the fully healed wound in shock. Unwilling to give up, he swung his blade again. In an instant, the ghost doctor's head hit the floor, a mocking smile still on its face. But before 3 seconds had passed, the head and body reconnected. Witnessing this, Zhang Chen's jaw dropped. In this crisis, he whispered to the flesh Ganoderma, "Brother, give me some help." With that, he manifested 1,000 sword shadows, frantically mincing the opponent in an attempt to shred him completely to see how he could possibly recover. The man was instantly minced into fragments, yet he still couldn't be completely defeated. Even with his limbs shattered, his body could rapidly reassemble. Zhang Chen couldn't help but curse. Damn, he can even recover from that. Seeing Zhang Chen's moves failing to land a killing blow, the ghost patient lunged. "You've taken so many swings, now it's my turn." He whipped a long arm out and delivered a staggering kick to Zhang Chen's face, and that was just his warm-up. He followed up by roaring and lunging at Zhang Chen, intending to tear him apart. In the moment of peril, Zhang Chen could only turn to the flesh Ganoderma for help. The flesh Ganoderma nimbly pulled Zhang Chen away, narrowly dodging the fatal blow. His 2 ghost allies also arrived just in time to block a wave of attacks. The flesh Ganoderma took the opportunity to smash the ground, kicking up clouds of dust. Zhang Chen cried out, "Hey, have you gone mad?" The flesh Ganoderma ignored him. It continued to smash the ground frantically, creating massive fissures beneath Zhang Chen's feet. This caught Zhang Chen off guard, sending him tumbling to the ground in pain. The flesh dragon remained obstinate, hacking away wildly. Not understanding its actions, Zhang Chen roared, "Big brother, what the hell are you trying to do?" Looking at the cracks in the ground, Zhang Chen suddenly had a spark of inspiration. "Right, I should have thought of that." Seeing that Zhang Chen had grasped its intent, the flesh dragon wore a satisfied smile. It said cheerfully, "You knew what to do all along." On the other side, the 2 ghost allies were struggling to hold back the invincible enemy. They hurriedly called out to Zhang Chen for help. "Boss, come help us, we can't hold on." Zhang Chen rushed back to save them. He used every ounce of strength to slash at the monster, roaring, "Die!" This strike instantly sliced the ghost in half. Lightning power disintegrated the opponent's structure at a molecular level. It vanished into a cloud of smoke on a microscopic level. Seeing the ghost disappear, Zhang Chen let out a triumphant laugh. The flesh Ganoderma, however, gave his face a disdainful slap, seemingly mocking his slow reaction time. When the system popped up, Zhang Chen realized something was wrong, questioning, "Wait, why is there no kill notification?" Just then, the three-eyed ghost noticed something strange and pointed to a cloud of smoke that was turning into a tiny ghost shadow. The ghost shadow was fleeing at high speed toward the director's office. The three-eyed ghost urged, "Look, it's getting away." Having worked so hard to defeat it, Zhang Chen wasn't about to let it go and immediately gave chase at full speed. Arriving before the director's office, his two allies panicked. "Is he really going to charge in? That's the director's office up there," Sha agreed. So they stayed downstairs. Zhang Chen, however, tore through the rooms, staying hot on the ghost shadow's heels. During the pursuit, a system countdown appeared. Monsterization state, 59 seconds remaining. Just as he was inches away from catching it, the ghost shadow slipped into the director's office like an eel. It finally reached its destination, crying out frantically, "Director, director!" But before it could finish, a flash of cold light struck and its head was split in two. Zhang Chen burst into the room, gasping for air as he struggled to catch his breath. Zhang Chen wiped the sweat from his brow, having finally caught up. A system notification flashed instantly. "Congratulations to the host. Junior Vengeful Ghost Director Shu has been slain. Ghost Chief 599,999. Zhang Chen decided to press his advantage, taunting loudly, "Director, get your ass out here. I'm running out of time, so hurry up and let me slash you a couple of times." Without waiting for a response, he reached for the doorknob and was surprised to find it unlocked. Squinting like a peeking thief, he peered through the crack of the door. The moment he pushed it open, Zhang Chen froze as thousands of red lights instantly swept toward him. In less than 5 seconds, his body was heavily surrounded by those red lights, and he soon found himself sinking into a crimson quagmire. This was perhaps a mist formed by the millions of souls who had died tragically here. Hearing the chorus of wails echoing in his ears, Zhang Chen couldn't help but wonder just how many vengeful souls are in this hospital. However, he was met only with deathly silence. He struggled desperately, but only one hand could barely break the surface. Just as he was about to be submerged, a helping hand suddenly reached out and grabbed him. "Big brother, I'm here to save you," the shadow quickly reported with joy. "I can pull all these vengeful souls into the shadow world. Once they're all captured, they can all become your pawns in the future," the shadow suggested from within. Zhang Chen didn't have time to praise it, and could only give a thumbs up in approval. Encouraged by its master, the shadow immediately transformed into a pool of black mist and went into action. "Then I'm digging in," the shadow declared, opening its massive maw and frantically sucking the vengeful souls into its belly. One by one, the souls fell into the shadow's mouth. Before long, the shadow had cleared the pile of souls completely, letting out a heavy hiccup as if it had just finished a feast. Zhang Chen was finally out of danger. Patting the dust off his clothes, he said slowly, "It's finally over." Beside him, the shadow chimed in, "A million vengeful souls, I almost couldn't hold them all." Meanwhile, Zhang Chen scanned the room for the director's silhouette. "Where's the director?" No sooner had the words left his mouth than his two ghost allies caught up at some unknown moment. Zhang Chen vented all his pent-up fury on them, barking, "You two cowards, you only dare to crawl up here after I've finished the fight." Only after observing and confirming it was safe did the two allies peek around, surveying their surroundings. Sha fumbled around the desk and asked, "Has the director been dealt with as well?" Beside her, the three-eyed ghost didn't forget to flatter him. "As expected, Director Zhang is incredible, he. After the fierce battle, Zhang Chen felt utterly depleted, his body as limp as a noodle as he collapsed flat on his back. His face was pale as he looked at the two useless allies and said wearily, "Instead of flattering me here, why don't you find me a doctor?" Seeing him exhausted, the two ghosts danced about and replied, "Where are there any doctors left? You killed them all. Besides, would you even dare let a doctor here treat you?" The three-eyed ghost suddenly asked with concern about Zhang Chen's injuries. "Is Director Zhang badly hurt?" Seeing the fellow suddenly acting so helpful, Zhang Chen grew suspicious and countered, "What, you want to take this chance to seize my position?" The two ghosts repeatedly offered forced smiles. "How would we ever dare to stand above you? Director Zhang, you're joking. This hospital can only grow bigger and stronger under your leadership." Sha also kept nodding in agreement. Right. Zhang Chen exerted every ounce of his strength to clutch his stomach and stand up. This movement gave the two ghosts a fright. Seeing they had no intent to rebel, Zhang Chen reached out and patted their heads in praise. "Not bad. You passed the test and kept your lives." This statement made the two ghosts break into a cold sweat, thinking they had almost been sent to meet the Yama King. So he was only pretending to be weak? Heavens, we almost lost our lives just now. Having settled everything in the hospital, Zhang Chen took the lead toward the exit. "Follow me obediently. From now on, you two are the vice directors." The three of them then quickly filed out of the hospital. Simultaneously, the surrounding dark shadows dissipated rapidly, revealing a long-awaited bright moon. Having been stuck in the gloomy confinement cells for so many years, the two ghosts shed tears of excitement. They wept with joy, never expecting they would truly see the light of day again. On the other side, the curse on Zhang Chen had been completely lifted. and his ghost chi and strength had returned to their peak. He instantly summoned the gargantuan underworld godhammer. Since he was now the director, he swung the heavy hammer directly, intending to completely demolish this dark hospital. With a thunderous boom, the entire hospital was reduced to ruins. The two ghosts hadn't even recovered from the joy of becoming vice-directors before they watched the hospital collapse before their eyes. They asked in despair, "The hospital is gone. What kind of vice-directors are we supposed to be now?" Just then, Zhang Chen appeared behind them like a specter. He looked up at the sky and laughed proudly. "Who said I was making you vice-directors of this place? I'm going to build a dream hospital here in the future. You two will be the vice-directors of that one." Hearing this, the two smiled so wide their eyes crinkled. But immediately after, Zhang Chen seemed to sense something and snapped his head back to look. Not long after the sky had cleared, a dense mass of black clouds rolled in from the distance, blotting out the sun. "What's wrong with the sky?" Zhang Chen's phone also began to vibrate frantically. He opened it to see the screen flashing. "Ghost Chi outbreak in Zhangbei, restricted zone riot warning." In an instant, a terrifying figure appeared in the sky. It was the very director they had been searching for. Lightning swirled around him, his pressure suffocating. Seeing this, Zhang Chen showed no fear, his aura rising like a rainbow as he barked, "Are you that director?" The two ghost allies were pale with terror, cold sweat pouring down as they thought, "This is bad. Didn't they say the director had been killed?" Looking at his ruined hospital, the director asked with a dark face, "Who destroyed my hospital?" Seeing no one answer, he felt slighted and let out a world-shaking roar. That roar made everyone's ears throb with pain. Zhang Chen calmly picked at his ear while responding, "What's with all the shouting? I'm right here." He pointed at himself and answered bluntly, "I did it." "Got a problem with that?" The director's head was full of question marks as he blurted out, "Then what about the million souls in my office?" Zhang Chen's shadow replied proudly, "They're all in my belly, he he he." Zhang Chen pressed his advantage, hands on his hips as he continued to provoke him. "Call me daddy and I'll tell you." This completely ignited the director's fuse. He shrieked hysterically in a rage. "You bastard!" With that, he immediately launched an attack on Zhang Chen. "Get him!" In an instant, two vengeful ghosts answered the call and entered the fray. The ones who appeared were actually the fully grown Drought Demon and the river god from Kashan village. Seeing these two fellows he had once defeated, Zhang Chen opened his mouth in surprise. He calculated secretly, "That one-eyed ghost is the Drought Demon, and that guy who looks like a judge must be the one who lost to Sun Wukong in the river god's trial." Facing these two powerful enemies, Zhang Chen was a bit nervous but comforted himself. What's there to be afraid of? Seeing his old rivals gathered together, Zhang Chen actually became excited. "What kind of day is it today? All my enemies are in one place." For convenience, Zhang Chen assigned these two old rivals to his two allies, leaving the most difficult one for himself. He arranged, "You two handle one each. I'll fight the director." Hearing this, the two ghosts shrank back in fear, feeling they were far too incompetent. Sha cringed, "You think too highly of us, how can we possibly win?" Seeing these two being so spineless, Zhang Chen's blood boiled with rage as he cursed, "Useless, any more talk and you can go surrender to the other side." Hearing Zhang Chen suggest they surrender, the two scratched their heads, thinking that was an even worse idea. Subsequently, Zhang Chen quickly checked his ghost chi value before acting. He marveled secretly, "My ghost chi has surpassed the million mark. Even if these two team up, I have nothing to fear." With the confirmation complete, he immediately called out the underworld godhammer to prepare for battle. With dual artifacts in hand, Zhang Chen's confidence was through the roof as he roared at the group of weaklings, "Come over here and meet your deaths." Seeing Zhang Chen's provocation, the director also gave the order, "Tear that kid to pieces for me." Upon the command, the river god instantly surged a massive volume of floodwaters toward Zhang Chen. The one-eyed Drought Demon was not to be outdone, manipulating rubble to launch an attack. Together they triggered a storm that rushed toward Zhang Chen and the others. In the blink of an eye, the two useless allies were submerged by the pile of stones and giant waves. They frantically signaled for help. "Help, Director Zhang, we can't beat them." Zhang Chen swung the flesh Ganoderma sword to split the river god's attack, followed by a heavy strike that completely pulverized the Drought Demon's offensive. The two ghosts realized they couldn't win against Zhang Chen alone, so they shared a look and decided to team up. "Two against one, let's take him down together?" Zhang Chen was instantly locked in a bitter struggle, having to handle both of these powerful opponents at once. He thought, "Damn it, dragging this out isn't the way. I have to capture the leader first, I must kill the director." As he gradually sank into the quagmire they created, Zhang Chen decided to use his killing move, Azure Tiger Howl, to attack the director. The soundwave rings of Azure Tiger Howl expanded outward, but the opponent's speed was actually faster than the speed of sound. The Drought Demon lunged at Zhang Chen like a sharp arrow. At the critical moment, Zhang Chen was drenched in sweat. Facing three vengeful ghost-level powerhouses, even monsterization might not guarantee a win. Just as he was brainstorming a strategy, the ghost allies behind him finally struggled free from the mire. Covered in sludge, they stood on the ground and complained it wasn't easy to get this far. To change their fate, the three-eyed ghost split its head into three, deciding to fight to the death against the director. "Even if I die, I'll fight you to the bitter end." In an instant, the three-eyed ghost split into three independent entities, charging aggressively toward the Drought Demon. Faced with this unheard-of bizarre move, the Drought Demon fled in terror. Seeing her companion's death-defying determination, Shasha was also moved, shouting in response, "Well said." She exerted every ounce of her strength to burst out of the mud, flying forward. "Don't even dream of dragging us back to that hospital." Shasha charged toward the river god without a hint of fear. "I'll fight you with everything I've got." Seeing his allies making such rapid progress, Zhang Chen smiled with relief. "Hee, so you guys were hiding trump cards after all." That being the case, he wouldn't be left behind, leaping out of the water to duel the director one-on-one. "Then I'll handle the director." Although one ghost had been settled, he still needed to carefully wait out the monsterization cooldown. Just hold on for 10 more seconds. He decided to stall for time before activating monsterization. Zhang Chen launched a fierce assault on the bewildered director, only to find the opponent could easily neutralize it with a single hand. The director mocked contemptuously, "You think you can destroy my hospital with just this level of skill?" With that, the director flew into a towering rage, his eyes turning blood red as he roared, "This is an utter humiliation." The violent energy he erupted with formed a shockwave that slammed Zhang Chen to the ground. Sensing the director's terrifying strength, Zhang Chen had to change his plan. 10 seconds left. It seemed the director was moving to end the battle quickly. "I'm going to hang your head at the ruins of the hospital as a public display." Facing the threat of death, Zhang Chen fell into a panic. "It's over. This time I'm really going to kick the bucket." But how could the protagonist's plot armor let him fall so easily? A green hand firmly grabbed the director just before he could seize Zhang Chen's neck. Zhang Chen was overjoyed, never expecting someone to come to his rescue. The savior was none other than Director's son of the Underworld. He had arrived just in time, his surging ghost chi shaking heaven and earth as he barked, "You caused such a massive commotion and still thought you could hide it from me?" Seeing his savior, Zhang Chen couldn't stop smiling. The hospital director was enraged by the interference, swinging a fist at Director's son. "You bastard, this punch will take your life." As the head of the Underworld, how could Director's son just sit and wait for death? "You haven't seen my style from back in the day, have you?" Director's son erupted instantly, as if he had grown 200 years younger, blasting out a divine skill of incredible power. The hospital director was sent flying by the strike, vanishing into the distant ruins. A moment later, he crawled out of the rubble, looking disheveled and realizing he had underestimated his enemy. But he quickly rallied, charging at Director's son once more. "Again, one punch isn't enough to impress me." He lunged forward arrogantly, and this time Director's son intended to cripple him completely. Their fists collided in midair, the resulting vibration causing the ground to collapse and the sound waves to echo through the clouds. Witnessing this world-shattering battle, Zhang Chen, standing below, was left dumbfounded. He couldn't help but laugh. It seemed the two were evenly matched. "Hee, looks like there's nothing for me to do here." Remembering his two unreliable allies, he turned around to help. At that moment, Shasha was desperately resisting the river god. After a bitter struggle, the river god showed a look of disdain. "How annoying." Immediately after, the river god delivered a flying kick that sent Shasha tumbling. "Get lost." In the moment of crisis, Zhang Chen appeared behind Shasha like a god from the heavens, catching her in a steady embrace. Seeing Shasha looking exhausted, Zhang Chen, filled with a burst of solitary courage, said to her, "Hard work, I'll take it from here." 10 seconds later, the monsterization state's cooldown was finally complete. He pulled out a monsterization card, choosing the Azure Lion this time. However, this transformation was different from the usual. His hair simply grew a bit longer. Looking at his unchanged self, Zhang Chen muttered with some disappointment. "Doesn't feel like much of a change." But it didn't matter. He still had the flesh Ganoderma. To his surprise, when he gave the flesh Ganoderma a squeeze, it actually manifested into the form of the Azure Lion. This left him utterly bewildered. Immediately after, the flesh Ganoderma transformed into a giant sword, sending Zhang Chen into a state of wild joy. Haha. As expected of a 4-star monsterization card, the sense of power was immense. He promptly swung the sword at the river god. At that moment, the river god was still in a daze. With a swish, a single strike sliced the river god's body in two, causing him to wail in agony. Watching the struggling river god, Zhang Chen gave a triumphant cold laugh. "Weren't you just being quite arrogant? Can't even handle a basic attack now?" Since the river god's true form was water, this strike wasn't enough to kill him. The river god transformed into a pool of eerie green liquid. Condensing his power, he whipped up a massive blue wave like a tsunami and lunged toward Zhang Chen. Faced with this wave of offense, Zhang Chen simply delivered an effortless sword strike, splitting the giant wave down the center. But as he broke the wave, some of the liquid splashed onto Zhang Chen, causing him intense pain. The slime rapidly corroded his clothing and seeped into his skin. Seeing Zhang Chen wounded, the river god triumphantly pressed his advantage. Before the poison of the Ganges, all attacks are futile. Die. This time, the river god created a vast expanse of corrosive liquid, dissolving all the surrounding earth and stone. Zhang Chen swung his sword again, splitting him apart. Because the speed was so fast, the river god barely had time to react. Zhang Chen then manifested a layer of armor that could resist the water poison. "You're getting that cocky just because I accidentally ruined my clothes?" No sooner had the words left his lips than the river god's body healed again like a specter. He gnashed his teeth and said, "Damn it, since you can't kill me, let's see who runs out of stamina first." Faced with this unkillable monster, Zhang Chen saw through his weakness. His core heart had to be buried somewhere beneath the riverbed. But searching for a core within a vast sea-like body of water was like looking for a needle in a haystack. The river god gave Zhang Chen no time to think, launching another attack. Zhang Chen decided not to look for the weakness for now, counterattacking directly. "Whatever, let's just hit him first." Their fierce exchange sent water splashing everywhere, the booming sounds echoing through the clouds. After this earth-shaking series of exchanges, Zhang Chen finally landed a sword strike on the river god. This blow sent the river god hurtling back dozens of meters, leaving him unable to retaliate. The river god's unkillable, resilient body actually began to tremble in the face of Zhang Chen. Although Zhang Chen couldn't kill him, this one-sided suppression made him feel uneasy. Seizing the moment as Zhang Chen closed in, the river god unleashed his killing move. He manipulated a massive flow of water to condense into a bizarre giant beast. "Get lost!" He exhausted his long-accumulated power to launch a strike, instantly forming a violent water tornado. The water gathered into the shape of a dragon, transforming in an instant into a gargantuan water dragon that towered between heaven and earth, roaring as it lunged at Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen froze in place, not having time to react. Holy crap, it really turned into a dragon? The river god was full of confidence in this ultimate strike. Once the water was extremely compressed, its hardness even surpassed steel. "Let's see how you fight now." Faced with this water dragon as hard as steel, Zhang Chen felt an unprecedented pressure. "It got harder? Isn't that just playing right into my hands?" In this moment of crisis, Zhang Chen decided to play a trick and called out to the system. "System, add 100,000 ghost chi to the flesh Ganoderma." At the command, the system acted instantly, infusing 100,000 ghost chi. The flesh Ganoderma's power climbed frantically, and this time it actually transformed into a massive chainsaw. Zhang Chen sawed down ruthlessly toward the river god. "Taste my underworld chainsaw." The river god had thought his steel-hard body was foolproof, but he never expected to be sawn through instantly. He was terrified. How did he suddenly become this powerful? Before he could recover his senses, his body had been sawn into 2 segments, and he let out a piteous shriek. Although the river god could still reassemble, this bone-deep wound greatly reduced his recovery speed. The higher the hardness, the slower the wound healed. Didn't expect that, did you? Just then, Zhang Chen discovered the heart weakness exposed by that last strike. He lunged forward excitedly. "Ha!" Found the vitals. Just as his fingertips were about to touch the heart, the water dragon healed instantly and roared, "Want to win? It's not that easy." Since the weakness had been seen through, Zhang Chen decided to stick with it to the end. "Then I'll saw you again." The river god was so scared he turned and bolted, with Zhang Chen hot on his heels. Driven into a corner, the river god ran toward the director for help. "Director, save me!" But the director was currently tied up by Director Sun and had no time to spare. The director roared, "Handle it yourself, can't you see I'm busy?" Seeing the river god rejected, Director Sun mocked with a cold laugh. "It seems you have quite a bit of self-awareness." Driven to desperation, the water dragon could only put up a stubborn resistance. "Damn it, I'll fight you to the end." Zhang Chen flashed in front of him and teased with a smile. "It looks like no one can save you." With a swish, Zhang Chen split him directly apart, exposing the heart once more. "Be a good boy and let me slice you into pieces." Zhang Chen crushed the heart in one go, completely finishing off the river god. Hee, one down. On the other side, the three-eyed ghost was doing its best to deal with the Drought Demon. By now, the Drought Demon was also at the end of its strength. The Drought Demon suddenly erupted, grabbing the black shadow head split off from the three-eyed ghost. He roared, "Just with the 3 of you." With the disparity in power, the Drought Demon tore the three-eyed ghost apart directly, cursing, "So annoying, you're noisy as hell." The Drought Demon delivered a killing blow to finish it off completely. Once the battle subsided, the Drought Demon happened to see Zhang Chen holding the river god's source treasure. He recognized at a glance that it was an extremely precious item. "Looks like a nice treasure." The Drought Demon lunged at Zhang Chen like a hungry wolf. Zhang Chen was immersed in his spoils, unaware that danger was closing in. The Drought Demon stared fixedly at the pearl, disgustingly extending a long tongue to lick it. He swallowed the pearl into his stomach in an instant, which made Zhang Chen's face pale with shock as he hurriedly pulled his hand back. Zhang Chen was furious, slamming a punch into the Drought Demon's head. "You dare steal my stuff?" To his surprise, the Drought Demon simply gave a casual wave of his hand, sending Zhang Chen flying back. Zhang Chen landed wretchedly, marveling, "Holy crap, the Drought Demon's power is too ridiculous. He could actually block a full power strike with just a casual wave." Suddenly, a powerful aura swept in, heading straight for the Drought Demon. It turned out to be the recon captain sent by the Underworld for support. Having endured for a long time, he had been waiting for this exact moment. He was the Drought Demon's nemesis and knew the fellow inside out. Although the current Drought Demon had merged the two types of ghost chi, water and drought, the two attributes were not perfectly compatible. Taking advantage of his weakness, the captain flew forward and punched the Drought Demon hundreds of meters away. "I've finally found your fatal weakness." The captain took over the task of fighting the Drought Demon, then turned to Zhang Chen and said, "The director is about to hit his limit, go help him." With a powerful reinforcement taking over the Drought Demon, Zhang Chen immediately summoned his shadow. The shadow let out a bizarre laugh and took the order. "As you command, master." Given the director's formidable strength, Zhang Chen came up with a new tactic. He said to the shadow, "I can't handle this director alone." Zhang Chen pulled out an alms bowl and handed it to the shadow. "Take this kui cow drum. Find the right timing to coordinate with me." After setting the plan, he flew toward Director Sun. The shadow responded firmly, guaranteed to complete the mission. On Director Sun's side, he was exhausted after a bitter struggle and was kicked flying by the director, slamming heavily into the ruins and triggering a violent explosion. The director spat up blood, worried his old bones might be finished here. "Damn it, the brief glow before the end is about to run out." The director pressed his advantage, mocking, "So what if you're a director, you still have to die?" Just as the director launched a fatal blow, Zhang Chen's voice came from behind. "Old director," taking him off guard, Zhang Chen delivered a savage kick to the director's abdomen. "Taste the power of the current director." But in less than 3 seconds the director steadied himself and said disdainfully, "Someone like you dares to call yourself the director?" He then launched a dense, fierce assault, and Zhang Chen could only struggle painfully to parry. The director intended to deliver a fatal blow to Zhang Chen. "Watch me crush your dog head." At this critical moment, Zhang Chen summoned the shadow. The shadow quickly pulled out the bowl Zhang Chen had given. A rhythmic thumping rang out as the shadow frantically struck the kui cow drum. The deafening sound instantly locked the director in place. The director was unable to move within this bizarre drumming, hurriedly reaching out to cover his ears. Feeling the terrifying sensation spreading through his entire body, he exclaimed, "This presence." But the kui cow drum's skill seemed to have limited effect on him. The director roared, "You think this kind of thing can trap me?" Seeing this, the shadow leapt up again, looking for an opening to control him. If once wasn't enough, then try again. The shadow struck the drum surface even more frantically. This time the power of the sound waves doubled, making the director's entire body tremble and breaking him out in goosebumps. Zhang Chen took the opportunity to launch a chainsaw surprise attack. "Safe travels, old director." However, Zhang Chen's face paled with shock once again. The director actually hadn't been completely controlled. He caught the giant chainsaw with one hand. He mocked with a cold laugh. "If I hadn't studied soul secret arts, you really would have succeeded." He suddenly exerted force, crushing the chainsaw directly. Seeing things were going south, Zhang Chen hurriedly retracted the flesh Ganoderma. Just then, the system popped up a notification. Monsterization state ended. Deprived of his transformation and weapon, Zhang Chen fell into a desperate situation. The director triumphantly threatened, "Back to your original form, you're dead meat this time." With all his trump cards played out, Zhang Chen felt waves of weakness. The 4-star monsterization was over. Was he supposed to use a 5-star card? Before he could move, the director death gripped his throat. The director laughed contemptuously. "Daring to run away in front of me, you useless waste, continue your performance." Just as the director was mocking him frantically, Director Sun appeared silently behind him. "I heard you were calling for this old man." No sooner had the words left his mouth than the director delivered a heavy punch to the hospital director's face, sending him flying. "Now it's this old man's turn to be arrogant." Director Sun had recovered his strength during the rest just now. He rolled his wrists and said coldly, "This old man isn't dead yet. The sky of Zhongbei isn't yours to blot out." Seeing the director's aura return, Zhang Chen sensibly retreated to the side, teasing, "Director, you take over. Shui Qingming, I'll miss you in the future." System notification. "If you can't say something nice, say less. Ghost Chi 9999. Subsequently, the director pressed his palms together and chanted a mantra, unleashing a divine skill. "Hell Yama, incinerate the evil ghosts." In an instant, a massive Yama phantom appeared. The hospital director was wide-eyed with shock. "You were still hiding a bottom-of-the-barrel killing move?" But he showed no fear, roaring as he lunged at the director. To his surprise, before he could even get close, he was kicked in the face by the director. The director pressed the advantage, his punch shadows like the wind. The hospital director barely caught the director's fists, and the two engaged in fierce close combat. Punch winds howled and after-images blurred as they exchanged countless heavy blows in an instant. The hospital director revealed a grotesque smile. "Just this level?" He suddenly exerted force, blasting the director back. But the director quickly steadied himself, his rage flaring. The two grappled together again, evenly matched. The director let out a great roar, putting forth his full strength. Yama-killing punch. With his presence exploding, the director unleashed a frenzy of strikes on the hospital director. Immediately after, a heavy punch struck the face directly, sending the hospital director's blood spraying. The director's punch smashed the opponent's face into a bloody mess. The hospital director realized he had no chance in a physical brawl, and couldn't meet him head-on. Below, Zhang Chen was watching the battle with rapt attention. Sensing the director might not hold on for long, he immediately opened the system. "Give me 2 more spirit pills." After swallowing the pills, he silently waited for his chance to take the stage. He lamented, old but still so vigorous. At this moment, the director still held the upper hand, delivering another heavy punch to the hospital director, preparing to end his opponent for good. Just as the heavy punch was about to slam into the director's face, he secretly activated his ultimate move. Soul analysis. Analysis complete. In an instant, the director's power erupted, and he unleashed an earth-shaking roar in a counterattack. Wailing of 10,000 souls. Suddenly, countless blood-red vengeful spirits swarmed out, frantically besieging Director Sun. The dense mass of ghosts surrounded him at a speed that left no time for reaction. Seeing Director Sun's power almost completely drained, his face turned deathly pale as he realized in terror, "This is bad, my energy is gone." From below, Zhang Chen witnessed the director's rapid decline. Zhang Chen grew more and more startled. What's going on? Wasn't he just holding the upper hand? Sensing the hospital director was using Ghost Chi to fight, Zhang Chen turned and shouted to his shadow, "Shadow, can you absorb any more?" The shadow was powerless this time, waving its hands in a frantic refusal. "I've reached my limit. If I take in any more, I'll explode." Driven into a corner, Zhang Chen could only place his hopes on the flesh Ganoderma to save Director Sun. He let out a great shout. No other choice. Flesh Ganoderma. Transform into an RPG rocket launcher. Aiming at the frenzied vengeful souls, he decisively pulled the trigger. He shouted, "Director, hold on." As he launched the divine skill, Indiscriminate Destruction Shell. A thunderous explosion shook the heavens. Deprived of his empowering energy, Director Sun fell from the sky like a thin sheet of paper, slamming heavily onto the ground. At this moment, the hospital director, his body robust and bursting with power, reverted to human form. With a contemptuous expression, he crowed triumphantly, "The director of Zhangbei has fallen. Who else can stop me?" Though the director hadn't breathed his last, he had exhausted the final remnants of his ghost chi. He placed his remaining hope on Zhang Chen. "Kid, I'm transferring all my final ghost chi to you." With the transfer complete and the obsession to kill him fixed in his mind, the director closed his eyes, dying heroically. Zhang Chen hadn't even recovered from the grief of the director's sacrifice when a system notification flashed. Received Ghost Chi gift from Director Sun 100 million. Not only did he gain a massive amount of Ghost Chi, but Zhang Chen also inherited the director's ancestral power, leaving him utterly stunned. Seeing the change in Zhang Chen, the hospital director turned pale with shock. What is that behind this kid?" A golden ring of light slowly rose behind Zhang Chen, filling the director with extreme dread as he thought, could this kid be even stronger than the old man? Looking at the shimmering golden divine rings, he couldn't fathom what this power was. Buddhist golden light? Simultaneously, Zhang Chen obtained 2 more golden pills. Zhang Chen lunged at the director in a sudden strike. The first palm strike slammed heavily into the director's face, leaving him with no room to resist. Immediately after, the director was sent flying by the impact of the explosion. Zhang Chen's offensive didn't let up. He followed with a powerful kick that landed with precision. This blow surged through the director's entire body, making him vomit blood. Zhang Chen's terrifying explosive power had dealt him a heavy blow. Yet as Zhang Chen leaped into the air for the next round of strikes, the director still thought deviously, "Just a little longer. I'm almost finished analyzing this kid's soul." Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, he stared fixedly at Zhang Chen and said, "I'll let you be arrogant for 1 more minute. When your confidence reaches its peak, that will be the moment of your death." Looking at that smug face, Zhang Chen knew this fellow was definitely hiding some bizarre trick. Smiling so sinisterly, definitely nothing good. To be safe, Zhang Chen decided to activate a 3-star monsterization. monsterization, hundred-eyed demon lord. In an instant, the massive phantom of a giant eyeball appeared and merged into his body. With the transformation complete, a third eye manifested on Zhang Chen's forehead, and his arms underwent a mutation. Countless mysterious demonic eyes sprouted densely along his arms, and an eye even grew in the center of each palm. As expected, a demonic eye also pushed its way out of his tongue. Staring at Zhang Chen's grotesque and nauseating appearance, the director stood frozen in utter shock. Faced with this bizarre phenomenon of 1,000 eyes, he felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. With the monsterization successful, Zhang Chen fired several destruction beams directly from the demonic eyes to attack the director. The power erupting from just the 3 eyes on his forehead shattered the ground. Utilizing his slight frame, the director narrowly dodged the explosion. Unexpectedly, the moment he jumped into the air, he ran right into Zhang Chen, who was baring his teeth in a savage grin. With no way to escape this time, he took the full force of Zhang Chen's laser beams. Although his physical body was incredibly tough and he managed to force a block with both arms, Zhang Chen wasn't about to stop. He instantly mobilized the thousands of demonic eyes across his body, unleashing a devastating energy baptism that blasted the director into fragments. Before the aftershocks subsided, Zhang Chen charged in again with a heavy punch. Using every ounce of his strength, he sent the director hurtling away with a massive blow. Zhang Chen didn't stop there. He violently tore off his upper garment, revealing the dense array of demonic eyes across his chest and abdomen as he prepared for the ultimate strike. Converging all his divine power, he let out a roar, hundred-eyed demonic light. Under the impact of that world-ending power, the director was instantly torn to shreds, his severed limbs scattered everywhere. He emitted a series of piteous wails, but horrifyingly, after only a few seconds his body miraculously healed again as if he had never been injured. The resurrected director rolled his joints and sneered, "You're the first one who's managed to push me this far." Faced with such arrogance, Zhang Chen said nothing more, instead summoning a sky full of divine lightning. Countless bolts of high-voltage current erupted from Zhang Chen's body, striking the director. Accompanied by a deafening roar, the director was once again turned into a heap of charred remains, yet the result remained the same. He resurrected once more. Feeling the waves of intense pain from his body, the director broke into a furious string of curses. "Damn it, to have my physical body destroyed twice in a row, having fought for so long without being able to kill him." Zhang Chen was also deeply perplexed. He's still not dead, he simply couldn't find any weakness in this director. Zhang Chen stared fixedly at the director's soul, thinking, he can't escape at all. How is he doing this? At that moment, the director revealed a bizarre smile and explained, "High-level evil ghosts like us can perform soul analysis." With that, he released his demonic soul power, summoning a monster to bolster his vitality. He boasted triumphantly, "As long as I divide my soul into several parts and hide them within these low-level ghosts, I can resurrect infinitely." Zhang Chen realized things were troublesome. He had to find a breakthrough immediately. The only way was to eliminate all the soul clones. The director remained full of confidence. The director struck first, lunging at Zhang Chen while shouting, "Too bad you're already dead by my hand." Zhang Chen was certain the other man had a trump card, thinking better to run and live to fight another day. Zhang Chen turned and fled, with the director hot on his heels shouting, "Don't even think about running." Soon, Zhang Chen discovered one of the director's soul clones. Without a word, Zhang Chen swung his blade and sliced the minor ghost in two. Immediately after, he hunted down and slaughtered several more monsters hiding soul fragments, sending them all to the underworld. Witnessing Zhang Chen's actions, the director broke into a cold sweat, fearing for his life. How does this kid know my soul is hidden in these ghosts? The answer lay in the evil king's god eye on Zhang Chen's forehead. Zhang Chen sneered, "Hee, did you think this eye of mine was just for show?" After a series of kills, only one blue monster remained. Just as Zhang Chen prepared to teleport over and deliver the final blow, a mysterious power suddenly intervened and stole the kill, leaving Zhang Chen fuming with rage. Not only did he fail to get the ghost chi points, but Zhang Chen was also sent flying against a wall by a heavy kick from the newly arrived Drought Demon. Having snatched the final monster containing the director's soul, the Drought Demon revealed a triumphant smirk. "Hee, this meal is mine." Zhang Chen struggled to his feet and asked, "Drought Demon? Does that mean Group Leader Yang?" The Drought Demon put on an act of profound mystery, swaying its head as if it didn't know where the leader was. Meanwhile, Group Leader Yang lay motionless among the ruins, his life or death unknown. Although this Drought Demon was nominally his subordinate, the power it now exhibited had reached a new height. Even the director hadn't recognized it. "Hey, who the hell are you?" With a casual wave of its hand, the Drought Demon split the director's head in two. It picked up the head and mocked, "An old ghost like you is still this naive? We aren't on the same side." Unexpectedly, this Drought Demon was the true mastermind. At this moment, its body mutated into a terrifying demon. draped in brand new armor, its limbs taking on demonic forms. Within seconds it evolved into a true demon king. Having just fought a life-or-death battle with the director that yielded no result, a much stronger opponent had appeared. Zhang Chen was left dumbfounded. After all that fighting, it turned out the Drought Demon was the protagonist of the show. After consuming the director, the Drought Demon let out a nauseatingly loud burp. The terrifying power released with that single breath made the entire sky tremble. Witnessing this, Zhang Chen was completely stunned. A burp can shake heaven and earth. Immediately after, a bizarre lava-like phenomenon appeared on the ground, and Zhang Chen's terror grew. What's happening to the ground? At that moment, the Drought Demon revealed a savage smile. Where the Drought Demon appears, there is scorched earth for 1,000 miles. Zhang Bei is finished. Although Zhang Chen's evil king's eye was strong, faced with a giant demon of this level, he had to prepare to run. He gnashed his teeth, using all his strength to resist the encroaching lava. Faced with such a large-scale attack, Zhang Chen felt his own power was like a drop in the bucket. But as the protagonist, how could he fall so easily? In an instant, his shadow appeared behind him to comfort him. "Master, don't forget you still have me." This time, the shadow finally performed a service. It released the vengeful souls it had swallowed earlier, shouting, "Time for you to pull your weight." At the command, 10 million souls erupted out, attempting to block the flow of lava. Seeing the momentum of the army of souls, the shadow laughed triumphantly, frantically manipulating the spirits under its command. Go, these million souls of mine aren't just for show. Empowered by that surge of grief and indignation, the souls roared as they guarded the city. Simultaneously, Zhang Chen's monsterization state reached its time limit. Sensing the Drought Demon's unfathomable strength, Zhang Chen broke into a cold sweat, his unease growing. Even if the Drought Demon's encroachment was temporarily halted, the true battle had just begun. For the sake of the city's people, he had to fight to the death. Behind him was all of Zhangbei. Zhang Chen decided to stake everything on one gamble, calling upon the system to draw a 5-star monsterization card in hopes of saving the city. Unluckily, the system window popped up with a notification. Daily monsterization card draws have been exhausted. Unable to draw at this time. In this life-or-death moment, Zhang Chen roared in fury, "I need it urgently, let me draw." The system replied rigidly, "Rules are rules." No, Zhang Chen steeled his heart and offered to double the point cost. The system still refused. Zhang Chen increased it to 3 times, then 5 times, but the system wouldn't budge, saying there was no precedent. Zhang Chen went completely mad and decided to go all in. "I'll bet everything 10 times the price, sure enough, money talks." The system instantly broke the rules and agreed. Drawing now, immediate draw. The lottery wheel spun rapidly, and soon a 5-star monsterization card was revealed. Overlord of the Seas. Having obtained the card, Zhang Chen didn't hesitate for a second, transforming instantly. The next second, a set of indestructible armor rapidly covered his body, and his arms transformed into limbs of divine strength, containing terrifying power. Not only that, but he also obtained 2 divine swords from the center of the earth. With the monsterization complete, Zhang Chen was now like an invincible god of war. He turned into a whirlwind, charging at the Drought Demon in his new form. By now, both his speed and defensive power had been reborn. He instantly lunged in front of the Drought Demon, launching a series of heavy punches that left his opponent with no room to resist. Zhang Chen used not only his fists, but also a flying kick that sent the Drought Demon sailing. The struck Drought Demon exploded in midair. Even Zhang Chen himself began to doubt if this terrifying power was real. Just as he felt certain the opponent was defeated, the Drought Demon suddenly went berserk, launching a counterattack that nearly shattered Zhang Chen's armor. Realizing the situation was critical, Zhang Chen summoned the Flesh Ganoderma again. Flesh Ganoderma form activated. Gripping his familiar weapon, he initiated the duel once more like a gale. Taking advantage of the weakness, Zhang Chen swiftly swung a sword strike, but the Drought Demon reacted with extreme speed, nimbly dodging the attack. Unexpectedly, the moment the blade touched the Drought Demon's arm, a bizarre mutation occurred. Part of the energy on the sword was directly absorbed by it, and it revealed a sinister smile. Zhang Chen suddenly realized that his Flesh Ganoderma had shortened. "Damn it, it's absorbing my monster chi." Zhang Chen took the opportunity to draw another divine sword and continue the fierce assault. Flesh Ganoderma number 2 activated. Seeing Zhang Chen switch swords, the Drought Demon still looked perfectly composed. Believing Zhang Chen could do nothing to it, it mocked, "No matter how many times you strike, it's useless." Suddenly, Zhang Chen felt his monsterization state being forcibly drained by the Drought Demon, and he fell into a total panic. Watching his power vanish bit by bit, he finally realized this monster could devour energy in any form. After some thought, he decided to fight to the death. Since it liked to steal, Zhang Chen decided on a suicidal attack. "I'll see just how much you can absorb." In an instant, he converted all his monsterization power into infinite energy and let it diffuse in all directions. Faced with this old ghost, Zhang Chen proudly declared he would show it something impressive. He converged all his divine power into a single palm strike, blasting the Drought Demon away. Though the Drought Demon had taken a severe beating from Zhang Chen, it seemed largely unharmed, only coughing a few times. Though he had lost his 5-star monsterization, Zhang Chen felt the move was worth it, even if he didn't know what to do next. Sure enough, experience counts. The Drought Demon looked down at Zhang Chen. "I've been observing you for a long time. This transformation ability of yours can't be maintained for long. You can't kill me, but I can wear you down to your death." Hearing it shouting, Zhang Chen was stunned into silence. Hearing the other party was going to let him go, he broke into a cold sweat, completely bewildered. If he knew the weakness, he would certainly deliver a fatal blow. So why let me go? Was there some conspiracy? Just then, a bizarre change occurred in the sky. A thin membrane appeared. Zhang Chen immediately realized, with the entry of the 3 evil ghosts, this place had been designated as a forbidden life zone. Currently, all the king-level powerhouses of the human camp were maintaining the forbidden zone's formation. The Drought Demon was secretly plotting to use the power of these king-level experts to summon the Ghost King. Suddenly he discovered that Zhang Chen had seen through his intentions and burst into loud laughter. "Ha ha ha, you actually found out." Zhang Chen didn't intend to let him gloat for long, and decided to fight him to the bitter end. "But as long as I'm here, don't even think about succeeding." The Drought Demon suddenly leaped high into the air, attempting to break through the defensive layer. Seeing this, Zhang Chen quickly flew up to intercept and launched another attack, but at this time he neither had enough strength nor his weapons. Zhang Chen's body was extremely weak, and he took a heavy punch from the opponent full on. His physical strength was near its limit, and he couldn't stop spitting blood, knowing that continuing to wear himself down like this was not an option. At the critical moment he could only turn to the system. "System, help me take out the bone-pinning nails." This was his final trump card. Victory or defeat hinged on this single move. He poured all his remaining ghost chi into them, forcibly upgrading them to the highest level. System prompts rang out one after another, consuming 100 ghost chi, 500 ghost chi, 10,000 ghost chi, 30,000 ghost chi. Soon the system completed the upgrade of the bone-pinning nails. Zhang Chen did not hesitate, charging forward with the 2 nails. As soon as he closed in, he quickly fired both nails straight at the Drought Demon. The Drought Demon initially wanted to reach out and absorb the demonic chi within them, but was horrified to find that he couldn't absorb it at all. "What the hell is this? I can't absorb it?" Seeing the situation was turning sour, the Drought Demon decided that of the 36 stratagems, fleeing is best, and turned to run. However, how could his speed be faster than the rapidly fired bone-pinning nails? Seeing the nails about to pierce his heart from behind, the Drought Demon only then realized the danger, swinging a palm back to knock the nails away, which then heavily smashed a giant boulder to pieces. "Get lost!" Zhang Chen pursued relentlessly from below. Keenly sensing the opponent's flaw, he seized this fleeting opportunity, teleporting behind the Drought Demon to launch a second attack. Zhang Chen sneered triumphantly, deciding to use the bone-pinning nails to lock onto him until he was pinned to death. "Haha, finally it's time for them to show their power." In the next second, the 2 nails followed like shadows, stabbing ruthlessly into the Drought Demon's back before he could react. "Pin him to death for me." But things weren't that simple. The power of the bone-pinning nails at this stage was not enough to penetrate the Drought Demon's formidable physical body. The Drought Demon grinned savagely. "Don't think you can kill me with just these 2 broken nails." Zhang Chen exerted all his strength, yet the bone nails still couldn't advance an inch. He gnashed his teeth, nearly driven mad. He hadn't expected this monster's defense to be so perverse. "It's actually this hard?" Just then, the Drought Demon launched a counterattack, death gripping Zhang Chen's throat, although the bone-pinning nails were still desperately trying to bore inward. The Drought Demon ignored them completely, full of confidence. "You really think these little nails can pierce my body?" Since he was maintaining his ordinary human state, Zhang Chen had no resistance and was choked to the point of nearly suffocating, unable to fight back. Damn it, although he was being held high in the air by his throat, Zhang Chen still remained calm, secretly plotting in his heart. "Absorb? Go ahead and absorb. Once your demonization state ends, you're dead meat." In fact, while the Drought Demon was absorbing Zhang Chen's ghost chi, he was indirectly infusing energy into the bone-pinning nails, allowing them to bore deeper. Though the Drought Demon was completely unaware, bore in. Even so, Zhang Chen was nearly at his limit, his hands trembling and cold sweat pouring down. "Damn it, I'm almost at the breaking point." At the critical moment he suddenly remembered he still had a shadow bodyguard and immediately summoned it. Using the last bit of his strength, Zhang Chen let out a world-shaking roar. "Shadow, get the hell out here!" Hearing its master's call, the shadow appeared instantly. If there's a nail, there must be a hammer. Zhang Chen immediately decided to summon the massive Underworld God Hammer and shouted to the shadow, "Catch the Underworld God Hammer and lend me a hand." the shadow took the towering giant hammer and couldn't help but let out a cry of admiration. "This hammer is too huge," Zhang Chen immediately ordered. "Now smash it down hard." The shadow let out a wild roar, pouring in all its strength and swinging the heavy hammer down toward the Drought Demon's head. Seeing the hammerhead inches away, the Drought Demon was scared out of his wits, shrieking, "Hey, hey, we're all ghosts, why the fratricide?" He was met with the shadow's full-blown rage. The shadow replied coldly, "Not all ghosts are the same." Before the words even landed, the heavy hammer had already slammed squarely into the Drought Demon's back. In an instant, the two bone-pinning nails directly pierced through the Drought Demon's body, causing him to scream in piteous agony. Unexpectedly, at the moment the heavy hammer fell, the Drought Demon actually erupted with all his life force to reinforce his physical body, attempting to forcibly hold out. The shadow roared, pressing all its strength onto the hammer's handle. This time it finally worked, and the two bone-pinning nails pushed significantly deeper into his body once more. Zhang Chen also cheered loudly from the side, "Go, Shadow!" To not disappoint his master again, the shadow let out a piercing scream and exerted the very last of its strength. The bone-pinning nails bore deeper and deeper into the Drought Demon's body, causing it to roar in hysterical, frenzied agony, the sound deafening. Immediately after, the shadow's thunderstrike completely erupted, followed by a thunderous boom that shook the heavens and moved the mountains. The Drought Demon's body completely collapsed under the terrifying power of the underworld god hammer. After this bitter struggle, the enemy was finally annihilated. The Drought Demon's body shattered into countless pieces, and Zhang Chen finally let out a long sigh of relief. Success, this most troublesome fellow has finally been finished off. Zhang Chen revealed a satisfied smile, and let out a long breath. "Tired the hell out of me." Unbelievably, however, that fellow wasn't completely dead yet. It was hugging the base of the wall, trying to crawl away along the ground. At this moment, Zhang Chen hadn't noticed yet and was preparing to leave. The Drought Demon now had only a head left, but it was still gloating and shouting, "You think I'm that easy to kill?" Suddenly, out of nowhere, a stick flew through the air, hitting the Drought Demon squarely in the head. It never dreamed that this would be its final moment in this world. Still unyielding after being hit, it actually dared to threaten the other party. "Damn it, you little ghosts actually dare to help an outsider. It seems you really want to disappear completely." Shasha delivered the fatal blow directly, shouting in rage, "You talk too much, just die." After dealing with the Drought Demon, the girl ran excitedly toward Zhang Chen, shouting happily, "Director!" Seeing she was unharmed, Zhang Chen revealed a gentle smile. "Are you okay?" she replied with a beaming face. I'm fine." After this period of slaughter, Zhangbei City finally regained its former peace. Phew, it's finally over. Finally, only Zhang Chen and this ghost-haunted girl walked out of those gloomy ruins. On the distant horizon, the early morning sun was slowly rising. "Let's go, come home with me." The scene shifts to the bubble tea shop Zhang Chen had opened with all his savings. He pushed the door open with a face full of exhaustion, looking like he hadn't slept for days, muttering to himself, Why isn't anyone here?" Just then, the two girls he had taken in earlier suddenly popped out. "Boss, it's not business hours yet." At that moment, Zhang Chen's phone rang, and a notification jumped onto the screen. Someone was calling. He picked up the phone and a long-awaited voice came from the other end. Sister Hong. It had been a long time, and Sister Hong wanted to invite him to catch ghosts again. "Zhang Chen, let's arrange another mission. I feel my supernatural ability has improved." Hearing this, Zhang Chen revealed a satisfied smile, and readily agreed. "Haha, no problem, then I'll see you tonight." At this point, the story seems to have come to a perfect conclusion. In this world, as long as there is still injustice, Zhangbei City will still have shadows, and that is precisely the meaning of our existence. At the very end of the story, he left a single preview. "Let's go, time to catch some ghosts." And just like that, Zhang Chen's thrilling, action-packed, and wildly hilarious journey officially comes to an end right here. Looking back on the entire story, we've witnessed an extraordinary and truly unique adventure. From a reincarnated student struggling to provoke petty ghosts for single points of ghost chi, to evolving into an unstoppable demon overlord who tears through evil spirits and forbidden zones to protect Zhangbei City. His overpowered, unapologetically shameless yet remarkably righteous style has truly given us an unforgettable ride. This recap video also officially wraps up the story at chapter 310 of the original comic. If you love the artwork and want to explore every single detail, be sure to check out the original work to support the creators. While Zhang Chen's journey has reached its conclusion, there are still plenty of other incredible, thrilling, and mind-blowing series across different genres waiting for you to explore on Hali Recap. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to motivate Hali Recap to bring you even more high-quality stories in the future. Your support is the biggest driving force for our channel. Thank you all so much for accompanying us throughout this entire series. Until next time, goodbye and see you in the next epic stories on Hali Recap.